Oh God, there's so much blood. I hear someone screaming. Where's his leg? Holy, is that his arm over there? I hear sirens approaching. He's still breathing. Half of his chest is caved in.
Why not?
Another voice rings. It hurt to keep my eyes open.
Greatest well-written
Please,
piece of
stay with
fiction in
me.
human
You're going to
history.
be okay. Please, please, please. As everything begins to
Great,
fade
that's
to
a perfect
black.
one to start with.
How did I get here was my last thought before my eyes closed.
Oh, you're not telling
2
me
hours
anything.
ago.
I'm on like
Stupid
11,
Kachin,
60
Izuku
something
muttered
right
as
now.
he pulled himself out of the
In
riverbed.
an
He had just gotten
egglehead.
out of school when his childhood best friend turned
I watch it
bully,
in
and his
7.
goons decided that Izuku hadn't gotten enough exercise in gym
You should watch
class.
One Piece.
So they made sure he went for a swim.
What if it's
Dripping
a show
wet, the young
revealing to
green-haired
you all
boy
the
crawled up the
esoterics of
embankment.
world?
His torment had gone on for close to 10 years now. Ever since I was diagnosed quirkless, everyone's
What?
been dumping on
I don't even
me.
know what
Izuku
esoteric
reached into the
means.
water and grabbed his
A
backpack.
song? There's a couple
He
of them,
started
but they
pulling
killed
out
those
his
guys.
belongings.
Michael
Anything made of
Jackson's
paper
whole
was
last
ruined,
album.
and anything with electronics
Maine
was
was making a documentary
unsalvageable,
about
like
it.
his phone. I guess I need to come up with some lie again. As the young boy walked down the path he normally
who's the
walked
Linkin
home,
Park guy who
he
was
never
making
had people to hang out with or go anywhere,
big
so it was a
documentary about
path
it?
he could
Yeah,
travel
yeah,
with his
yeah,
eyes
yeah, yeah,
closed
he
and
was
earbuds in. But since his phone was destroyed, he had to listen to sounds of cars and people as he walked. As he passed by an alleyway, he heard a sniffle. Somehow, over all the noise of the crowds and cars, Izuku could hear it. Someone was in distress. Izuku turned down the alley and crept toward the sound. Hey, hello? He called out. Is someone there? Are you okay? As he ventured further in. Before he stumbled upon a girl who looked his age, with a long black ponytail and looking on her features, Izuku blushed furiously. Holy super crap, this girl is hot. Are you okay, miss? Izuku cautiously approached, not wanting to startle the girl. She looked up at him with big puffy eyes before she wiped away some tears. SNF? Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't
fairly
sound fine.
shaking because I'm high
Izuku
on
said,
tea.
how can I help? The four most important words he's ever known. A hero is not someone who can stop a crime, defeat the bad guy, and get the girl. It's just someone who sees something they
I don't
think
know
is
what you just
wrong
said
and
to me.
ask, how can I help? It's really not important. The girl said more indignantly. Izuku didn't want to let this go. Someone needed help, and he was going to be there. If it made you cry, it has to be important. Please,
What blueprints?
I want to help
I didn't know
you.
there were
As he sat down
blueprints,
cross-legged in
guess.
front of her, even if the only thing I can do is listen, he smiled widely at her.
New
The
gun.
girl smirked. At least he's determined. Sighing before she relented. It's my parents. They don't want me to be a hero. They want me to go to business school and learn to run their company. She watched as the boy never took his gaze off her. I have a strong quirk, and I want to use it for more than just designing products for my parents' company.
No one
I
cares
want to
about
go to
MP7,
UA
but I
and be
hear
a
you.
pro and save people. Be more than what people see. You understand, right? Izuku thought for a moment. Sort of, he scratched his head. I think that's truly special that you want to save people with your
Raven
power.
team.
And
That
I
sounds
understand
so
what it
cool.
means
I'm
to
not gonna lie
want
to you,
something
this
that
one's
everyone who
awesome.
should be
Yo, dude, I
supporting
wanted to be a
and
Raven
cheering you on
so
want you for
bad
something
when I
else.
was in.
He recalled his mother giving
That's
up
like the
on his
gayest
dreams,
job.
his father taking off, his friends deserting him, his teachers
You know what Security
ignoring
Forces
him.
Raven is,
Tears
Josh?
welled up in his eyes. It's not
Anytime any
fair and it
politician
hurts.
flies
It
somewhere
hurts so much.
on
But
a
you have to
military
fight.
aircraft,
You can let them tell you
US
what you
Air
can
Force
be,
Security
or you can
Forces
make yourself
has
into the
a
person you want to be.
elite group
He stood up
of
on his 2
flyaway
feet and
security,
extended his hand
specifically
towards her.
trained
I've
asset
always wanted to be a
protection, high-value
hero, and I
target
think that's really great that
security
you want to save
trained
people. And I bet with
personnel to
however
provide.
awesome your quirk is, you'll be a great hero,
Throw
one of the
your hands
best.
in the
So,
air.
don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah,
Because
it
I
was
believe you can
Chester
become a hero.
Bennington,
He started to say all the
player,
things he wished
Avicii,
someone had been brave enough to say to him.
He's
and
dead too.
The girl blushed at the empowering speech she
Anthony
was given before
Bourdain,
taking the
also
boy's
dead.
hand. Wow, that's some
Wait a
speech.
second.
There was
Are you
She
trying to
stood
name
up,
another dead
and suddenly
person?
the boy's face
Yeah, there was
turned to
one
I'm
shade
more
of
starting to
that's
think
crimson.
they killed them
Is
all
something
on
wrong?
purpose.
Sweet merciful God, why is she so
definitely
hot?
Oh, Josh!
Izuku quickly shut his
I got you a
eyes
black
and looked
patterned
away.
headscarf. I just
The
thought
girl
about it. I
looked
got
down
so
for a
excited.
second
They
and then
definitely
realized,
killed them
what a
on
little
purpose.
gentleman. The blouse she was wearing was one that
Michael
clung to her
Jackson,
form
too.
being
Yeah, we're
tucked into her
definitely
skirt.
gonna have
It
to
really
backface
made her mature
Just
figure
while I'm
stand out
standing
even
here
more than it
in the
normally
home
would.
base. Fuck
Do you like
whatever
what
I'm
you
doing.
see? It's okay if you do.
Right.
Izuku nervously
Including
nodded his head,
Give me one
causing the
more.
young
Yeah,
lady
don't
to
get
laugh.
rid.
Oh, you're too much. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu. I'm
Yeah,
the
by
daughter of
way.
Nashi and Ringo Yaoyorozu. Izuku gasped. Yaoyorozu Industries. They're the
'Cause-
preeminent hero
Oh, there
support
goes.
company.
Ow.
They design and sell the gear 83% of all pro
not
heroes in Japan
caught
use,
up
47% in
to
China,
One Piece yet,
62% in Korea,
show's not
and they
even there
recently signed a
anyways,
contract to
but the
provide
manga just finally revealed
22% of
the big
supplies to
bad.
the
He's only
American
been like a
heroes.
blacked out silhouette
Izuku
this whole
nerd out
time.
over related hero
So now there's
knowledge.
only 3 characters
Wow, you sure
left
know a lot about
who
my
are
family's
full
company.
silhouettes,
What's your name?
like unrevealed
Momo chuckled,
in One Piece.
blushing
I
at
have
his
no idea what you
unintended
said.
knowledge dump. Izuku Midoriya.
The big
My
bad
mother is
character in
Inko
One Piece in the
Midoriya,
manga,
and my
the,
father
like,
is. He
written
trailed.
book version
Not
of it,
sure
right?
how
Like
to
the
answer
comic
that.
panel.
His father's
don't
name
know.
is Hisashi Midoriya, but he hasn't seen him since he
Don't
was
know
4,
that
so
manga.
what does
He
that make
called
him?
you a bitch,
Momo,
Josh.
realizing that to
Alright.
be
That's
a
what he
delicate
did.
situation, maneuvered the conversation in
I
a
did,
different
literally, to
direction.
your face in your
Since we're
stream.
sharing, and
Called
I
you a
told you
bitch.
my dream,
No, I called you
what
a
about
hoe.
yours?
'Cause I
She
thought
asked,
bitch seemed
then
crazy.
watched as the boy's
But I
features
typed
hardened
hoe.
and softened.
I was gonna type bitch.
Midoriya,
That was the first
I'm
word that
sorry,
came to mind.
it's okay if you don't.
Just to let you know.
All my life,
What?
he clenched his fist.
Yeah.
I have had a
Not to be
dream
insultive,
that
but just
one
'cause
day
it's,
I could
like,
be a hero that people look up to,
anecdotally twice
even in the
as funny.
darkest hour, that when I arrive and they see my smile, they
least.
know they are
Like
safe.
minimally.
I want to
twice
be a
as
hero
funny.
that saves everyone no matter
Except
what.
for the
I don't
whoever
care
threw
if I'm the
that paper, your
strongest,
mom's a hoe. That
fastest,
one's like 10
smartest,
times.
or most powerful. I want to be a hero for everyone. I want it so
I
bad
said,
it burns in
whoever
my
threw
chest
that
like a
paper,
fire.
You
I
know?
want something I
mom's
can
a
never
hoe.
have.
Yeah, that video.
Momo looked at his tear-stained face.
I would've
What do you
loved
mean,
him.
Midoriya? You sound like a hero
Alright,
already.
I'm in.
I'm quirkless.
Yeah, I'd have
He
been in
bluntly
Ninja
said,
so much.
I can't save anyone.
Oh,
I can't
papers.
save
Just hear
myself.
him call
But
someone's
you have a
mama
quirk,
hoe.
and it must be incredible. You're going to
This
go
is
on and
hilarious.
do amazing things.
I need you
Save
to tell me
tons
how
of
to do the
people.
Wi-Fi thing.
And every step of the way I'll be cheering for you.
Oh,
Believe in
yeah.
yourself. If you can't do that,
Wi-Fi
believe in me. Because I believe in you. Momo stared at this strange boy she had just met. Izu, before the sound of cackling cut her off. Well, ain't that just fucking precious? As 2 figures strode out from around the corner. The first person looked like a 7-foot bearman, his fur-covered arms ending in large, thick claws. The second was a woman wearing spiked
Alright, Josh.
BDSM gear while
Just
carrying
split your
a
throat
large
for
spiked
no
whip.
reason.
The woman strode over, cracking her whip along
Here
the
you go, Josh,
ground,
here you
leaving
go.
gashes in the ground. Aren't they cute together? Do you think they'll look cute when they're in pieces?
Gang, gang,
Maybe,
gang. Welcome
but
to
you
the
heard the
Pyros,
lady she's
kid.
some rich dad's little.
This is black,
The bear man
right?
leaned
Doesn't
closer to
matter.
Momo, which
Not like
made
racist,
Izuku
but, like,
pull
that's
her
the
away
color
from him.
bandana they
Itty
use.
bitty princess.
No,
Then
I
he
mean,
looked
it
her
wasn't-
up
it
and
was just
down.
accurate to
Well,
game
maybe
violence.
not itty bitty.
No.
I mean, it was still
As he
racist,
long
I guess,
tongue lapped
technically,
at
but,
his
like,
jowls.
accurately racist.
So,
But, like,
we
not
kidnap
racist.
her.
Not
Then you and I
bigoted
can play with her a
racist.
bit. She doesn't need to be able to walk.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
even
it's still,
speak
it's still
really.
partially
Before we call her
racist, but
daddy
it was, like,
and ransom her
accurately
off.
and historically
The woman
and
flexed her
factually
whip
racist.
between her
So at
hands.
that point, it's just stereotypical.
I like that plan. The bearman said
Right.
as he
Throw me that
watched out of the
backpack,
corner
Josh.
of his eye as Izuku
Oh, yeah.
started to nudge Momo back
Oh, look
and
what
away
else I
from
got,
these kidnappers.
Josh.
And I can have the little boy for a snack.
Gang, gang, gang,
The
gang,
woman
gang.
cackled evilly. Yes. Let's
There you
do
go,
this
Ian.
quick
Set your
before
feet.
someone comes by and sees us.
Wow, I have
Momo
two
run.
of those.
Izuku pushed Momo out of the way of the
Give one
whip.
to Ian.
What but
Am I
you?
though?
Momo cried
Yeah.
out as the bearman rushed the
Because
two
Ian doesn't have one.
teens. I'll hold
Sounds
them
like
off.
he's a loser.
You go get help.
Yeah,
Izuku
but look,
threw
look,
his
look, we
book
all
bag
have
at the
black
charging
half
enemy,
masks.
its
We all have the
contents
skull
spilling
half
out,
mask.
making
We all
him
have the
miss the
black
first
pattern head
massive
scarf.
swing of his
We
claws.
all have the red
Please.
pattern head,
What are we,
like
four?
bandana
Momo
or
shakily got
whatever.
to her feet and
We
nodded
all have the
before
bloody
running off.
balaclava.
Oh no,
we
you
all
don't,
have the
bitch.
green balaclava.
The woman with
No,
the
just
whip
we
says,
can-
and she
we can
sent it down
match
the
as we
alley
go
to
out.
catch her
I think I
escaping
stole my
target,
green balaclava.
only to be stopped when
Wow,
it
you're
wrapped around
homosexual.
Izuku's
It's
flung out
taking
arm.
up space.
Midoriya cried out in
looks
pain
it.
as the spikes carved deep cuts into his
It's
arm,
cool,
making
man.
he bleed like a fountain onto the
Sell
ground.
things I wasn't gonna
Momo
use.
covered her ears and kept running
Not
even as the
plain
nice boy
things that are
screamed in
cosmetics
pain
that you
behind her.
don't need.
She was
Keep
feet away
those
from the
instead of booty
alleyway
hats, 'cause
entrance,
they're huge.
moments from the help
Shut
she
up.
desperately
Leave my
needed.
booty
One booty
When she
hat
stepped out
is
into the
4
daylight,
balaclavas,
she
all right?
screamed at the top of her lungs,
4
startling
skull masks.
and alerting a
all right?
passing group of heroes and
Fuck a booty
sidekicks
hat,
that were
bro.
patrolling the area. The bearman
gonna
tried
not
to
wear a
rush
helmet.
past the boy who had been captured by his mate,
One-tapped.
when somehow the boy tackled right
That's
into
fine.
him.
I'm finna wear this
Why?
booty hat.
How did you? Before noticing that the boy had
Oh,
pulled
this
so
looks
hard to
sick.
get free of the whip that it
Oh,
severed his arm
fuck,
off
guys,
completely.
we might need to start wearing
I won't
booty
let you
hats.
hurt her. Izuku raised his remaining
I've been
good
shit-talking
arm
this whole
and clenched
time.
his
You didn't tell me they
fist.
looked as
I am going to
gangster in the
stop
game.
you, because it's what heroes do.
Look, man, the front of it
The
wasn't
woman
sewn
cackled,
up to the
"Oh, he
peak
thinks
for,
he's
like,
a
the brim
hero.
to stay bare,
Barehead,"
and so I didn't
she
think it
called
was
out to her
cool.
lover.
Yes.
Kill him. The villain gained a
Look at my
nasty gleam in
1911,
his eyes.
so I can't even
Gladly,
see over
before
the
smashes
suppressor.
the back of his large paw
Just
into
get a red
Izuku's
dot.
chest, caving in
Can't.
one
I
side
think
of
you
it.
can put one on there.
Izuku
It
coughed up a
absolutely
large amount of
fucking
blood as he
popped.
cracked
Oh my
his
god,
head
this
on
thing
the
is so
opposite wall.
quiet.
He barely had enough time to register that the fangs of the bear villain were rapidly
Whoa.
closing in on him. So he did the only thing he could. He kicked right into the villain's open mouth. Bearhead began choking. The brat shoved his foot down my throat. Snarling, he began whipping his head back and forth, gnawing on the leg to shake free his prey. Then with a sickening crunch and nightmarish tearing sound, the boy's leg was wrenched free from his thigh. Izuku slammed down hard onto the ground with nothing to support him now that his leg had been torn off. He heard the villain coughing and gagging, then them yelling something before the sound of their footsteps ran away. Izuku could hear other footsteps approaching, then it was pure madness. So much screaming and shouting, he couldn't make heads or tails of it all, but he could faintly make out the sound of Momo telling him it will be okay. So, he did his best to smile before closing his eyes. Inko Midoriya had just pulled a load of laundry out of the machine. It was midday, and the stay-at-home mom was busy tidying up until she heard a knock on her front door. As she shuffled over to the door, the slightly overweight woman noticed bright red and blue flashing lights. She cautiously opened the front door. Yes, she gazed at the two police officers. "Are you Inko Midoriya?" the cat-headed officer solemnly asked. Before the woman dropped to her knees.
That's a midget who plays in movies. And is probably some pedophilic demonic vampire guy.
She began stammering. "Is Izuku, my butt baby." Before his sadness was replaced with unrelenting fury, she grabbed the collar of one of the officers' shirt. "Where is my baby?" she snarled. Both officers knew this would be a very emotional time for the woman and were giving her a lot of leeway in how she was acting. "Ma'am, your son is at Mizudafu General. He's in critical condition in the doctors." Before the woman slammed the door behind her. "What are you two standing around for?" she shouted at them. "My baby needs me." Before rushing down the steps. The 10-minute drive was heart-wrenching for the single mother. "Tell me what happened." The two officers shared a look. There was an attack. The cat officer started. Two villains tried to abduct a teenage girl, and it seems your son tried to stop them. Is how who went? She had too many questions to ask. "Ma'am, when we get to the hospital, the doctors will explain everything," the other officer with a large tail responded. The car hadn't even come to a complete stop before the woman had opened the door, tripping before picking herself up and running inside. "You have my condolences, ma'am," even if the woman could no longer hear him. Inko rushed up to a nurse's station and starting a stream of words so fast the nurse just couldn't keep up, until she stopped and gathered her thoughts. "Where's my son?" she asked. The young mother was rushing down the hallways to the ICU to where her boy was being kept on machines. When she saw a teenage girl yelling and screaming into a phone. "Excuse me," she called out to the team. "Is this room 3141? The girl's eyes grew wide. "You're Inko Midoriya?" she asked quietly. The mother nodded in response. "Yes, please, he's over here." She took the older woman's hand in her own and dragged her to the observation window. What Inko looked at had her on her knees, body-racking sobs as tears spilled from her eyes. "No, please, my baby." Izuku was hooked up to a respirator, his eyes shut as the very slow and soft beeping of the life support machines did their best. Izuku's left arm was missing from the middle of his humerus. His right leg had been severed at the knee, and it looked like he had a bowling ball dropped onto his chest. "Please, no, my baby." Inko's tear-ridden face turned to the young teenage girl. "How?
No, it's a magazine.
Why?" was all she could ask. Momo was doing her best to keep her composure. "Your son protected me.
Technically,
Two
John,
villains wanted to kidnap and hurt me. But Izuku, he told me to run to get help." She tried to comfort the distressed mother until a voice came over the phone, then she got furious. "I don't fucking care how much it cost, R&D. You will bring the prototype to the hospital 5 minutes ago. That's an order, you goddamn waste of space," before blushing at her outburst. "What?" was all Inko could say before a doctor came in. "Mrs. Midoriya, I'm Dr. Takahashi," as he looked sullen. I have to be honest. Unless there is a miracle, your son won't survive the night. No, please, anything. I'll do anything. Give anything, just save my baby." As the woman clawed at the doctor's coat. "I am sorry, there's nothing we can do for him. Our strongest healing quirks cannot repair this level of damage in your son. The fact he is even still alive shows a will to live that I have never seen before." The doctor placed his hand on the
know.
grieving mother's shoulder.
'Cause I want
Please
to.
take all the time you need. And I and
You should
everyone
bring
at this
your
hospital
shotgun
are
and
truly
your,
sorry.
like,
Before he
SV
walked down the
your-
hall,
probably bring your
Inko
SKS.
quietly walked into the room and sat in a chair
bring
next
my
to her
SKS.
son's
Semi-auto, full
soon-to-be
suppress,
deathbed.
20 rounds
It's
in the
not
mag.
fair, he's so young. Where were the heroes? She lamented. In her grief,
am I
she
gonna
didn't
bring?
hear the door
I
open.
basically have to bring
The hero
either
was right there.
M700
Momo said, "Your son was a hero. He was my hero.
or my MCS.
He saved me,
Oh,
and
we
I
have the
swear I will
Phantom
do
Lance.
everything in my
I'm not
power to
bringing
save
that.
him now."
You should
Inko
bring
wiped her
that.
If I
tear-stained
lost
cheeks.
it, I'd be so pissed off.
How?
Don't be
Inko
a bitch,
whispered.
bring it.
The door
Bro,
opened,
no.
and a
Get the
team of
blueprint
doctors
for
in
it.
gray lab coats
I don't give a
entered
fuck.
and set up around the
I'll start
boy's
taking
bed.
it out once I have
Inko
the
watched as
blueprint.
men in black suits kept the hospital doctors and nurses
Yeah,
out
just
of the
Taking
room.
it out like a
A
mad
short woman
brain.
in a
You
striped
fucking
suit
pussy.
walked over to the tall
No, I'm being a
teenager.
pussy. I'm bringing the
Your parents
M700.
are going to be furious.
I don't give a
Wow.
fuck about this
Momo
gun.
whipped around
you,
so
pussy.
fast her ponytail
Maybe,
snapped
but I
in
don't
the
give a
air.
fuck
If
about
my
this
parents
gun.
had listened to me, none of this would be happening. She
Where are all
stomped
my
toward the
fucking
cowering woman.
SKS mags?
If they hadn't hounded me out of the
I don't know, but I
house,
have more
I
if
wouldn't
you
have
need
been in that alley in the
Son of
first
a
place,
bitch.
and that, as she pointed to Izuku as the scientist
I
began hooking
moved
up
them
wires and
around
bags of
and
silver
sorted
liquid up
things
to the
today,
nearly
right?
dead
There's
boy.
one magazine.
Young man over there wouldn't have had to risk
Magazine.
everything to protect me.
There's
Momo jabbed her finger into the
2
woman's chest.
magazines.
So you can go right to
Only
mommy
having
and
the
daddy
three
and
vest
tell
on
them
is
to go
kind
fuck
of an issue,
themselves,
but
because
fuck
if he
it.
dies from this,
We
I
ball.
won't ever come back. Lady
I know.
Yayarozu,
Kind
please
an
think of your
issue, but
future.
fuck it, we
The
ball.
woman begged.
Oh, you were talking about me.
Momo
No
growled.
joke's on you.
I
Talking
did
about
think,
all of
and
us.
now I'm
I
taking
have a
action.
3+
I'm
ceramic
going to be
plate
the
on.
person
Fuck
I
you.
want to
Well,
be. Something
that's
he pointing to Izuku
significantly
again
better than
taught
what me and
me.
Josh were.
Turning to the scientists who were staring wide-eyed at the young heiress. And what are you all looking at me for? Help him,
I
she
can go to
ordered.
Oh, Ian's the only
The
one who
scientists
gets a
got
good
back to
job.
work injecting Izuku with various mixtures and chemicals. What is going
What?
on?
make
Inko
you
finally
feel left
found her
out?
voice. Momo created a chair with her quirk and sat next to the mother, Mrs. Midoriya.
And
My name
just
is
for the
Momo
memes,
Yaerozu. My parents' company develops
bringing
technology
my
to provide the
1911
support gear for
Commander.
pro heroes.
Float your
She
boat.
gently
Bring my
stroked Inko's
SVDM,
hand.
Not my.
But what are they doing to Izuku? Inko asked the girl.
No, I'm.
We are in the
Gosh, it's
development
ceramic.
stage of a new technology,
It's time to break out
nanomachines.
this,
It's a complete
the
prototype
old-
of
I'm finishing on
microscopic
both
machines
units and
that
put
can
on
be
3++
programmed to do
just to
anything.
fucking
She answered,
assert
I hope that
dominance.
with these they can be programmed to
dominance.
heal your son's injuries.
The 3++
Do you
dominance,
really
but
think
just
this will
are
work?
you deaf?
Inko begged,
Yes.
holding on to the hope that there is a chance her
All right.
son could be saved. It's the best shot I have. Momo nodded as
Hey, Ian,
both
remember when I
women
was like,
watched
me
the
and Josh
mixture of
have
machines
kangaroo
enter
tack rigs, and
Izuku's
you should definitely
bloodstream.
take this.
Now we have to
Awesome.
wait.
Oh my lord.
After the
Yep.
nanomachines were
Fucking don't,
injected, the
apparently.
scientists
25
instructed
times.
everyone
want
to
this one
leave the
back?
room, and they would
Don't,
observe
but I
through
need
the
to find
window.
one.
When they stepped out, the hospital
what is
security and the
762 by
bodyguards were at a
39?
standoff, and the doctor who had
Get a
talked to
short
Inko
one.
early was frustrated.
Short.
Young lady, you can't just have your people
About to
come in
load
and run
tracers.
treatments
No,
that
only
haven't
half
been
an inch
approved
short,
by the
and it
board on
pisses me
people
off,
who
so
aren't your
don't bring it up.
patients. Inko was furious. How dare you speak to her that way?
I'm
She
seriously
marched
never
right
getting
past the
over
private
that, dude.
security. You gave up on my son,
Oh,
and we're
what do you
just
think
going to
I
let
did
him
when I was
die.
on Tinder,
She
dude?
is
Back
at
in the
least
day, you
doing
think I
something.
wasn't rounding up?
Even if
You're
it
high.
doesn't work, I will be able to rest knowing
Actually,
people
am
didn't give
about
up
to
on it.
wear 3++.
The doctor threw his
Hey.
hands up and
'Cause
walked
this shit's
away.
finna get insane for a
He's
second.
quirkless anyway. Not much to get over. Leaving a
probably
stunned mother
not,
behind.
Um,
Inko Midoriya shrieked in rage, and it took both the combined efforts of the private security and hospital security
you know what
to hold
sucks,
her
Ian?
back. Ma'am,
I just
please,
sold
Momo
my
took Inko's
762
hand.
by 51.
Let's ignore him and watch Izuku.
Ian.
The mother begrudgingly accepted
should've been
like,
and walked with the
No.
beautiful teen and watched as her
I have
son
some.
twitched in bed, reacting to
I have
something.
some. I can just
Second.
give it to
Momo,
you.
came a thunderous shout from down the hall as a man
have
and woman
2 full
dressed in
stacks.
fine
Just take a
suits
stack.
and jewelry stormed down the hallway.
762
You have a
by
lot
what?
to answer for
54R.
taking those
Is
nanomachines
that what it is?
that cost
Yeah,
over
yeah.
100 billion yen in development.
Yeah. Also,
The
all
woman
of your
strode up
SVD mags,
to her daughter.
Your, are
Her father
M700 or
passing by the
SVD, Josh?
security
M700.
and looking into the window, all for a boy.
Oh,
He growled,
M700 is
You better have a
762 by
damn good reason
51.
or
Yeah.
we'll.
M80.
Inko had enough. Or what?
Yeah,
That is
I
my
have
son in
a
there.
fuckload
She
of that.
jabbed
Just
her
take
finger
mine.
into the
No.
irate father's chest.
Also,
He
you
may be
should
dying,
have a fuckload.
and your
They
wonderful
gave you, like,
daughter is
4
doing
mags.
everything she
Did
can
you
to save
unload
his
all your
life.
fucking
Yeah, but
magazines like a
The
nerd?
security and scientists
they're
watching the
FMJ.
back and forth arguments between their employers and a
Yeah.
housewife
I don't know.
before loud screaming came from
Yeah.
inside the room.
I think that's all
All
they
eyes
sell.
flashed to the window to watch as Izuku spasmed and
sells
thrashed in the
that?
bed,
Gunny?
screaming louder and louder in
Great.
pain as as deep red lines appeared throughout his body as the coverings on his head. arm,
No,
and leg
Tracer.
tore off as new
all he
metallic
has.
limbs and organs
No,
formed.
he has more.
His
All Gunny
chest
has
filling
is
back
Tracer.
up as the nanomachine
Yes,
replicated
FMJ,
themselves,
yeah.
dissolving fabric
I'm being
and other
lied to.
unnecessary material in and around the body to
I'm wearing a
multiply
headscarf like a
into the
real
neat
G.
atoms for
Fuck you guys.
reconstruction. Izuku,
760
Inko
Oh, there it
screamed
is.
as she
Wait
rushed
now,
for the
man.
door,
M80.
only to be held back by
Yeah.
the scientists. No,
I got
let me
you.
go.
I got
He
you.
needs me. Struggling against the mother. You have to wait until the machines stop assimilating
He should
material, or they
still
might
I feel
take
like
from
I'm
you
missing
next.
something,
Inko
and
looked
I
through
don't
the
know what it
observation
is. I
window
was gonna
as
put something
tendrils
on,
leapt from her
and
son's
you
body
fucking nerds
and
made me
started
forget
covering
it.
the various
Yeah,
medical
I forget
equipment
both.
before merging back into Izuku. His body began to lessen its violent movements, and his screaming turned into moaning as
I'm just
Izuku
buying
settled
this
down.
M80. Fuck it, bro.
All the
Not
observers rushed
200.
into the
Hell no,
room as
brother. Give me,
Izuku
like,
came to. He looked around the
give me a full
room.
stack.
His vision split as half of what he could see was in infrared and the rest
Yeah,
just looked
but-
blurry. He could see shapes moving around. Izuku, sweetie, honey, baby. Inko cried
I'm
as she
trying to
held
find
onto
my
her
fucking
son's hand.
Hydra-Shock.
Talk to
I
me.
don't know where it
Tell me
went.
you're all right.
I thought you had
Mo,
fun in
Mo,
the
he stammered.
There it is. I
Yes,
just had to
mommy's
sort.
here. Inko
Yeah.
quickly replied. Where's Momo? Izuku
All right,
asked,
look what
is she
I
okay?
decided to wear, boyos.
Yes, Izuku, I'm
This is
safe.
it.
You saved me.
Nope.
Momo called out
Where
to
are
him.
you?
I'm wearing my
Then who's
3
holding my
plus
hand?
plus
Izuku asked another
vest.
question.
Yeah.
Izuku,
With
it's
a
me, your
recon
mother?
chest
She
rig.
confusedly responded.
You have a drag?
I don't. I'm sorry. Izuku
Well,
softly
yeah.
spoke.
I do,
Don't know who you
know.
are.
We all do.
What?
Given
No,
one.
but-
Inko squeaked out.
Yeah.
Sweetie,
I didn't
it's
realize
me,
you had
mommy.
using it. This dude doesn't
Izuku
have a
stared
name,
at the
and
woman
his
with
gun
a
looks
blank
cool.
expression.
What is this?
I know what a
sight, though?
mother
This shit
is,
big.
and I should have one. But I
PSO?
don't know who you are.
Zoomed
Izuku
in.
looked around the
4x
room as
24.
his vision cleared up
All right,
and
that's fine.
normalized,
We'll rock
with
it.
one
This is
side
good.
still in the infrared, but the detail
Could be
made it
worse, right?
easy to pick up the
I think
fine
that's just
details
the
of a person's
DDM4.
face. Momo, what happened? I remember the fight and losing, but I don't.
Bro's got a lot
Everything
going
else
on.
is
No,
A,
this is just
as
a
he
M4.
gripped his
It's,
head
like,
with his
dressed
new metal
up.
arm. Feeling
Just
the
got, like,
cool
a
touch of it
dark
on
shit
his
on it.
skin, he looked down at it and shouted, What the? How
Because the
when?
DDM4 is the brown.
Momo quickly moved up to the opposite side of Izuku and attempted to calm him down. Izuku,
Does anybody
wait
sell
please,
a
listen.
different
She
color
struggled
laser? I
as he
don't like
moved the
green one. It's
sheets
hard
off
to
his
see.
legs
I
and
guess the
shouted
red one's hard
again
to see,
when he
too.
say the right one was
Oh.
also covered in the same metallic
Not really.
substance.
I haven't seen one.
Izuku pushed off the
What other
bed
color
and
would there
stumbled to
even be
the
in this
floor,
game?
cracking it with his metal
Red.
arm as he caught himself. He awkwardly
say
stood
red?
up and stumbled over to
Yeah,
a
I don't
metal
want the
pan to
green
see
one.
his
You
reflection,
mentioned
and he
both.
screamed again. His left eye was silver in
Yeah,
color
I'm
with a
asking
blood
if
red
anybody
iris.
sees-
Then I said,
Then as
what
he blinked in
other
panic, the
color?
red became green,
I
and
don't
his
know.
vision was
But that's- I
blinded
was
by
just-
intense
I was
color.
just saying out
Then when
loud
he
that I
opened
guess
it
fuck
again,
it,
it
I'll just
turned
rock the
gold
green
with it
one
showing a
'cause it's
halo
hard to
around
see both
object.
of them.
Stuck,
What?
I agree.
Help
Yeah.
when he next opened his eyes, everything was normal,
Gunny
but the
has a red
iris was
one.
glowing blue. Momo cautiously walked behind him. Izuku calmed down. Please. She extended her hand out to him.
Advanced red
He
laser.
reached for it almost
I love you.
instinctively and let her lead him back to his bed, the other people in the room watching silently. Izuku, what do you remember of today? Izuku thought and brought up the memories from earlier. I remember climbing out of a river,
Josh, you know, we just
Kachin
bought
and his friends
762.
threw
This
me
dude
in.
just dropped me
Inko
3
gasped.
stacks because he
She
saw me
knew
have a dragon out of my
Katsuki
hand.
wasn't her son's friend after everyone else's quirks developed except for his, but to think he was a
Wow,
bully.
that guy's a real G.
Momo wasn't happy to hear that either, and it would explain why Izuku was wet when they met. And then what? I remember you. You looked so sad, but I wanted to help you.
Josh,
He
ask him if he
silently
wants to go
said,
on this
making
expedition
Momo
with us.
blush. Do you remember the villains?
Yeah, I'm not
Izuku
asking.
nodded.
Fuck that guy.
The big guy,
Just call me
the lady
Duke.
called
It
him
is a cool name,
Barehead.
though.
Izuku started pointing at his limbs. They did this. The whip got my
I've
arm,
had it in
and the
my
guy bit off
inventory
my
with
leg.
nothing to use.
Did?
I was like, word, I
Izuku
feel
asked.
that.
Did
He
they get you
actually
too?
dropped it in, like, I
Momo
can't
shook
even
her
hear him
head.
in-game.
No, I got
I
out of
can't
the
hear him in
alleyway,
game either.
and some passing heroes heard me
Do I have
scream.
my
They
game
chased off the
chat, like,
villains.
low? I couldn't hear other
Izuku
people the
smiled.
other day.
I'm glad, he said simply. I'm really glad you didn't get hurt, making Momo blush deeper.
I don't even know if
But
there's
what
a
is
slider
this?
for the VoIP.
Your injuries were severe. The doctors
Just
gave up.
enable.
Momo started, but I wouldn't give up after everything you said and did for me. You are right. I should save
Alright.
everyone I could, and it starts with you. She glanced
Where are
over
we
to her
flying
parents,
to?
who were
I
still
guess is the
livid
real
but
question.
listening intently.
Where-
My
does
parents
anybody have
are,
one
but
closer
we're
than
working on a
Lima
new
1?
technology,
Yes.
nanomachines,
That's exactly where
micro,
we're flying to.
scopic robots that can self-replicate
boyos.
into any its shape or form needed, intent to replace the need for
Don't worry
specialized
about it,
equipment,
Josh. The
and the near
helicopter's here in
infinite
18
uses for them
seconds.
allow endless possibilities in their application. The occupants of the room were stunned. That's How do I
Also,
know
way
that?
to just totally
Izuku
spoil the
looked around the
surprise
room
and
for
tell
an
Ian
answer.
what fucking shit
One
he's
of the
gonna unlock,
scientists
dick.
spoke up. It's possible that if his head was
knew about
also
it.
injured, that his memories
About
and
Delta
knowledge
3?
might also have been affected, which would also
Oh,
explain
no, I
why
didn't
he
know
might
that.
not remember
See,
Mrs.
now you
Maria.
spoiled it.
It could be a
Yeah.
temporary aspect,
Idiot.
or
Yeah,
it might
I'm
be
in.
permanent.
Josh just said it.
My son might not know
Yeah,
who
but
I
I
am
didn't know that's
anymore.
what you were talking
Inko
about.
cried out.
That's not my fault.
We don't know. We were just
That
barely
doesn't
starting
mean he
tests for the
didn't spoil it.
nanomachines, and we never
You
planned for
just
human
didn't listen.
testing until at least a decade
Oh, the
from
dude
now,
got on the
said another
helicopter.
scientist.
He's
Which is
gone
why you
with
shouldn't have done
no.
this,
What?
young lady. Her father said accusingly at her. Who knows what it has done to this
Brother, I
boy?
hope you know we're
He
going
is
deep
alive
into the
because of the
shit.
machine's father. Momo justified her actions. That doesn't give you the right to make a decision like that. Her mother spat back. Quiet.
You must
Inko
not have a fucking
screamed.
mic
She
like
got
a
up from her
nerd.
chair and prostrated herself in front of Momo. Ms.
Where are we
Yayarozu,
going
you saved my
next?
son's
I
life.
just
For good
reminded
luck.
the
For that I
laugh
can
my
never
ass
thank you
off
enough.
With like
She got up
4 O's
and
with
turned
the
her
Delta
gaze to
3
her
narratives
parents.
for the
As
blueprints.
Izuku's mother,
You can hang with
please
us, Pop. I
accept what
can't
your
really
daughter
hear
did
you.
as something truly heroic. Izuku is all
Yeah,
that I
I
have
couldn't
left,
hear him
and
either.
he's
If he
alive
was talking,
because of what your
I
company
couldn't hear
made.
him.
That doesn't change the fact that over
may not have
100
a
billion
mic.
yen was lost, and we won't get results from any future testing. This could tip the board over the edge, and we could lose it all. Nashi Yayarozu responded. Izuku didn't like the tension in the room.
Did you
Mrs.
scrim tonight,
Yayarozu,
John?
He tried to choose his words right. I could be your test. The machines are in me, so can't you get something from that? He offered. Izuku, no, you can't just become a test subject.
Oh my lord,
Momo
this takes
gasped.
forever to
You didn't have a
scroll
choice in the
in
decision.
and out.
It's not right. But Momo, your parents are right.
Yeah, that's why I just
This
have
might
a
I don't
scale
know
of
what it
regular
might do or
Zoom.
be, but if I have these
It just
now,
goes from
I should let
5
your
to
parents know what they do to
25.
me. Izuku pleaded.
Shit,
Ringo Yayarozu
takes
pondered. We couldn't just take you. Too many witnesses.
that would take forever even
Momo
with my
shrieked.
mouse wheel.
Father,
my
you
mouse
can't
wheel,
be
you can
serious
just
about
flick it and it
abducting
just
him.
spins freely.
Ringo
and
threw
goes
his hands up.
hella
Not what I'm
fast.
suggesting, but those
Which is
machines
actually
did
fire
things
for
to his
this
body.
game, 'cause,
To
like,
what extent we
zooms,
don't
you
really
can
know.
just flip through
So it
them,
would behoove us all,
like, so
for his
fast.
own safety, to be studied
Actually,
and to
it spins
determine
so fast,
what
sometimes
level
it
of
doesn't
change
even
those
register.
nanomachines had on his physiology. Nashi interjected as well. Additionally, he's a teenager and will be going on to
Wow,
high school
Delta
soon.
3.
So what were your aspects before today,
Yeah,
young man?
surprise.
Izuku blushed. I
Wow.
wanted to be a hero.
This
But
dude
honey,
said,
you're
I know where they
quirkless.
are if y'all need
Inko
help.
said to
I was
her
like,
son.
You can puppy us if
Momo
you want,
quirked her
literally what I
eyebrow.
said, just
While
to
not
let him
even
know
his
that
mother
it's, like,
supported
kinda
his
weird.
idea,
You
just
can
like
puppy
mine.
us if you
Then she had an
want,
idea.
but we're kinda
That's
just goofing
perfect.
off.
She shouted,
There's
getting
a
everyone
fence over
attention.
here. He said, if you
What
follow
do you
me, I'll
mean
take you to
perfect?
both
The boy
BPs.
doesn't have a
I hate
quirk
this guy.
and wants to be a hero.
I don't want to go
Her father
with you.
scoffed.
Follow
I'm
this guy
down.
because he's
Yes,
absolutely right.
she whined.
Because he's
He
gonna
doesn't
go
have
the,
a
I already
quirk,
see which way
just
he's
the
going.
nanomachines, and
He's
wouldn't
gonna
that
go
be
the way
the
we were gonna
absolute
go
best case scenario
already.
to
I can
showcase
already
and
tell.
test them
He's
out
running the direction
against
I was gonna
heroes?
take y'all.
She spread her arms
Before-
out. If he
No,
can
he
without a
is. We're finna
quirk
go
use
up
the
on a,
machines
like,
to
hole in
keep
the
up with
fence
the
or a
best
side
this
gate
country
one,
has to
whichever one he
offer,
goes
or
to.
better yet, surpass them,
Then we're
Where
gonna
else
be
are
at
you
the
gonna
back of an
find a better
airstrip.
way to
There's a
sell it
jet
to
to
the
your
world?
right. Fuck you, Josh.
The
You come up on all
scientists
3
mumbled to
barracks
each other.
buildings
The
point
Mr.
blank. I don't
and
need my
Mrs. looked at
Fort
them.
Narrath knowledge
Well, would that
question,
really
right?
work?
You've
Uh-huh.
never
They
been
asked.
here. I've been here
Theoretically,
like 30
there would
times,
be no
okay?
better place besides a
One of us
highly
has
designed
completed
lab.
quests in the
UA
Fort
has some of the
Narrath
best
area,
staff at training and drawing out a
one of us
person's
hasn't.
potential,
All right,
and it
child?
is more
All right, there's a
capable than
reason
us
I'm
of
in blue
creating
jeans
unique
and you're dressed
scenarios
the
to
fuck
test
up in your
new and
boot-ass
experimental
full
equipment.
uniform.
One scientist
Like
shrugged.
Olive drab ass.
Our only
Mitch
complaint is
helmet
that
on.
while there he would have
Cooking me.
many
Let him know he
hours where
looks
his
like he's
actions could not be
goddamn
seen
G.I. Joe
firsthand
over here.
or have a
Motherfucker
method
said,
to
"I
easily
got this shit
and
from
quickly
base
contact
supply."
us if there are sudden changes
Nerd.
to his body or the machines. So, I would prefer we had someone on the inside.
Oh,
There's
we
Like a
must have
teacher
somebody
or
in the tower.
Yeah,
a
he
student.
already-
He killed him.
Momo quickly
Wow.
asserted. She looked hopeful.
bottom of the gate,
The plan
somewhere
was
in
to get
front.
Izuku into UA so he could be a hero, but with this I might be able to convince my parents to let me go as well.
Yes.
Nashi got a knowing look on her face.
And he was so impossibly hard to hit for
absolutely
some
not.
reason.
You are
Was
not
it
using this
strafe?
to
What was
sneak
going
your
on?
way
I
into
don't know,
UA
he's
to
a
be a
monster.
Well,
hero.
I was still
She said.
shaking from sprinting.
Momo stomped her foot on the
Over.
floor. Well, what are you going to do? Hiring a teenager who might not get in any
My
way,
full tax
or let it be
right.
known
My
to some
fist-
other
I
teen
did
that
it before.
Izuku is technically the result of illegal human
Okay,
experimentation.
you had a bowl.
Who
Yeah,
else
that's why I brought the
but me
SVD.
could do
I
it
didn't want a
and
bowl.
understand what changes could
You
be
just
happening
search
to
this
his
guy?
body? Who else would understand the structure structures of the
No.
human system and be
Somebody
able to
did
help
when
him
we
through
ran out.
this.
Did.
I guess it
It's
was a
not like he
random
knows
property.
anyone
Had a
else,
grenade
she
in it.
shouted. He even forgot who his mother
Probably
No,
was.
I didn't
want it.
actually
He needs
search him.
someone
I
there
just
that he
grabbed his
knows.
fucking gun and got out.
Her mother and father huddled together for a few
sure this
minutes
guy knows-
and
oh,
quietly
who was he in
argued
there?
back and forth. Fine. But he
Ian
needs to
didn't
be under
search him.
observation for the year leading
No, I
up to
didn't
his
search him,
entrance
I just
exam.
grabbed
I
at
his
the
assumed it was
academy.
a random. I was going to
How
say,
will
I'm sure he
Izuku
knows
do
what he's
that?
looking for.
He goes to public school,
SVD.
and we live down in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Inko
take-
asked, the
Yes.
conversation
black
having
SVD.
gotten away from her.
Yes.
But she at
Yeah,
least
there's
knew Momo
polymer
was not
SVDs
necessarily
here.
on
John,
her
this guy has
side.
a kangaroo
But she was on
factory.
her son's, and that was all that mattered right now.
Can you throw it in your bag?
put-
We will
Yeah,
obviously
I
have
got
to
it in
move
my
you
bag.
and your son
this
into
is
our
a random
home.
with me.
It's equipped
Yes.
with its own
John,
laboratory,
this
which
dude
will
are
allow
working
us
on
to
his first
monitor
building.
anything that happens to Izuku during his time, and we will have him enrolled into
sniper.
Aichi Private Academy. He will be in Momo's classes.
You run like an
What about his
idiot.
friend Inko was
We
about
know
to
that.
say before she was saddened by her own realization. My son has no friends. Even the person who was his best friend as a child threw
so
in
many
the river
doors.
like trash. She grit her
There's
teeth.
a lot of
I
doors,
accept.
Bob.
This
Some
is
of
the
these are
best for
locked.
Izuku.
He's looting
This
this?
stunned
What's in here?
everyone in the
What
room.
games?
Oh, it's a
No one
game.
had
Hold on.
expected Mrs. Midoriya to agree to such a drastic lifestyle
go?
change with such a meager fight. Are you certain, Mrs. Midoriya? Momo asked,
Over here,
concerned.
somewhere?
This is a big change for you and
He's
Izuku.
outside.
If he doesn't remember me, then he won't
ran
remember
back
all the
outside?
bad he
Yes.
went through, sending him back to his old school. He'll just go through it all again. And I won't let that happen, not this time. Inko stood
Oh,
up
now I'm
proudly.
really lost.
When
Where
should
the
we begin
fuck did y'all
packing?
go?
We're in the next building.
Ringo laughed. Well, I always did like a
Hilarious.
woman who knew what she
Yeah.
wanted.
Fast.
As he pulled out a phone, I'll have movers begin packing up your
Oh, I think
home,
he's taking
and
us to-
everything will be sent over this weekend.
He
How
is
does that
taking us to
sound?
the blueprint.
As the adults shared
There could be people to
information
our right,
on how
and
the
don't just
move would
sprint
go,
around.
Up here.
Izuku shuffled close to
This whole
Momo.
place is
Thank
terrible.
you, he said. For what? She looked down at him. For being safe, Izuku mumbled. I don't know if I would have been able to
Hope
live
this
with
guy knows
myself
he
if you
dies,
had
I'm
gotten
thinking he's
hurt.
good.
You almost died,
You
Izuku.
can't,
How can you be
'cause
worried about me?
It's not on the
Momo
PvP.
asked. Because at
That's
least I know I
hilarious.
was
Found the
strong enough to
DDM4.
save
It's
one
up here.
person without a quirk.
Oh shit,
Izuku
help.
smiled. For a few minutes
where
I
you
got
at?
to be a hero.
Never mind.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Before he slumped into
Sick.
her,
I thought
causing
one of
her
y'all
to
was in
cry
here
out.
with me.
Nope.
I
The
was, but I
scientist
was in a
rushed
room.
over, but after
had a
checking him
dog tag.
noticed he had just fallen
He has an
asleep.
AK-12 on
As
him,
Izuku
Ian.
was placed back
I
in the
just took an
hospital bed,
AK-12.
he dreamed of
He
a
has a
field
3
of
plus
flowers
pants
and
here.
a
He also has
beautiful
LCB.
woman
You
in a
should put the
yellow
LCB on.
sundress waiting for him. Izuku
Over
was
the
spending the
belt
weekend
you
in the
have.
hospital
Oh,
on
small
observation.
It's the
Inko,
3-pack,
his mother,
the
who he
3-pack
spent
belt,
many hours
belt
with
or whatever,
relearning his own
50,
history,
but I don't
had
think it
been
takes
back
as
and
much
forth
space
between
in
his
the,
home and the Yaoyorozu's, busying herself to
Clinton
pack up
here.
and move into the very spacious mansion.
Duffel bag,
He was
iced
fairly neutral
tea.
to the doctors,
It's
and it was
upstairs, right?
reciprocated. After
Yes.
Inko had spent 3 hours
Go that way.
screaming at
I
a
didn't mean
hospital
to go straight
administrator
down
in
to
the
this.
lobby about his doctor's comments towards her son, they reassigned him a new doctor to study
All these
him.
guys have pantsers.
Inko,
It's actually really
God,
cool.
This
And
dude
Sorry,
has an
Mom.
AK-15.
That's going to take some
Wait,
getting
oh,
used
dude,
to,
that's decked the
Izuku
fuck
moaned.
out.
She told me the doctor I have now was the one
Yo!
who originally diagnosed me quirkless as a child. Now Izuku, the
What,
quirk
oh, he has an
specialist, called out to him,
Yeah.
drawing his attention from the
He
books
does. I
on
took it,
Aichi
though.
Private Academy that
he's
Momo
Put
had
an
brought
assault
him
backpack
so that
on
she
him if
could help
somebody
him
wants
study
it.
to
He had an
catch up to
M2
their
plate
advanced
carrier, that's what I
curriculum,
said yo
which
about.
Izuku found
The
oddly
M++
easy. He had always been a
12
studious child,
plate
getting
carrier.
good grades. At least
Oh,
that is
that's
what
a
Inko
cool
had
beret.
told him.
Wait.
There's a beret
But he
in here
didn't
too,
think it
John.
would
There's
be
a
this
black one.
easy, so he
Where's the
simply
desk at?
attributed it to
That's
Momo's
my,
very effective study schedule. Thinking about Momo made his
On
face
me,
flush
yeah.
red.
AK-15
She's so kind,
bag
smart, and
for
beautiful.
you.
I need to do something to
Right.
thank her for being my friend. She's
the
the
desk,
only
though?
person besides
It's
Inko,
up top.
Mom,
If you go
damn
up
it,
the stairs,
the
go to
scientists
the
and
left.
Wait, where
doctors
did
to
our
come
blueberry
and
go?
visit
Did she
Shit,
me,
just
excellent
abandon
cat.
us?
which made him sad.
No, he's down
Did he
here.
not have
Oh,
friends?
no,
He could
actually,
vaguely
cat.
remember a
Blueberries.
boy named Kachin, but his only interaction with him was pulling himself out of the
Oh,
river.
fuck, hang on,
Was
bro.
that a
My game's
regular
going
occurrence,
crazy
or was
right
this a
now.
one-time thing? Izuku slipped back into his
Oh,
thoughts
okay,
as he
I
muttered
accidentally opened
possibilities about
Spotify
what
and
kind
it
of
is
person he
fucking
was.
updating.
Izuku,
Mid
I lost
fucking-
you again. The doctor called out to him. And if what your
That's
mother
not
tells
ideal.
me, that isn't a side effect of the
Another
operation.
black
Yeah,
beret
it
in
was-
Sorry,
here.
I just,
This is
Izuku
making my
started.
screen going.
The doctor
insane.
raised
Where's
his
the
hand in
desk at?
defense. It's quite all
Go
right.
up the stairs.
Amnesia is somewhat
I'm up
rare,
the stairs.
so it isn't
Go
uncommon to
left.
see
My
those who
fucking
suffer from
game
it
stopped
question the
again, bro.
memories they have
Fuck me.
or don't
Wait, there's a
have.
whole
But
assault
I would like to
backpack
check
in here.
and
If
see
somebody
if you
needs
are
a
in an
back- if
adequate
somebody wants
shape
to
to
take
be
an extra
discharged
backpack.
tomorrow. As he wheeled some
Didn't
machines
John's
over.
backpack already
Yeah,
drop?
drop
Sure
one
thing,
on there,
Doc. What do you
dude.
I'm
need?
with the
Yeah.
balloon.
Izuku,
No,
who
it's
decided if
one-
he
Smaller
can't
than the
remember
Scorpion.
much about his
an
past,
It holds a
assault.
he would
backpack.
dedicate
It's an
himself to
assault,
the
Josh.
one aspect he remembers, being a hero. So he watched heroes on the news. He thought a lot
I'm
of them
coming
were
back
pretty
down,
cool,
Josh.
calm, and collected,
Yeah, we're in the
rushing
next
into
building.
danger and
What color
saving
beret
people.
did you find,
But the
Josh?
hero that really got his attention was one who was giving an interview. The hero would spend his free time
Yo, this
finding
dude
lost
wrote down an
children
ass
and
ton of
taking them to their
codes.
parents, or just saving a cat in a tree. The knight-like hero said something very
For the
impressive,
fort?
to Izuku at least.
Yeah.
Whether I'm stopping a villain
I
or
just
just
found a
helping an
notebook
old
with like
lady
8
carry her
different codes in it. It says
groceries,
Soldier's
it's heroic
Diary,
because it
Forgetful
matters to
Soldier's
them.
Diary.
Helping people
It
with their
changes
problems
every
is what a
fucking
hero's
day.
job is.
Fuck it, I'm writing
Well,
it down.
Izuku,
It's
I would
to
like to
server
take an
rooms.
X-ray now.
1, 2,
As he
3,
set a
4, 5,
camera up
6
over
different
Izuku's
codes.
not metal foot. I want to see if the changes had any other
Damn near
side
does change
effects.
every day, huh?
As he turned
Like
his
I did
back
from
to head to the button to
answer
fire the
and
camera,
1812.
he heard a scrunching
What do you
sound.
mean go left and go
He
left
hastily
again?
looked back at his patient
as soon as you
and watched
get-
wide-eyed
stand at
as
the top of the
Izuku's left
stairs.
arm had grabbed the
Yes,
camera
Like you're looking
and
up
ripped it
to
off
the
its
left.
Where's the
rotating arm,
magazine?
and
Left, the
Izuku was
magazine.
just
Go all the way
studying
down.
the thing. Before black metal tendrils
You scared
threaded
me.
themselves from his
That was the
fingertips,
issue. I couldn't
and
find
he
the
started to absorb the camera.
I
Izuku,
literally
are you?
almost shot
He
you.
I
asked.
just got a
Good.
task.
I think so,
Yeah,
but now my
Yeah,
eye sees
that's
through
the
stuff.
secret
Izuku
task.
looked
Once
around
you
the room.
collect the-
Like skeletons and things.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
The doctor pulled out a pen
wait,
and
do I have to
paper,
pick it up
writing
again?
notes. I believe
Yeah.
you
Fucking
integrated the
confusing.
technology
Yo, I
into
hate this
yourself
shit.
and
Inspect
modified
it,
your
and then pick it up.
artificial
And then I
eye
have to
to
pick it
emit
up. This
X-ray
is dumb.
radiation. He sounded
Is the
impressed.
blueberry in here?
Just goes
Josh?
Really?
past-
That's kind of scary. Izuku looked around the
Just saw
room
somebody.
and saw people walking the halls, while darkened skeletons moving around. Blinking a few times, he cycled through his vision settings back to a more natural style. I wonder what you were feeling to make you do that,
always
the
fun.
doctor wondered. You haven't done that
Where
to
are you
other
guys at?
technology in the
Two buildings
hospital,
up?
and I think the doctors even got x-rays
about
before this as well. So what caused the change? Izuku
Y'all are
shrugged.
in the
I'm
emergency
unsure,
building or
but I
the
guess
little
since I can
office?
see x-rays and stuff,
Or-
I could try and
or-
tell you what was in my foot if you would
now.
like. He offered.
Yeah, I saw
Deciding
one
that
of
was
y'all running
easier
down the
than
stairs as
wheeling
I
him
was
into a
coming
new
up.
room. The doctor went
Some
with
part of
that.
this gets
He would just
irradiated,
inform then
so
administration
you guys
to
be
bill the
careful.
Yayarozus
Oh, it's
for
this
some
little
more
room
new
right
equipment.
Here, Josh.
I would like
They'll
to
have
know
a
how many
place
joints
where you
there
have
in
to
your
come
pinky
in,
toe are.
One of these irradiated
Izuku
ass
cycled his
rooms,
eye. Two. Still
it's
two
back
then.
there.
The specialist wrote some more notes. Then I guess you were still
shot?
quirkless. But he trailed off.
We are
You aren't
blueberry.
without powers and abilities
Yeah.
of your own. Meaning if you are
120-ish,
serious about being a
105-ish.
hero and going to UA, I will
Probably
make
is our
some notes on
blueberry.
your medical
I am
records
going
that
just
UA
straight to
would
the next
need for your
building.
student
Fuck this
profile.
stuff.
He said
There
as
it
he
is,
left
on
the
the
room.
map.
Izuku tracking
he's
his
in front of
movement
us.
through the
Oh,
wall,
fuck.
then taking notice that
must
two
be
more
other
skeletons were
factions.
coming towards his room. Based on the people that come to see him, it wasn't hard to tell by their shape and size that it
3
was
plus
Inko
pants here.
and
If somebody's
Momo,
rocking a 3
Mom
pants
and
here,
my
you can just
girlfriend,
switch 'em out,
Mom
maybe.
and my friend. Red-faced, he buried his head in his pillow as the door opened. Good morning, sweetie. His mom called out to him.
You blow me?
Good morning,
No,
Inko.
not you.
Getting a
Mom,
bird
I mean
cookie
Mom.
bar.
He sighed. His mother walked over to his bedside
Oh.
and patted him
you were
on his
behind.
I
arm,
found the other
flinching
blueberry. It's in here on
slightly
me.
at its cold metal feel. It's okay, honey. It's a change. She consoled him. Momo felt something was
You guys
out of the
laser
ordinary in the room, and say the rotating arm attached to the wall
terrible
was
time.
severed at the end. What happened here? She pointed and asked. Sorry,
there's no
the
flash
machines,
back.
which are me now, sort of absorbed the
Oh
X-ray
yeah,
machine.
you should bring
nervously
those.
said.
Yeah, you got, there's 2
Inko
digital
quirked her
cameras. I forgot
eyebrows
what
at her
you had it
son,
for.
then looked to the girl she came in
Is it
with,
handshake?
and that would
it's
mean?
a YBL one, but that
Izuku,
doesn't
can you
matter
see
because
things
I
like an
found
X-ray
2
now? Momo
fuel
asked him.
canisters in Blue
Izuku
Lagoon
only
while I
nodded
have
in
it for like
response.
YBL, and I mean
I didn't
Yeah,
mean
found,
to.
I found
It just
one
sort of
digital
happened.
camera,
He
but I
quickly said.
didn't find another
So does that
one,
mean you can
so
see through
if you see
clothes?
another one,
As she
that would
quickly
be
covered her
huge.
chest and privates blushing. Izuku's entire
not
face
one?
turned red. No, I can only see like bones and stuff. And then your bones look nice. I mean, I would think they look nice,
Is it a
since you
digital
look nice.
camera or is it a
I mean, I'm not
DSLR
looking at your
camera,
skeleton
John?
or anything. But I just
don't
guess since you're
know.
so pretty,
I
you
don't know
might
the
have pretty
difference.
bones. And why can't I shut up?
I mean,
Help
that's
me,
just
Inko, Mom.
like in real life. I
Who,
don't know the
like all
difference
moms in a
in-game.
situation like this, become traitors,
You know the difference
just
in real
laughed at her
life?
poor son's predicament
Yeah, I do.
and watched the 2 teens turn scarlet as they awkwardly
Well,
tried
right,
to
so
we got what
defuse
we
the
came for.
situation.
Should we get out
After
now,
a minute
or
of
do we
her,
keep
she
loot- or do
granted
we
her
keep
son
the loot
mercy.
room going?
Yes, Izuku.
I'm basically out
Momo
of
is a
room.
very beautiful
too.
young
We have
lady,
to go,
she said, making Izuku
what
hide
was-
behind a pillow. Now we came
I
here to
could fill
tell
an
you the move is
entire
all
plate
but
carrier of
completed,
stuff.
so once
We
you
have
are
to go
released you can
Bronco.
come to our new
We have
home.
to go here.
Is it nice? Izuku asked, as he
should.
peeked over the pillow. Inko nodded. Very nice.
Whoa, what is
I
that?
already
Where
had
you
your
guys
stuff
at?
brought to your new room. Then she leaned over
LSHC?
and whispered into her son's ear. It's right across from Momo's, she insisted, making
I'm still
Izuku
going
cover his
with
face
the-
again.
I'm
Momo
outside.
looked around the room. Everywhere,
Me and
but
Ian
where
are starting to
Izuku or
boogie
Inko
towards
could see her
Bronco.
Yeah, I'm
face,
trying to figure out
which
how to
was
get
tinged
down.
pink. I will go back home and inform my
front
mother and
gate's right
father that
here,
you are
and I think we
already
just
showing
hit it.
signs of compatibility with the Nanites. Izuku called out to her before she shut the door.
Seems like a lot of
Momo,
people are
your,
partying in Fortnera.
parents, they aren't
Yeah,
mad at you, are they?
it's,
He asked. She had saved him at the potential
all the
expense of her
factions are
parents'
here.
company. They aren't mad. But they aren't happy either.
Yeah, all the factions.
Those machines
get
were over 100 billion
everywhere,
yen in
technically.
development. They are just worried that everything they spent their entire
But
lives
this
on
actually
is
a
now
huge
riding on
task
your
area.
success.
Once we
It
got
wasn't
YBL,
fair for me to
they
put them in
they
that
all have their
situation,
little
but it wasn't
YBL
fair for you to
equivalent
be in the
starting
one
zone,
that
right?
brought you here. Momo
It's outside
explained
of their own
before
little
she shut the
man-haven
door.
or whatever,
Izuku's
but,
new
basically,
vision
as
type,
soon as
letting
you
him track
get
her movements through the wall.
done with that
So
first little set
Izuku,
of tasks,
let me
it
teach you a
throws
few
to
pointers
fort.
on how to please a
There's
woman.
tripwire.
Throws
Inko
everybody
teased.
to fort.
Mom, Izuku cried out again, burying
No,
himself in a
these have like the
pillow.
cables on top.
Okay, Izuku, I want to see how much you
Yeah,
can
it's
lift
like,
with your
just part
non-metallic
of the
arm.
gate. There's a 3+
Said a woman
panzer
in a
right
lab
here.
coat.
That's
Got it, as he reached
57.
down to lift the metal bar.
LCB
Applying pressure
belt, I'm
now.
taking
As she
it.
turned dials, and the hydraulic press in the room increased pressure slowly.
Josh, you should grab one
Tell
of
me
these
when.
LCBs.
After about a minute,
as
Izuku
well.
called it. 98 kilograms. Very
It's a
impressive.
belt. If
As the
one of these
scientist
dudes is
turned to
rocking- this one
Inko,
has
was he
69
always
on it.
this
This seems to be
strong?
the most
Inko shook her head.
up-armored panzer
No,
we found
he's
so
been a
far.
determined young man, but not physically strong. What does this mean? She asked the scientist. The lady
Yeah, it's
scribbled
basically
some
an
notes on her
MC-50.
pad. It would seem that the Nanites have slightly modified his body. My guess would
Does it
be
have
so
4
that it
slots?
doesn't destroy his body
No,
by
it's
having
3.
weaker material
Like the
attached to them.
MC-50. The Type,
She looked over to a
what is it,
computer
4
and
or
adjusted
6?
some numbers.
The
But it would
Type
appear
is
that his
the one
non-metallic
with,
parts
4
are at
slots,
least equivalent
but it
to a
takes
trained
up 6.
athlete.
This is the one
Now
that
to
takes
just
up
test
4
the
and
metal.
holds 3.
Izuku, whenever you are ready.
Like the
Izuku
drop
stretched
pouch
his
one you're
arms.
wearing right
These
now,
physical
actually.
tests
So
have
never
been
mind, you
going
don't need
on
to.
for a
Are
few
you out
hours.
of
The
the
early
shitty
ones had
belts?
just been
You
to get him
passed those
used to
already?
moving around with his new limbs.
just don't
Now
like
it
that.
seems they want to test his
No.
limits. He was much faster,
You
able
should
to
start
complete a
wearing those
50-meter
on loot
dash in
runs
just
and
under
drop 'em
6
for
seconds.
anything better
Not quite at pre-Quirk
and/or
Olympic records,
cooler
but
that
getting
you
there.
find. Like Ian
Okay,
earlier, I
I'm
talked
ready.
Ian into dropping
He called
one
out
for a
before the
leather fanny
machine
pack
increased
because
pressure.
it was the same size.
Hearing Izuku call out a
think they
few
were
minutes
both 2
later,
slots.
the scientist whistled
But
for
now he has a leather
170
fanny pack that
kilos.
just looks
As she
cool.
wrote down his results. Inko cheered on
Bro's
her
a
son. Wow,
Lamanganesian
and will he
now,
also
dude,
get
you feel
stronger?
me? Leather
She
fanny
asked the
pack and all.
scientist.
Yeah, Josh, we were
Most
also
certainly,
telling
the Nanites are going to
we were
grow
also
and
saying that we
adapt
were
with his
gonna
body.
fucking,
She put on a pair of
What?
goggles. We aren't sure what would trigger more responses out of the
You're ugly.
machines as they appear to have become quite
joking,
symbiotic
I
to
love
his
you.
body.
Oh
She
wow,
scrunched
that
up her
was mean.
features.
Thank you.
That's not the right way to say it. They are. She watched the boy stretch and
He's
move his
talking
body.
Well, I'm going to
It's like
kill
they have bonded
myself.
completely and are just a natural part of his body.
Yeah.
Inko was
You're ugly. He
confused
said,
at the
"You too."
explanation,
I was like, oh,
and if
that
they
was
didn't,
mean.
making the other woman grimace.
I didn't
Well, if
know
they
he was
rejected
gonna
him,
say
they
anything
could have
back.
become inert and done nothing, or
Yeah, yeah,
assimilated
Ian,
go
shit.
right,
or
go right,
replicated
go right.
more of themselves
Ian,
instead.
Ian.
She coldly answered. But it seems that for whatever reason he was
I'm body
strong
blocking
enough.
Ian so he can't
I
get
guess
to the
that the
barbed
machines
wire.
capitulated
I'm
to his
going.
will or something.
Just
Could be
dived
because they
into
were
it.
also bonding to parts of his brain
Ugh.
and they rewrote
Can't
them
dive, it's
into a
gonna
natural part of his body. So all the machines are now working to
shaking my
protect
ass on the ground
and
here.
enhance the host. Said another voice,
These guys
making
probably
Inko
just left
jump.
from here, which
She had
means
forgotten
fucking
about
great,
the other
bro.
scientist.
Shit.
He was the lead developer for Yarozu Industries. And he was
Yeah,
strange.
but what I'm saying is
Yes,
it means
Dr.
the crates
Hydro
probably
Shikina,
hit
you're probably right.
that
Yeah.
spawn
That's
that
more
the stairs
scientific
on
than
the
his
second
determination was enough to
Oh,
subdue
Sheila
them,
landing.
said the female
Yeah, it is
scientist,
it.
completely
And it
unromantic
was a
in every
firearms
way.
box. These
She didn't
guys are
mind
too
working with the
fast.
doctor in short bursts. He was truly
Oh, yeah, we
brilliant.
gotta turn
But he,
it.
like his namesake, was insane. His quirk was madness.
Ooh, it's
It allowed him to
17.8.
induce period of dementia and mental
Where do I do that
instability
at?
in a
What are these
person,
even
and
you just go
rumor
to your
has it he
task
subjects
and
himself
just
to his
hand
own
over.
quirk for extended periods of time.
And there's
He
the
was a nice
medium
guy,
for-
but you had to be
I don't
careful as
have
what he says and
miscellaneous.
does are two very
It's-
different
No, it's in
and
Fort
similar
Nerith.
things at the
It's
same
in Fort
time.
Nerith.
Wow,
Hey
Josh, why
Izuku,
didn't-
we're going to
It said
test your
it's
reactions
like
now.
miscellaneous
As
or
Dr.
something.
Hydro Shikina reached into his waistband. Okay, just
Wait,
tell
that
me when
means
you.
so we leveled
Izuku
up
started before a
for
loud crack
Vulture.
rang out in the
Oh, I
room.
got 105.
He barely had a
finally level
moment
up for
before his
Vulture?
arm came up,
Well, I didn't
and he
level
heard a
him up,
solid
but we got
ping
some
as a
Vulture,
bullet
some
struck his
XP.
metal hand.
For
Inko was
Vulture?
now screaming at
I didn't
Dr. Hydro
realize we could do
Shikina,
that.
"You just shot my
Yeah.
son.
Low
Yeah.
key.
How could you?"
Get
That's
Vulture
so
level 4
irresponsible.
and- yeah,
Dismissively,
he's got a,
the doctor responded.
uh,
See, he's
Wow,
fine, he
so now
blocked
he has
it.
an
And a good thing too, I was
AK-308?
aiming at his head.
Yep.
Yeah,
Izuku
yeah,
was
and
frustrated.
actually, like,
And why were you aiming at my head?
17.8
He shouted.
thousand. Damn.
Duh.
The
If you want
Phantom
to be a
Lance
hero,
is
you need to get used to
26.6.
people attacking you.
Lord.
So now you at least know you can
Yeah.
defend
Dude, you
yourself.
me to take it
Dr.
before, fuck
Hydroshikina
off.
answered. The lady scientist
a
weighed in on this
SAVZ
discussion.
5.8
This
with a
test was to
suppressor
study
on it,
his
though.
reflexes. We were going to throw
I don't know what
tennis
kind of
balls
mount
back
you would
and
need to put
forth.
aside on that, but
PSH, anyone can catch a tennis ball.
He's got
And these
a
tests are taking
special
too long
AK-74
anyway,
in
Dr. Hydroshikina said
that
with a
looks
bored
hot.
tone. We want real results. He's going to take the UA exam. We need
Brand
to test him like a hero.
AK-74N.
Push him to his limits.
there's,
This
there's
Nambipambi
also,
crap is wasting his, and more
19
I want to buy
importantly,
it just
my time.
Just for the.
That
just for
doesn't mean
the-
you can just shoot a child,
just for the
especially
Brand's
mine.
one at.
Inko
I
screamed.
don't even see that one.
He's
It's
fine.
under- it's
See,
right
he
under
even
the
has that
AKM.
same dopey look on his face again.
Uh,
Wait, no, he always looks like that. Dr.
Okay,
Hijo
okay.
Shikina
The
said,
Darkwood.
as Inko was
Yeah.
infuriated
Yeah,
by
that
this
is
doctor's
sick,
complete
actually.
disregard for safety. She did glance and
Like
noticed that
Tool
Izuku had his patented thinking
something.
face on. She could almost see the words
Which
he was
one?
muttering
The
Like the
too.
magazine has some
I
shit
agree with
going
Dr.
on it. The
Hijo
metal's
Shikina.
tooled, the wood is
Izuku
tooled.
concluded, not about shooting
Like
me.
it's decorated.
That was a
the
dick
brands.
move. But these tests are
yeah,
just
there's the
finding
Mossberg
numbers.
590. You
Aye,
didn't
we
already
could
have
get
one?
those if we also train me.
That's the same
It's
one.
been
Why?
months since I've been out of the hospital,
the
and the
one
UA
you gave me.
entrance
I
exam
know.
is in
You
about a
get the
year.
blueprint for it,
I need to be
too.
serious about training, not just if I want to get in,
Wait, this
but to
is
prove
like
that the
Mark
Nanites are a
18
success.
for it. It's real short.
Inko was
Got a
none
fucking
too happy about
11.
her son's
Wait, where's
decision,
the barrel?
but it was his
That's-
decision
Got
to
10
make.
and a half inch.
Gur, fine. Let's have you do some training. She stormed over to Dr. Hijo Shikina and swiped the gun out of his hand. But this, you shoot my son again, and you'll wish I stop at shooting you. Dr. Hijo
John, go
Shikina
to
growled
Gunny.
like a jungle cat. Feisty. That's how I like them. He wiggled his eyebrows at the very
Tell
displeased
me what
mother.
you see there.
See, Izuku, you get nowhere without causing a little bloodshed and stress marks.
Like in general.
Now tomorrow morning you'll join me on the
I'm
lawn,
supposed to be looking for some?
5:47 a.m.
Yeah, he sells
So,
the DDM4.
if you don't waste my time,
17.
I'll have you ready to tear those
Oh, yeah, he
robots
does,
limb
doesn't
from
he?
limb and probably a few other things too.
17 for me.
Before he strutted out of the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can
Vulture
you work
sells it
with a
for
guy like
27,
that?
But,
Inko asked the remaining scientist.
and he also sells the
She
mags
shrugged.
and the parts.
He really is
so-
brilliant. Small doses helps. Okay, Izuku, I think we're done for today. Izuku sat down in the
Vultures
large
has
living room going over his
other
notes
shit on
for his
it.
middle school robotics course.
Vultures
Being
has a
an
flashlight and a
advanced
laser
and
on
private
it, and you're
school,
saying
the
that's
lessons
worth
they offered were more specified to
fucking
potential futures.
how much
So they
more?
had courses that covered
Fucking
more aspects of the hero
$10,000
society they
basically?
lived in.
Y'all
Since
are
middle
high.
schools could not be legally
I'm buying
licensed for
Baran's
Quirk
AK.
usage, they are unable to host
buys-
hero classes like the ones taught at
Damn,
UA
did you?
and Shiketsu.
I did.
But they are able to foster
Oh, yeah,
classes that
vibes.
touch upon education such as support, business, and
Here's my
tactics.
one-
He was surprised at
Before
how
I've been
much
trying to build
faster
That's
he
the
was
only money that I'm
advancing in
spending,
robotics
though.
class, even if much of it was
Ah.
theory and very little was building anything. It left him wondering on some level if the
Surprised you didn't buy
nanomachines
the
made
AK-38.
understanding machinery and computers easier.
Nah.
He had been stuck on a very specific question on the term paper for Mrs. Robato's
Brand's
class.
AK was
Izuku
only,
always thought it somewhat
Brand's
weird
AK
that
was
some
only, like,
people's
fucking
names just matched up with their
$3,000, so-
personality or profession so easily, and was wondering if that played any significant part in choosing their careers. He just shrugged it off to a
I
weird
gotta take all this
coincidence in
shit out of
life,
my backpack
like how
and
I
sell
feel
it.
like sometimes events just
Oh,
move
John, did you
faster
want the
until something
AK-15
important happens.
mag that I found?
Izuku was pulled from his thoughts as Momo sat down next to him. Hey, you still on the same question?
Keep it or not?
She politely asked. Izuku looked up from his textbook. Yeah,
I don't know if I'm
I
gonna keep
know
it
what
or
answer
not
she
yet.
wants me to write.
Oh,
But
well.
he trailed off. You know that there is a better answer, but doing so would be counted
Do one of
against
y'all
you.
want the AK-15?
She finished
I'm
his
definitely
thought
gonna
for
take
him.
the flashlight
Izuku nodded
and
in
the sight
return.
off of it.
He dropped his
What does the
pencil on the
AK-15
coffee
shoot?
table. Even in the
62 by
advanced
39.
classes, the stuff is still the
Just a
same.
polymer,
Answer
like
how the
modern.
teachers want you to answer, even
I
if
mean,
you know
if
it's
you
wrong.
don't want it,
Middle
I'll
school's
order
the same
people
everywhere you
version
go,
of it.
I guess. Over the months, his
Yeah, I'm
memories
really
had been
pretty bare
returning
bones stuff.
slowly. Mostly just
That's
what
fine, I
happened.
have all
There
the
was
mounts
some
and
issue
everything.
where the emotions he would have been feeling at the time the event occurred didn't return with them. He understood that he had a
What ammo this
terrible
guy
time
give
in
me, 'cause it's
school,
not
but
for
now
my
to him
gun
it was
either,
all so far
by the
away.
way.
It made him wonder if it was healthy to have this much of an emotional
Well,
detachment
since you
to his
have
own
that, I
past.
have the,
Ugh,
have
I would
another
hope
mag
not. Momo groaned.
for you.
As much as I like a solid education, if every school was filled with the same type of people, I would go insane. She flopped back into the fabric. In public, she was Yaoyorozu,
You wanna
the
put that
beautiful
gun in the
daughter of
weapons
one of the
box up here,
richest
John?
families in
So-
Japan.
Yeah, I'm going to.
In the regular business meetings she sat in on, she was Ms. Yaoyorozu,
Oh, you're up
expected
here. I'm up
future
here with you.
CEO of the entire company. Even at home, she was Lady Yaoyorozu to all the servants and employees that managed such a luxurious manner. But here, when it was just her
Oh,
and
I
Izuku,
hate it here.
she was Momo, not a rich girl, not the next big boss, not the master's and mistress's daughter. She was a teenage
Hell
girl
yeah.
sitting with a teenage boy,
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
more,
look at
nothing
this AK.
less.
This was worth
Unless I
the
wanted more.
fucking
Suddenly blushing at the
$3,000.
thought.
Look at it.
It's not that bad, he
It looks
said
sick.
back, as she stretched herself out on the couch. I mean, sure,
I have
Aichi
a
is
whole
different than what I'm
Phantom
able to
Type 2
remember,
vest
but
full
Momo
of
stopped him with a
grenades.
confused look.
Hell yes.
Seriously, you want to go with it's just different?
Yeah,
She
Josh, come up to
questioned,
the roof real
half the
quick.
student body are already
awesome,
in
actually.
arranged marriages to someone else. The other half is so high on their own fumes I wonder if
Oh, yeah,
anyone
that is
has
dope as
ever told
fuck.
them no
Yeah,
before.
yeah, that's
Well,
fucking
you told that
raw,
one guy no
dude.
the other day.
Honestly,
Izuku
fuck
scratched
it.
his cheek.
That's worth.
Because
You're
I'm
gonna
not
be so
going
mad
to
when you
be
die
some
with it.
plaything for a spoiled rich kid waiting
I
for
am
his
gonna be
grandpa
pissed.
to
I'm
kick
putting
the
a tracker
bucket
on this
and
fucker.
claim his meager inheritance. She tossed a pillow at him, but you still said no to him. He caught the pillow and placed it
wait.
under her ankles. He knew Momo was in a
Can I put a
comfy
tracker
mood.
on it?
She just wants to vent and
You
stuff.
have to buy one
She'll
from
grab the
there, right?
remote and put on some mindless action movie in a
Who
minute.
sells the tracking tags?
Momo laughed. And how did he react to that? She rhetorically asked her friend. Izuku relented, poorly, making her laugh harder. And how did you react to him reacting? She teased. Izuku blushed and hid his face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. They got him out of the trash can eventually. At this point, Momo was cackling madly. Yeah, the fire department had to come and use a metal-cutting quirk to get him out. She grabbed the remote, just like Izuku knew she would, and began channel
Stairs.
surfing. He shouldn't have tried to hit you, Izuku muttered,
I
before
hate it
Momo
here.
began prodding him with her feet. And I think it's very sweet I have my big, strong
Yeah,
knight
this
in
fucking
shining armor to
flashlight
defend my honor.
in my
Before she sized him up, well, maybe not
or on my
big,
gun
or
is
all that
preparing.
strong,
Yeah, Josh,
and your
look at
armor
this
is
shit.
more matte than shiny.
It looks
Hey,
sick.
maybe you should try returning the favor sometime then. He indignantly
Yeah, that's why I bought
stated.
it.
Oh, are all the girls chasing short, green, and cuddly now? Well, not now, but it'll happen, eventually, maybe. Fine. I promise to make sure all the other girls know your mind then. Before she blushed, realizing what she just said. Izuku found an opening to return fire. Oh,
Oh,
yours
I
am
gotta
I.
put the- yeah,
Tell me
dude, I
again,
want-
how
I
you'll
gotta put
protect
this
my innocence
FPS
from those
back in my
evil
bag.
succubi. He
Dude,
crawled
take
over
it
her
to the
legs
room.
and crept up her body. Zuku, Momo whispered. Yes, Momo? Izuku stopped so his face was even with hers. I'll prop rote. As she stammered out her words, the sound of a throat clearing made Izuku jump, like cat off Momo, and fall to the floor with a loud thud. Yes, I would prefer if you didn't try to molest my daughter in my own living room, young man. Nashi said to Izuku.
Oh, right.
Over the
Oh, my
months that the
fucking body.
Midoriyas had been staying at the manor, she began to take a liking to the mother and son. She and her husband knew they were harsh at the hospital so long ago, but it was a very stressful situation,
Now look
one
at
she
me,
could
I'm
have
a cool
handled
guy.
better. But as she got to know Izuku,
Cool
she
guy as
saw that
fuck,
while his
actually.
memories had been affected, every piece of information she
cool.
could dig up
Oh,
on the
your beret's
boy
red?
showed
Damn,
that
mine's
his natural heroic nature remained intact. So she knew he was a good boy,
I have a
and
black
good
one,
for her
too.
daughter's budding confidence. As a result, this was not the first time she found the children seemingly prepared to take their relationship from
Somebody need the
friendship to
MOE
something
stock?
more. It did disappoint her that her own daughter still lacked the confidence to go all the way. God knows I did before I was her age.
No.
What was that, Mom? Momo shouted in annoyance at the fact that another
John, I gotta give you
romantic
this
moment was
kangaroo
being
pouch, too.
ruined by another interruption. I said if you wanted Izuku to screw you silly, do it in one of your bedrooms, with the door locked. She also shouted back,
Yeah.
knowing that a comment like that would win her the game.
Oh,
She
right.
played
I
with
forgot
Mrs.
about that. Hang on a
Midoriya.
second.
Having Inko around the house was
Oh
like
my
a dream.
God.
She had never had
Just
much
take the
time for
stalk
female
off, you stupid
companionship with
bitch.
devoting her life to her work, and the
You
staff
dumb old
were
bitch, you
always
dumb
too
old
timid to
ugly.
speak their mind. But the first time Inko and herself were leaving a parent-teacher conference at
Not a full come
Aichi,
apart.
as all the parent want to
Right
see
now.
how their money is being spent, when she called the headmistress a complete and utter windbag, they got along famously. Inko had
mean, we
no
don't have
problems
to. I
with
literally just
integrating
was
into the
putting it
high
on to put it
society,
on.
and her down-to-earth nature let Nashi let loose in more common ways. And now having a second person who was there to tease the children was just the icing on the three-year wedding cake. Mom, please, Momo cried out in denial. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I wasn't going to-toto. Izuku scuttled away from the couch. With a devilish smirk, Nashi
Those
crossed the
AFG
room.
hand grips we
Don't give
get
me
are so
that.
fucking
If you
good.
think you're ready to
I'm
pin her to
taking
the
them off the
couch,
gun.
you better be ready to make a woman of my daughter.
Yeah,
As
they
she
are
grabbed the
pretty good,
remote
actually.
and flipped over to one of the more risque channels,
I
before
actually am
running
putting a
full tilt
shittier
out of the
hand grip I
room
looted
as
that's, like,
Momo
not even
created
bad.
objects to throw at
It's
her.
just not as good.
Gajeez, the nerve of
Putting
that.
it onto
That,
the-
gore,
onto my
Momo
gun
snarled,
and
cheeks
some
a
AFG
deep
duty
scarlet.
back,
I
basically.
know, I wouldn't do that to you
Yeah,
here.
I have one
Izuku
of
agreed.
those on my
Not here,
AK-12
but
that I've been
somewhere.
running around
She
with.
glanced at him shyly. Well, you're like my best friend and stuff. And I think you're
It's
really
actually
pretty
nice.
and
So
smart and
that-
fun and cool and funny and... Before a finger was placed on his lips, silencing him. I might be thinking the same thing. She demurely said. So what does that make us? Izuku asked. Late for dinner is what it is. Inko shouted as she stuck her head in the room, having been tipped off by
You guys
Nashi
change your
as to what their
FOV, by
children
the
were
way?
doing. Before she laughed as Izuku started yelling about evil mothers, she closed the door. Momo got off the couch and turned off the
73.
TV as she walked to the door leading out of the room. She squeaked in surprise when
73.
Izuku's hand slid
Yeah.
into hers. Both teens had blushes and smiles on their
That's like a weird
faces,
number for
and the
you.
mothers were struggling to
No, it
suppress
just
their
seems
giggles
zoomed
while they
out as
ate.
fuck.
Later that night, who was watching porn in the
Like
living
higher
room?
FOV.
Ringo
usually.
shouted, causing Izuku and Momo to wake up
Stick with
in their own
65.
rooms. And not
There's
even the
a
good stuff
bunch
Mr.
of
Yaoyorozu added.
AK stuff.
Izuku crawled out of bed and got dressed in the clothes the scientists recommended for him to be tested in. When he got to the lawn at 5:46, Izuku looked around and didn't see anything. At exactly 5:47, he turned as he heard
Yeah,
the
find
sound of
somewhere to
squealing
bury this
brakes
grenade.
and an old car digging harsh gouges in the lawn before it came to a stop in front of him. Dr. Hijo Shikina stepped out of the driver's seat.
Oh, are
The
you
not
putting that
quite
stuff in
sane
that
doctor
case?
pulled out
I
a
forgot
pocket
about it.
watch. Good. You only wasted a minute. Izuku was confused, but I got here at 5:46. I was early. He was unsure how he wasted time. Dr. Hijo Shikino walked over to Izuku and ruffled his hair. Yes, and that meant you were standing around for a full minute, before he walked over and sat in a lawn chair. So if you did that every day, that's 365 minutes, 6 whole
There you go,
hours you
there's your
wasted.
kangaroo rig.
And I doubt that's that only time you stand around. How many minutes
forgot
out of a
about
day
that.
do you waste, I wonder?
Thanks,
Izuku
Bob.
thought on it. The man had a point, but all those moments so far in between each other,
It holds
how much do they
12.
really add up? Anyway, why bring a car
was the
here?
recon.
And as he took in the amount of destruction he caused to the lawn, are the Yaoyorozus
Wait, I
going to
should
be
able
okay
just
with what
put
you did
all
to their
this
lawn?
shit on my
Dr.
fucking-
Hijo Shikina looked at the trail he made driving up. Nope,
Yeah, I
but
should be
they
able to take
agreed
this
to
shit
a
off
little
my AK-12
collateral
and
when they
put it on
hired
my
me.
fucking
So all they
AK-15.
can do is yell at me. Now stop
Believe.
distracting yourself. You have 41 minutes left. Izuku looked at the car and then back at the doctor. To do
Maybe
what?
Take this one out.
Ugh,
Put it in
seriously,
the
destroy
middle
this car.
there.
Punch it. Kick it.
Inspect.
Fuck it. Lick it. I don't care how you do it. Just turn this hunk of junk into a pile of
Yeah,
scrap.
I gotta change
As the doctor pulled out a children's coloring book, then began to read it like a novel. Izuku walked over to the still running car. So anyway is fine? As he raised his fists. Yes, stop wasting time. You only have until 6:30 before we have to move to the next stage. Izuku turned back to the car and raised his fist and punched. With a resounding clank, nothing really happened. Are you sure this is a good training method? Dr. Hijo Shikino walked over to Izuku and smacked him on the head with his coloring book. I saw what you did to Barehead months ago. I know you can fight. Now figure out what you need to do to see this car, as he whacked it a few times with the book as an enemy. Then proceed to destroy it. Izuku nodded at the strange thought before he danced around the car, throwing punches and a few knees into the frame. When he hit with the metal arm and leg, it
Really,
left a
you
few
can't,
dents,
right? It's the
so he
same
began to
caliber.
favor attacking with those parts of his body. After what
Which
felt
has-
like a few minutes, the doctor got out of his seat and pushed Izuku to
One
the
for my
ground.
SKS.
Congratulations, you wasted my time.
You'd
It's
think.
6:30 and this car isn't destroyed. The doctor said angrily. Izuku looked at the car. The wheels were bent, the cabin had been caved in, and the door had fallen off. It looks pretty messed up to me. Of course you would think that, you little shit. As the doctor got in the driver's seat as best he could and hit the
But I need an
accelerator, the
adapter.
car began rolling forward. But look, I can still drive the damn thing. I can't believe the young lady is wasting her time on some weak-willed, snot-nosed punk like you who is
Wait, I
too
can't put
afraid
it
to
back on
attack
my
an inanimate
SKS?
object.
Why?
Izuku got pissed. Hey, leave Momo out of this. Why the fuck should I? She's the one who got duped by some loser into betting her family's company, her life, on someone who has the most powerful machines, as he jabbed the angry boy in the chest, in his blood, and can't do more damage in 43 minutes than I can with 5 and a hammer. And now you waste my time. Just give up. The doctor stomped over to his chair to retrieve his book when he heard the sound of screeching metal and heavy pounding. Dr. Hijo Shikina looked over his shoulder smirking. Works every single time. Izuku was huffing in anger, and the car had been folded in half. The engine sputtered and died. Izuku's hand and leg were bleeding from cuts gotten from the jagged edges of the car. The doctor casually pulled out his pocket watch. 15 seconds. Next time, I better not have to motivate you into doing something properly. Otherwise, blood will be shed, as he leaned to the boy. And it won't be yours, he threatened. When Izuku walked back into the house to shower and ready himself for school, he got stopped by Momo, who was coming out of hers in a sheer nightgown. Izuku squeaked as he could see the outlines of her breasts in the fabric before he covered his face and ran into his room. Izuku, I just wanted to see how the first lesson with the madman went, she said while knocking on his door. Great, just need to take a shower and cool off, he spit out. Momo got more concerned. Izuku, is something wrong? Are you feeling okay? Nope, nothing wrong, just the breast best, I mean best, Izuku shouted. I'm coming in. Something might be wrong with the machines, Momo stated as she turned the handle. Wait, no dot, Izuku yelled as he tried to hide, but she came in faster than he could cross the room and froze, a steaming red blush on her face as she got an eyeful of his member.
What are we doing next?
Momo slowly closed the door. I'm just gonna go to breakfast, Momo said rapidly as she ran off. Izuku got in the shower and began smacking his head on the tiles. At the dining table, Momo sat down hard, alerting the other occupants, which were the parents. So Momo dear, what got you all riled up this morning? Said Ringo. Momo looked down. Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. She tried to play innocent when the mothers began snickering. And what do you two have to say about it, huh? Inko snorted. Nothing. Just didn't think it was this cold in here.
I'm sorry.
Momo quirked her head in confusion, and then in a moment of clarity looked down and screamed, then covered her chest. I just Izuku. She realized that she had all but gone out of her room naked. Nashi took the easy shot. Is Izuku making his way up Mount Momo? Compared to the three women, Momo easily had the largest of all their breasts. Mom, no. Momo defended herself.
Okay,
I just
that's
saw
actually
it.
fat.
Ringo
Wait.
put down his paper in the
That's
same
actually
way that all
huge.
fathers do.
Wait, Josh is off
Wait,
tomorrow
you saw?
too?
No,
What did
I'm
you
He's off
see?
at 3.
He interrogated.
Oh, fire.
I'll be home.
Momo
I'll be
blushed
fine.
Does
and
anybody
stammered.
pick
No,
up a
nothing,
digital
Dad.
camera while
Just
while we were back there?
a snake.
I did
Inko
not.
answered for her. A rare trouser snake. Well, that's fine
have
then.
it?
Seeing your boyfriend's penis isn't anything strange. Ringo said bluntly as he raised his cup to be filled with coffee from the maid. All the occupants of the
mine
room
work.
looked at him
What
as though
was
he had
different
just
about yours?
confessed to being All Might. What?
Well,
Ringo
no,
looked
me,
around the
it-
room. They
it
like
worked
each other.
under the tab.
I'm not some stereotypical idiot
could've
dad who
turned it
can't
in
see it.
or hand
I just
over.
asked that they be safe.
Well, that's
He raised his
gay.
newspaper and grumbled, not wasting a good plot line trying to keep them apart. Won't do anything, and that just results in a musical number. No, sir, not this guy. As he lost himself in his own world. Okay, then if everyone is happy with it, I'll start drawing the marriage contract. Now how many dozens of children do you
Why don't we
think they
just go
need?
try
3 or 4?
Final Liberation?
Nashi asked Inko.
We all have
Oh,
it.
I love
Let's all
babies,
just
so
fucking
let's go with
see
an
if we
even
can find this
50,
fucking
Inko replied.
Asshole.
Moms, stop it.
I'm down.
Momo yelled. Inko squealed.
I need that.
She's already
Yeah,
calling me
but
mom
we had
too, as she grabbed the
clear and
teen
fighting
girl into a
past.
hug. Ooh, I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's fine.
Izuku walked in the room
Yeah, I was
and
just-
hoped he wouldn't have to make eye contact with
Yeah, I
anyone.
was just
But the
saying.
sight of
I was
Momo
just
struggling to get
saying.
free of his
Well,
mother's
does.
hug and the giddy look in
There's
Mrs.
vaginas.
Yairozu's eyes
Next
made
time
him
I provide
slowly start
commentary,
backing
I'm
up.
just not gonna
Izuku
Jesus
helped,
fuck.
Momo seeing her only
Can't have a
option for
fucking
salvation.
opinion around here.
Izuku
God
tried to
damn.
turn to run, but his mother used her
And
quirk
I am
on him.
bringing my
Not enough
shotgun
to
for
stop
the
him,
super
but it
close
slipped
quarter
his
stuff.
foot slightly, making him
Makes a lot
stumble.
of sense.
Oh no,
Once we get
sweetie.
inside,
Nashi crossed the room faster than one would think a
also-
middle-aged woman could, before she
well, you
grabbed
guys are
him and
nerds.
dragged him to sit next to
AKA,
Momo,
no,
who
we're
was
just
still
all
covering her
superior
chest.
because
You need to sit with her,
762 is
get more
superior.
comfortable with her wearing so little,
Genuinely
as she
not.
turned the boy's head to stare at the blushing
No, that's
teen.
my issue with that.
We,
statement.
need to get ready for,
762 is only
Izuku started to
superior if you're a
say,
communist
without actually looking
gay
away, even though her mother was no longer holding his head, but he paused for a while to burn this image into his mind. School, Momo
I wish I had
whispered,
a magnified
while enjoying that
optic
the
for
boy
this,
was so
though.
enraptured with her.
Loser.
She didn't like that everyone, including the staff, were having an absolute ball with their interaction.
Yeah, where was I finna
Zuku,
put that
school,
multi-tool?
her voice barely audible.
In your ass.
Izuku swallowed.
No.
Yeah, that place.
That would
He said,
hurt.
wrenching his head to stop staring. Need to, learn. His breakfast
Fuck, I hate
placed in
it.
front of him as the maid giggled
Alright,
and walked away.
I have the
The morning
office
meal
one
was
key
so
and the
awkward for the
generator
teens
room
as their
key for
parents would
YBL
guffaw
whenever we
at
get there,
everything
too,
they
if we wanna
did.
go hit the
When the
shits.
pair walked out the gate,
I do.
Momo questioned him about the lawn and the
Yeah, but I
destroyed
have,
car.
I like
It was
have them
training.
on me.
Me
That's
too.
unusual,
I have
Momo
two
said.
key
It was with
holders
Dr. Haijo Shikina,
in my
Izuku
text.
shrugged. Oh, that's
Okay,
very
well,
normal then,
this one,
she
unfortunately,
admitted.
we may have to
Anything
accept
unconventional with
beforehand
regards to their infamous employee was
and
within
hope
the
that we
bounds
don't
of
die.
reality. She climbed into
Yeah,
the
'cause if you
limo
kill
as
him,
Izuku
then
held
it's
the
not
door
gonna
for
count.
her, before he got in behind her. So you have a
Yeah.
year to train for the
Also,
UA
do
entrance
we have to
exam
be the
then?
one to kill
She
him?
asked.
Like, if...
Yeah, about
One
that
of
long. What about
us
you? Izuku wondered about how Momo was
has
going to
to
get into
wait.
the school. When he did
Yeah,
ask,
your
he noticed
squad.
Momo
Your squad
frowned.
can kill him.
What's wrong? Recommendation,
Are you
she
sure?
quietly said ashamedly.
Yes.
Izuku
Yo,
was
Josh,
stunned.
why don't you
Wow.
hit
I knew
that
your
Because
shit
quirk was
over
literally
there?
not
strong, but to
squatted
get
up.
one of the
Because this happened,
recommendation
Josh,
slots,
when I told you I
that's
played
incredible.
with them, like
Even
8-9
Ingenium
people all
did
at
get in
once
that
in
way. He
Discord.
praised the distressed
If
girl.
somebody
So why
not
do you look
in
so
your
sad about
squad
that?
kills him, even if it's
Momo
the same
sniffled.
faction,
Because I
then it's
didn't earn
fucked.
it. My parents made a
But
massive
squad can kill. They
contribution
thought
to you.
about it at least.
So in return, the
Why don't you
board
go
of
ahead
directors
and
gave the
drop a
slot
couple
to
of those
me,
fucking
which I
mortar
didn't
shells
earn.
on,
She yelled, unaware that her voice had been growing louder during her rant. That's not true.
on that
Izuku
spot.
comforted her.
On what
Your
spot?
quirk
Bad
is
idea, but
amazing.
we're gonna need
Probably the
Josh's
most
mortar
useful
shells
quirk
later.
in the world. You can
No,
make
we're-
anything, and
we'll
you're
get
also the
plenty.
smartest
Dude, I
person
hit
I have
pack
ever
items and
met
it fucked
too.
up
Since you
literally
have to know
every
how
fucking-
everything
On my
works.
ping?
If that
I
isn't
hate
enough
that
to
goddamn
deserve a
game.
Yeah,
recommendation,
Josh, why don't
then
you go
nothing
ahead and hit
does.
that with a fucking mortar
Momo
shell?
rubbed her eyes. I disagree. But thank you for believing in me all the same.
Where are we going? On what
Anytime,
ping?
Izuku said as he
Your
draped his
ping.
arm
I
around
had
her
to get
shoulder
rid of it.
and
I don't
pulled her
know.
into
Oh,
him.
there we go.
They spent the rest of the ride up to the
That
school
place
in each
does
other's
suck.
arms.
For
Yeah,
For
this is where we
Izuku's school
blew
was
up.
odd.
That's
Even
where
being
you
told
blew
how
me
different
up.
this was
Don't
to his
quit saying it like
previous,
I
he
was
just didn't
involved
get
in the
it.
decision
He understood the
making. You
work just
walked in
fine,
front of a
but he was
claymore.
never offered
You
membership
walked
into
right
the
in front of a
after-school clubs
claymore.
that ran
filter
for
on,
academic
Josh.
purposes,
I was just
even
there
if
to
he
hang
was
out.
just shy of having
You
Momo's
In the
just
bottom
grades.
left,
In his
is-
physical
you have to
education
turn that on
class,
and then right
because of the
click and it'll
nanites,
let you mortar
all
shell
but
it.
2 students in the entire body
It's
could keep up with him
blacked out.
simply
I
by the
am
nature
not-
out how his body had been enhanced.
Oh.
But he
It
was
might be
never
out of
asked to
range.
play on
Oh, I
any of the
am.
school's
You know
sports
why? 'Cause
teams.
it's from base
In the
camp.
home economics, as he found out was geared more towards
yeah,
the boys
and
and
the
girls who were going to
short
marry
range
off as
ones.
trophy
The short-
spouses,
Yeah, the
he had an
short range ones
aptitude
only
for
go
stitching,
right here.
cleaning, and cooking, so he was
Yeah,
the highest
that's
grade
ass.
in that class.
But
Yet
if
he
you
never
put the
got
mortar
asked to
filter
join
on, does it
any
just
of their
show you how
so-called
far they go?
stay-at-home
Oh, that's
wives
so cool.
groups.
Yeah.
He was an oddity,
Yeah, you would
and he
need
had
at least
figured it had to
medium
do
high.
with how little others knew about him.
Damn, and then
Came
some
from
places
no
you
known
just can't get
family,
mortar fire.
not wealthy
No.
or even moderately
Yeah.
That's
rich.
crazy.
He had
We
no
gotta
apparent
follow
connections
lanes.
to government
Faction.
bodies,
Bung
and the
sa.
closest thing to interesting
Basically all
was
the
that his
same
father
towns.
Wait,
worked
Josh, what did I
overseas.
say was in
Until
the
the others
sawmill
found out that he
that we
just
needed
worked
to-
on an oil
that I
rig,
wanted to
Oh.
look
which paid
for?
enough to send home that his mother and himself
the
lived
L403A1.
comfortably with her working
Oh, yeah,
What is
part-time.
that?
He knew about the
It's a gun.
divorce. He had asked his
It's one
mother
of the new
about where his
guns. It's like
father
the
had been some
Elva.
time ago to learn more of his history.
Oh, that's cool.
He had
What
worried
was
he had been the
sawmill?
cause of
Oh,
it,
up here?
but Inko had consoled him and swore that it had
Yeah.
nothing to do
Alright,
with
let's go do this
anything he had
mission.
done, nor had it been
Oh,
because he was
wait.
quirkless. His father just liked it more out of Japan, and they
What?
had been separated for so many
I heard
years it was
something
just
at
an
Sawmill.
amicable
No, it's
departure for the both
not.
of them. Hell, even the other students weren't
Oh,
aware
I
he was
clicked
quirkless. They
mortar
simply
support
assumed
now.
he had some metal body mutation quirk.
But I have two
But somehow no
mortar.
one really was interested in
Oh,
him.
'cause they have to be in
So
my
on lunch he took his
stats, not in my
usual place at a
inventory.
table, waiting for Momo to join him.
Oh.
Maybe that's it.
Weird.
They're too
But
intimidated
they
by
still don't
Momo
work,
to do
'cause I
anything.
only have
But that thought didn't really
the
make
ones.
sense, so he shoved it to the back of his mind. When she sat down, he greeted her,
Are we
without
accepting
noticing
final
the
liberation?
change.
I already
Good
do.
afternoon,
Already have it
Momo.
accepted. Oh, this
Hello,
is one of the ones we're allowed to die
Zuko, how
on.
is your day going?
Oh, is
She
it really?
politely responded.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's all
okay,
right.
Drink a fucking
Same
water
boring
then, and we're
classes,
good to
same
go.
boring. Izuku trailed off, noticing that other students in
Why
the
don't you
room
get
were staring at
infinity
them.
isotonic
Izuku
drink,
patted
I'm
his
about to get a
cheeks,
drink of water
finding
in
nothing,
real life.
so he whispered to Momo,
Yeah.
Hey, is there something
Good
on my
one.
face? Momo, not noticing the
Loser.
change in
Water's
atmosphere,
awesome. Water's
leaned
awesome.
dangerously close to his
I
face
wish I'm out of
because she
bourbon. I've
couldn't
been out
see
of bourbon for a
anything, but
while.
maybe if she got close
Fire
she
water.
could. Until the sound of someone
Wow, you
gasping
can come drink
behind her
on my
drew her
wild
attention.
turkey anytime,
What?
Pop.
I knew it, screamed some boy with an
101
ascot
proof,
and
though,
coiffed
so-
hair. That's why you shun my
That's
advances,
fine.
dearest
The
Yayurazuki.
bullet that I got
The
is
boy
like
stomped
100,
over to the table,
least 100
because
proof.
this ruffian has you
Hell
trapped
yeah.
in some ill manner.
If it's not
Izuku
triple
looked at
digit proof,
Momo
I don't
bewildered.
fucking
her
want it.
mirroring the same
You know what I
look.
thought about today,
What are you
Ian?
talking about, Suzusan? Momo
We should
inquired.
make
So
a
scoffed. Of
theatrical
course it all
dramatic
makes sense now.
miniseries.
What does he have on you?
Very
What
Peaky
illegal
Blinders
activity has he
inspired, like
discovered going on at your
glorifying
company
the
that he
criminal
holds over you
bad
for this
guy
farce
type
of a
show,
marriage?
right?
What in
Those
the?
bootleggers
Momo started
during
before
Prohibition.
Izuku slammed his fist into
It
the
would be kind
table,
of fire.
punching
Also,
Yeah,
right
and then
through the
one dude-
high-quality wood.
Me too.
One dude
How?
is
He
like the
snarled,
coach from the
fucking
Waterboy.
dare you. Izuku stood up and grabbed Soz by his collar with his non-metallic hand and lifted him off the ground. You think I would do something like that to Momo? Threaten her? Blackmail? just to make her
dead.
be with me.
The
He
coach.
yelled into the boy's face.
He's
The
dead.
actor.
Exactly
Yeah,
like
he's
the
dead.
brute you are. So
Anyways,
spit in his
Recently,
scarred
too, I
face.
think.
Just like
We,
the lower
does
class
it
to
compound to
resort
our
to
right, Dad?
violence when they are
No,
confronted
Y'all's
with their
right. Y'all are
betters.
80 meters out of base.
Momo
Well,
stood up and
yeah,
tried
we
to
said we're
defuse the
moving.
situation, but what
Well, I
Izuku
was,
said next stunned her.
drinking a drink.
Momo is the most amazing,
Vinos
most
up?
talented, most intelligent, most beautiful girl I have
Josh
ever
doesn't-
met.
or Ian doesn't like
She
your
saved
binos,
my
Josh. He
life.
thinks they're
I
gay.
love her. Izuku snarled.
Really?
Or gay
So don't
people.
you ever think I
Yeah,
would
that's
do
what he said.
anything to
Word for
hurt
word.
her.
Well,
Every moment she chooses to
I think
spend
he's
with
gay,
me
so-
is a blessing. Izuku
No,
dropped
I
the
said
boy
I
to the floor
prefer
as the
ones
teachers
that I
came in.
have
You tried to hit my
Ow.
Momo because she
they
rejected
have a
you.
reticle.
So
right?
here is your one
care.
and only warning. Come near her again with that
Also, it's the
attitude,
same
like the-
and they'll be
you tried to
pulling
climb
your
a reticle.
corpse out of the dumpster. Mr. Midoriya,
No,
said the
I
teacher,
tried climbing the
how could you start a
mountain
fight, especially in the lunchroom?
Right.
Come with me to the principal's
Here.
office. As the woman turned her back and Izuku made to follow,
Damn,
Momo
that's far.
screamed. So's apparently didn't take being
Why?
rejected by a rival, while
Because
either
I was
to get
gonna
up
go
used
through
his
the, I
quirk,
was gonna go through
weapon,
the middle of the map,
which allowed him to pull
and then I
any
didn't
weapon
go
out of
through
his
the middle of
palm,
the map.
this time choosing
And
a
then I
sword
went
which he
back
swung
down,
wide into Izuku's
and
body.
I slipped
This
off
blade will
one
be
of
your death,
those,
worm.
like, corners,
So's
and
cackled.
it fucking
He knew that
broke my
Izuku's
legs,
left
and I
arm
had
would
to
be too
limp,
hard to cut
like,
through,
500
but his
meters to
non-machine
one of
arm,
the
Wow,
that
fucking
was
you
just
got a heli.
flesh,
Delta
or so he
2.
thought. The blade dug into his flesh,
Wow.
and Izuku's blood hit the floor, but something happened. The sleeve had
Damn,
been
this would be a
cut wide enough
dope
that
place
others
to
could
land an
see.
helicopter.
Izuku's arm had turned black, the same type of metal as his body,
Bet cash
with the
register has
sword the
money in
depth
it.
of the blade in his arm,
It
but it
doesn't.
stopped
I already
there.
took it.
Izuku growled
You're not
and
even
flexed his
over
right
there
arm,
yet.
which snapped the blade of before he spun and delivered a punch that sent So's flying across the room. Everyone in the
there was a
room
cash
watched in
register in
fear
my-
as Izuku yanked the remaining metal from his
Well, give a
arm,
fuck.
They say
and the
about
cut
assuming.
sealed with more of the black metal, leaving a distinct line on the outside of his
Oh, shit,
bicep
what is
where the
that?
metal clashed, spiderwebbing
I can
into his
assume
skin.
you're
The teacher
already
shook
an
herself
ass.
from her stupor. Izuku
Archer?
nurse's office.
That's one of my
now,
favorite
and the
fucking
boy
lines,
left.
bro. That
No
shit
one
is so
stopping Momo,
cold,
who
too,
chased
bro.
after him.
First time I
Someone
heard that, I
checked
was like,
Suzusen
God,
and then
damn,
take him
he
to the
cooked,
nurse's
bro.
office as well.
I
As
can
she pulled out her
assume
phone to
you're
call the
already an
principals
ass.
and
What
inform
the
him
can't wait to
and
hit
her
a
of how the
mine.
situation had changed.
Yeah.
I can't wait to
The
hit somebody with
principals,
that line
who had a
one day in
rather
my life.
interesting quirk, dual body, which split them at the
What
age
they
of
say about
4 into
assuming.
2 bodies,
I can
one boy
assume
and one girl,
you're
but they shared a
already
single
an
mind,
ass.
which
What do you
allowed
say
them to
back to
learn at
that?
twice the capacity. It allowed them to act as a single unit,
You just
which
get
made
mad 'cause they
administrative
called you an
work
ass? Like,
incredibly
what do you-
simple.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm saying.
today the
You're- yeah, you
situation
don't
was
have shit.
pure
You're
headache-inducing.
fucked, bro.
They would
Like,
rather be
that
doing
shit's
anything.
awesome.
Even being audited would be less annoying now.
As soon as Ian said
The
that
Pro
shit,
Hero
my-
Edge shot,
my
flanked by
fucking
2
brain
officers,
was
were
like light
standing in
bulb,
the
like, oh my
spacious
God,
office.
it's the perfect
Inko
time
and
to use
Nashi
this
were sitting
one-liner
with their
from a TV
children
show
on one
you're
of the
never gonna
large
use any other
couches,
time
while
in your life.
Soz and his mother were sitting on the other. So let me get
guys
this
just
straight
walking through the
because
trees?
I can
Yes.
always get it out
Yep.
of someone, Mr. Bai said. Mrs.
I'm
Nari
just going
followed
down
up.
this mountain
You,
trail and I just see
pointing
2
her
fucking
manicured
hooligans
nail at
sprinting
Izuku,
past me.
started the physical altercation because, and I quote, Soz was bad mouthing
Well,
Momo.
Take the trail.
Then you
Take the
proceeded to
trail.
Did you
threaten
have a defense
Suzusen.
for that?
Izuku nodded in agreement at the
Well,
way the information was presented.
That's what you said.
Then
to
you,
the-
Mr. Bai
I can
pointed
assume
his
you're already
expensive
ass.
pen
Well-
at Suzusen, continued to antagonize a person
Damn, this light
threatening
is
you
better
with
than the-
physical violence.
Damn.
At which point
Which one it was
Midoriya-san,
gonna be?
again, and I quote from another
one of the
student,
surefires,
gave like the
better than
most
the
totally
D-block
hot confession
D1R.
I'd ever seen in my
Yeah,
literal
I just
life.
have all the NC
Before Ms.
stars
Taraka
online.
attempted to
I have one of
neutralize
the
the
Those are the
situation by
worst, but they're
removing
fine.
Midoriya-san. Mrs.
Yeah, I
Nari
don't like
finished,
them, but
before
it's
you
good enough.
screamed, this
Yeah.
blade
And then
will
the
be your
P1R is
death,
barely
and
better
proceeded
than
to
those
attack
anyways. That's what I'm
Midoriya-san
saying,
with
like,
a
it doesn't
katana,
fucking matter at that
striking
point.
him,
Like, the
leaving
one
a
the game
small
starts you
pool
with
of
is still
blood
just
on the
mid as
cafeteria
fuck.
floor, at which point he struck you
You are,
and sent you
but are
careening
they
across
there
the room.
with you?
She
Yes,
sighed
they
and
are.
put her ringed hand on
I
the
can see
desk.
one right now.
Does
They-
any of that sound
you're there?
inaccurate?
No,
No
they do
party
not.
denied what was presented.
I need to just
So's
run
mother
over this
spoke
hill
up
and start
first.
shooting.
So
Wait,
what are
this
you
is the
going to do to the
auxiliary
boy
base?
who almost
Yes.
killed my
Yes,
son?
and it's the one we
Your son,
ate a Claymore at the other
Izuku,
day.
only
Thank you for
punched your
Okay, well,
kid. That little miscreant swung a
I
When
had-
sword.
Josh
I had a
ran
tag
into a
Inko
over
stood
Claymore
up
at the other day while I
infuriated,
was looting
which
and made
didn't
both
really
of us
do
die.
I
much
thought
to
I
make
had
her
a,
look taller.
hold on.
And your son is perfectly fine.
one.
She
Remember
pointed to the
You might-
green-haired
Yeah,
boy who was sitting quietly in his seat, his arm long ago healed by
Oh, I
itself.
guess I died
While my
and
son
failed
is
it.
sitting like this, the
We're
mother
talking
pulled her
about
Also
son
that.
into her,
YBL,
his
Mystery
face and
Machines
nose
is
bandaged
also
up
Final
and
Liberation.
swollen. Nashi stood
That
up.
could be it
There
as
was
well.
no way of knowing if Izuku would have been
No,
fine
it
from an
was
attack
one
like
that was
that,
specifically
defending
the
her and her
FN3
daughter's
auxiliary
friend.
building. Whatever, I
Sir
can't find
and
it.
madam, it is
Give a fuck.
completely
Yeah,
unreasonable
probably
to
not. Oh,
judge an
they
action
see us
by its
now.
outcome
What?
rather than the intended outcome. This
I don't know, they
boy,
just turned
she
and
waved
ripped
her
off.
hand at Sos,
Smoked one in the
swung
face,
that
but I don't
sword
see
clearly
anymore.
with the intent to do
dropped
considerable
another
Fucking
damage,
terrible.
regardless of Izuku's Quirk acting in a way to protect him. Mr. and Mrs.
Fuck, I don't know how
Benari,
to get down
who
this
had
hill. Go to
split
that
their
big tree to your
namesake
left.
to not make it
I'm going
obvious they had
left.
married themselves, shared a look.
I'm combat
That seems like a
sprinting to this
reasonable
tree 'cause I have
position to
no idea
hold.
where the fuck they
Ed
are.
shot. The two
Sniper on
said
the
in
roof.
unison at the pro hero. What
Guy on
seems
the
to be your
ground, in
impression
between
of the
crates, in between
situation?
the crates.
The quiet pro hero looked over the
Nice, good
situation.
shots.
Sniper on the
Seems
roof
like
is
one
dead.
person was giving a warning while
Can't
the
see
other
him
was
on the ground
attacking.
anymore. He-
What I want to
no,
know
he
is what
ran.
provoked him,
Oh, is he not
pointing
dead?
at
I
Sos,
thought I saw a
to
hit. I saw
confront him,
blood come out.
pointing
I
to
couldn't see him. I thought he
Izuku.
died.
So Beansprout,
What about the tower?
the ninja
Tower, tower,
addressed
tower,
the
tower.
quiet boy. What did you
Can't
do
see
different
tower.
today that could
Protection guy on
cause
the
such a
ground.
disturbance? Izuku sat
Oh, I clicked. I
quietly,
clicked.
choosing to think over his day,
Uh-oh.
all the while
Guys,
muttering to
I have a
himself,
problem.
"My training
Oh,
isn't
you're
known
good.
to
I slid.
anyone
You're fine,
outside
you're
Mall."
fine.
The
As long as
Yaoyorozus
you
and their
slide, you won't break
employees,
your legs.
unknowingly announcing that he was training to the room.
Yeah,
Totally
what's
We
not
snuggled on the
true,
car ride
but
up.
Totally
He
true.
continued his
Mostly
thinking
true.
out loud. Momo blushing
No, trust
furiously
me,
at how
you
the
can
boy could
definitely
say
slide
something like
and
that and
absolutely
not
break your
notice,
legs.
while both Inko and Nashi were
But
smirking.
it's-
Classes
you
were
gotta-
boring
you
as
gotta slide
always,
egregious.
making the
There's a guy
principal's
behind the
frown
blue
at his
truck.
lack of interest in the school's teaching. I waited for
Okay, well,
Momo at lunch like I
whatever you
always
said,
do.
Josh, that
Then
worked. I
Suzuki
am
came
safely
over,
down.
Told
and then
you.
everything that the
Um,
principal said
Although it's
happened.
not really
happened.
safe, though.
Izuku
Yeah, wait
looked
till you
up.
slide down
No,
something
sorry, I
slippery.
don't see me doing
Ow.
Break
anything
your legs.
different than I normally do.
I hope. Oh,
Not
tell me
realizing
you
he
broke
had
your
been
legs.
speaking aloud the entire time.
Yeah.
Momo
blow
gasped.
me.
No,
Oh
I'm
God,
just
that
hurt.
was it.
Nope.
Everyone
sprained
looking
my
at
Yeah,
the
he
young
knows.
beauty.
He knows everything.
Headshot asked, "What was
Ian.
it?"
Inside.
Momo wrung her hands. He called me Momo in front of
Nope, I just
everyone.
sprained my legs.
Motherfucker died.
That's it.
Hurt.
The ninja hero
How many
inquired.
headshots you fucking
He said
need?
your name and a
Are
fight
you still
started.
hurt?
The number 4
Yes.
hero looked at the dumbstruck
Oh my God,
boy.
come over here
You
if
picked a
you can.
fight
Limp
because he
leg.
said her
I'm good.
name? The hell is wrong with you? He doesn't deserve to have her. She should be mine too. Sos ranted before he passed out. A thin
Yeah,
red
I'll
strand
please,
pulled
dude.
itself from his neck. You're not dealing with
You
that.
just smoked
So I
another
seem a
one?
little lost, and apparently nobody else is. So mind filling me in here?
Who's
The
yelling?
hero asked the
I don't
principals.
know.
And the principal
This is
explained
another
that
one over
because
here
of
on
how
me somewhere.
prestigious the school is, most of the students are from wealthy,
Found an AK-19.
old, or well-connected families. As a result, many are in
Hydra-shock.
marriage contracts
Ammo
with
box.
other students or those outside the walls. So relationships form as a
Ah.
sort of
What
business
was
deal.
that?
Ed shot, raising his eyebrow at the absurdity of what he was being
Where, Ian?
told. Had it not come from a figure of authority, he would be laughing in the person's
Front gate, I
face,
think.
despite his normally
No,
stoic
no,
attitude.
I see him.
The left,
So
left,
because
left, left.
Midoriya
Find the red
called
container. Find this red
Yaoyorozusen by her
container.
given
Northeast.
name, that what?
Close left on you.
Took
Close
her
left
off the
on you.
market?
Behind you,
Headshot
behind you.
said with
Go ahead,
obvious
down.
confusion in his tone.
Nice, Josh.
Sort
That
of,
wasn't me.
Yeah,
Nashi
thank you.
said.
Because
That
It
wasn't
more
me, I got
showed
the
these
guy
two are
outside.
connected
Oh,
in a
who
more
killed this guy then?
familiar manner than they are with
I think I
others.
shot him
So
and
until
bled
the
out.
details of their relationship are known, it
I
is
got two
seen
down
as
That was a weird
taboo
time to watch him.
pursue
Me and Ian
either
turned
one.
around, the dude just collapsed
Headshot
dead.
tossed
Watch
up
out
his
for any
hands.
tripwires, Josh.
Okay,
Tripwires, yeah.
look, I'm a hero.
Yes.
I don't do this type of thing. So I'm offering
Think
two
we're good.
options. I can arrest them both for
I think that's
using their
all of
quirks
them.
on each
No,
other.
that's what you say
Let the
now,
courts
isn't it?
handle this, seeing that no one was
Coffee
happy
here.
about that option. Or
Ammo
you,
box has
he said,
7.65
pointing to the principals.
Browning Extreme
Just keep them
Defender.
away from each other for the rest of the
Extreme
school year.
Defenders,
It's
those
10
might be
months.
Sniper traits.
And then they'll
Alright.
go off to high school, and
Oh, this guy has
hopefully
an
they won't
M14,
cross
Josh.
paths again. Because
You got an
all of
M14?
this, he
Clean
said,
out one.
waving his hands around the
One.
room, is
Where?
not something I'm
sniper
equipped to
tracers.
deal with.
On me.
Endeavor would have been
Where are
better
you?
suited to coming
next-
up with a solution,
Behind
since
the
he
truck.
fits
Oh.
into your world. But I don't, so those are the options.
Yeah, this guy's an M18.
Well, Midoriya got a perfect score
this
on
not
the
the
UA
leader?
mock exam, so an arrest would mess up his chances of getting
No,
in,
it'll say
Mr. Bai said,
LLA
making
faction
so
leader, like,
smirk.
under his name or
Him
whatever.
thinking he should take the first option just to screw
It
over
also
the
might be in
green-haired
this
boy.
space.
However, Mrs. Nari ruined
Did you
any
take
thought
the
of that
AK-19,
happening.
Josh?
But with what was said, Suzuki would be facing attempted murder
caliber
charges,
is it?
and with so many witnesses, it would take a miracle for him not to be
I'm gonna have to
convicted,
patch my legs up.
guaranteeing it ruins his life. Mrs. So spoke up, "My boy cannot go to prison with common
It
criminals.
is
We'll take the second option." The rich mother looking to her son, "Just
556,
ignore these two.
145.
They are not worth your time."
Oh, it's a
She turned back to
556
the other
gun?
occupants of the room. "If business is concluded,
Yes.
we will take out leave. Ishoshi will be back
That's
after he
556
receives
AK.
treatment for
Nice.
his injuries."
You should probably take
When
it
no
to
one
it
stopped her and
just
her
slap all
son,
the AK
they
attachments
departed.
on it,
The
basically.
officers leaving as they
Yeah,
realized
well, I'm
they
taking
weren't going to be
all of
arresting
these. I'm
anyone.
taking this
Headshot
AKM in. I
remained
hope
behind.
that wasn't one of
So
y'all's, else, 'cause
Perfect
I'm
score
taking
on the
all
mock
the
exam,
fucking
huh?
That was in there.
shit off
Izuku
of it.
stuttered in acknowledgement to the hero.
Go ahead, Pop.
Yes, sir.
Guessing I'm gonna
Strong,
have to-
tough,
what,
smart.
sprint?
Seems like he has a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Headshot
If your
sized up
bones
the
are
boy,
orange, you have to
a little
sprint. If they're
short.
yellow, you
But
can
hey, we
bandage
can
and get
stand with
off
the Giants all the same. I hope this is the last time you get into trouble. I'd like to see you at the sports festival next year. I think you'll make a great hero by then.
You should be
If
able
you
to
keep
bandage. I try
defending
one,
pretty
and if it
young
doesn't
girls'
clear your
honor
leg,
like
just
that.
start splinting.
He reached into his pocket and
There's a
dropped
red
the smoke
bandana on
bomb.
this dude up here.
Have fun.
Anybody needs one?
Izuku and
Yeah, I
Momo
just
were scarlet at the
disassembled this
teasing they
entire
got from a
firearm,
pro,
by the way.
and they both knew it would only get worse once the two of them got home. But they had classes to get to, so Izuku grabbed
So-
Momo's hand,
But
and
yeah,
they
Josh,
ran
if
out of the
you'll,
principal's
hold on
office
to that
together.
AK-19,
Both parents smiling
and you don't-
devilishly
and you
at how the
don't
game
want
has been
I'll
progressing.
take it.
For Izuku, the following months were
If
stressful.
you want it, you can have
Every
it. I'm
single
not gonna
morning
just-
was testing his limits. When Dr. Hijoshikina heard
just
that
gonna
his
take it
body
from
would
you,
react
but-
to external threats on instinct, the training shifted from mostly
you don't want
Izuku
it, I'll
stressing
take
his body in new ways to actual combat. As a result,
That's awesome,
Izuku could
actually.
for
You
a
got a
fraction
pack?
of a second
Yeah,
boost his
on
non-metallic
AK-19.
parts to the same strength and durability
Oh, nice.
as
Yeah,
his
take
full
that
metal
off.
parts.
Bunker
But anything
code
longer than that they would return under
0837.
his skin, and he almost
I'm going to
lost
the
an
front, writing
arm
it
when a
down.
refrigerator was launched at him, and he caught it with his flesh.
Yeah, you don't have to write it down. It's
After
right here.
hearing that Inko made a point to sit in with Dr.
I
Hijoshikina
wrote it
for
down.
Izuku's
Anyways,
training,
fuck you.
and she expressly forbid him from live fire tests on her son, but access to high-quality equipment meant Izuku was getting faster and stronger at an
But yeah,
impressive
just take
rate.
whatever you want off the AK-19.
School, however,
and
was an
then I'll just-
entirely
and-
different
and
beast.
again, if you don't
So's
want the
would do
gun, you want the
nothing
gun?
but
Tell me
give
if you
him
want
the
gun.
evil eye,
The
but
black
the
pattern
other
head
students
scarf.
in his classes were more talkative with
He
him.
wants to know if you want it.
Is this
I wanna know
Hishina-san,
if you want it.
why is everyone suddenly wanting to be my
Do you
friend?
want the gun or not?
Is it because I punched Suzusan? Izuku asked his baking partner,
No,
who was
but
really
I'll
just
hold
on her
on to it.
There
phone.
you go.
The
Hey,
home EC
hey,
students
you
didn't
two,
care
hey,
about trying
hey,
in the
this
class.
is where the
They would
Claymore
all
Oh, yeah,
just
this is
hire
where the
chefs and
Claymore
staff
was.
for their
The
homes
next
instead of
room.
doing
Yeah,
it
this is
themselves.
where the Claymore
So
is.
Izuku really was the only one
somebody
trying
swing
in
the
the
door,
class.
and then
TSSH,
throw a
Josh,
grenade
two
in
no
there.
way.
in here in
Like,
this duffel
we
bag.
don't
Don't
care
like
that you
one
punched that
huge.
stuck-up loser.
Swing door. throw
Hishina
a
said as she
door.
flipped her hair. But like you and Yairazukin, now we know what you are, so it's fine to talk to you. Izuku paused in his stirring. I'm sorry, what? The teen rolled
well,
her
my
eyes at
game
the
distance-
green-haired
my draw
cyborg.
distance is
Ugh,
shit.
it's
I
like,
can't
we knew
see.
you two were something, but no one was going to step in
I just
that.
lagged my dick
So it's not
off.
cool
I
at
did
all.
Door open.
But now that everyone knows you two are dating,
we
it's
get-
like, you
If
know,
you're gonna
safe
shoot,
to be
can we
seen
get
talking
out
to you.
before
She explained as her
the
fingers
explosion
flew
happens?
across the screen of the phone. Izuku had never actually seen her quirk, but he suspected it was some sort of super speed
you
that
see
was
the-
Can you
only in
see?
her hands at the way she typed.
It's
So
Oh,
I'm
you
one
have
of
a
the cool
grenade.
kids now.
Oh shit.
Izuku stammered, causing Hishina to laugh.
Well, that was that Claymore.
Sorry, you,
You
cool.
think?
No way
You
short
think?
stuff, she giggled. But you're one of us now, a trophy
see one?
spouse. So, we can be like sharing
It was very
stories when our
difficult to
husbands and
see.
wives are at work and junk. Huh, that sounds nice, Izuku shrugged. Might be
Well,
hard with
if
being a
we
pro
blow
hero
See
and
one?
all, but I guess I could try to
Now,
find
what's the
time to
code?
hang
Just
out.
don't walk over that side of the
Hishina
room.
stopped
Zero
looking
to
at her
Get away
phone.
from that side of the
Like,
room.
what do you mean, being a pro hero? Well, I'm applying to go to UA for high school, Izuku said. No way. She's gonna let you have a hobby outside the home.
I'm reloading.
Hishina shouted, the teacher shushing them, but going right back to her novel,
There
this
ain't shit
class
in
being
here
one that
but
no
a
one
dead dude.
really
No,
had to
there was-
participate in.
Must have been for the
Yeah.
challenge.
Is-
Izuku,
was the-
finding himself
yeah,
surrounded by
challenge that I
people,
said.
suddenly became nervous.
Alright,
I don't
word.
exactly know what you mean, but I always wanted to be a hero,
yeah,
so
find
it
the-
won't
find
be
the
a hobby
mercenary
if I
dude.
make it.
Yeah.
A lanky boy
she's
with
in your
purple
desk.
skin walked over. Wow. My intended already told me I wasn't going to be doing any type of job or stuff. She just wants me to stay thin and just do whatever while she runs the companies.
Good idea. You know, we outsmarted that
I don't
Claymore,
get that.
dude.
Momo and I are just dating. Izuku started cleaning up his area. I mean, she's going to
So I
UA
guess
as
he
well.
wasn't here.
Now it makes sense, another
No, he
girl
was not
said.
here.
She's letting you go to keep her toy nearby. Izuku watched as other students nodded. He himself
walk
was
to Mike 4
completely
and go
lost,
to
so
YBL1.
just went with it. Yes, something
Or-
like that. Which itself
Wow,
wasn't too
what do you
off.
know?
She was
I
going to
just
keep an
found-
I guess
eye
you
on
need
the
to drop shit off or
nanomachines,
something?
which were kind of like a toy,
Range
100 billion toy.
That's
Izuku
cool.
slumped into his seat
Ian,
with
there's
Momo
hydro
across
shock in
from
here?
him. Tough day? She
Yeah, we need
asked.
to go back somewhere to
Confusing.
drop shit
I don't think the other students
Yes.
get that we're dating, Izuku said. Momo quirked her eyebrow. We
Hey,
are?
where's the
I don't
hydro
remember
shot?
you asking
It's
me
in
out
the ammo
recently, she
crate right
teased.
here, the ammo
Izuku
box.
blushed.
There's also
Oh,
a,
Did you get it
well,
out of the other ammo
Momo,
box?
would you want to maybe go see a movie Friday?
I don't know.
You mean sit in the theater and
There's
watch
hydro shock in
something?
here too, then.
She asked.
This is a
Izuku
nice
shook his
basic
head.
flashlight.
No,
This-
like, leave the mansion
basic
and
ammo
go into the
regular
city.
there is.
That type of
Hydro
date. Momo hummed loudly. Well, I guess,
Also,
but I have a
going to
boyfriend.
this hole
This
in the
information
fence is where
seemingly
the
crashing
trip
Izuku's
wires are.
brain. Really? I didn't no.
Ian,
He
do this other hydro
stammered,
shock?
feeling incredibly stupid. Yeah, he has green hair, really cute freckles, kind of short.
Wait, I can't
She
put-
started
hold on.
describing Izuku, but his
Son
own
of a
brain
bitch.
not registering it was him. Also, he totally confessed his love to me in the cafeteria. Then he got stabbed. It was terrifying, in a romantic sort of way.
Oh, I'm heavy.
Izuku
I just
sunk into
realized.
himself. Oh well, I hope he
no,
makes
I
you
don't need
happy,
that other
he glumly
Hydra
said. Momo flicked his nose. Dork,
I think we
I'm
just
talking
kinda
about
boogie
you.
I
outta
can carry
here.
She
something for you
giggled
if
as
you
she
need to,
leaned
Josh,
over
if
and
you wanna
kissed
be
the
able to,
tip
like,
of his
actually
nose.
jog or something.
Izuku's
Oh,
brain was
medium
rebooting at
water.
this. Really, he whispered.
That, or you
Duh,
can just probably
of
drop the gun
course,
off your
who else
bag.
would I be talking about?
Be the quickest thing to pick up.
Well, you'll have to take it up with my girlfriend, him trying the same tactics as she did. So in fairness, Momo decided to play along.
Well, this guy's
Oh,
M1A has
well,
a
tell me
scope
about
on
this
it.
mystery
Yes, it
girl.
does.
I want to make sure she's good enough for you. She giggled into her hand.
Take the
She's
scope.
tall and has the longest black hair. She's super smart, and Izuku gulped, has the hottest body I've ever seen. Blushing at
Took the
saying
mount.
something so forward, she also makes me
Oh,
want to
wait,
be
I gave
stronger,
Josh my M1A,
better, be a
or
hero.
my M14.
He pushed his food around with his fork.
Anyways.
Momo was prepared
Well, I
to
have it
act
for
all
you, Josh.
sad, but hearing what he was saying about her
I gave
only
it to
made
you
her
'cause
blush.
I didn't really
Zuka
want
that's.
it, but
Oh, 'cause
I
it
just
was-
took
Yeah,
the
it's
scope.
Min and
Black,
Anakin.
yeah.
Izuku pointed at another girl across the hall, who looked nothing like what he described.
Well, Ian, I have
Momo
that,
looked at him in
AK
shock before
Wait, you're
throwing
right,
some
we
of her
have that
food at him.
AK-14. I
Oh,
did
you
put the
brat,
M15
she
on.
fumed.
We can-
Izuku
we
took
need
the
to go
chance to
back
laugh, and he pecked
you
her on
drop
the
something,
nose.
Josh?
Yeah, but I'm your brat.
I
So
mean,
about that movie,
literally just dropped.
we are definitely
No,
seeing a
no,
horror
no,
for that little stunt you pulled, mister. She stole some of his lunch to
Dropped
replace
the
her own.
14.
Okay, Izuku, today,
Don't need
we're
that.
testing your
I already have
tactics.
one.
Dr. Hijo Shikina's voice
Oh,
came
this
from an
is-
earpiece.
I could drop
For this
this.
simulation,
Scout
terrorists have taken a
Vanguard,
hostage,
M1A.
and it is up to you to rescue them. The enemies are outfitted
that's
with
what you
real
need to make the
firearms, so this will
other wood
test your
thing go away.
reflexes
Keep that.
and how good the
Got
nanomachines
it.
can react in defending
Got
you.
it.
Mom's not
Well, I
here
mean,
as
like,
she,
just don't
Izuku
sell it.
realized.
Like, you don't have to
Inko
keep
would
it on
never
you.
let the insane doctor get away with
I'm
this.
completely full.
Who do you think is
also,
the
So
hostage?
we should probably
The
go
mad
back.
doctor's cackle
Yeah.
came over the
I figured
radio.
we were gonna walk
What?
like out towards
You're
Mike
using
4
really guns near my
or
mother.
something.
Izuku screamed. Yeah, so don't screw this up, as the device in his ear died. Izuku paced around
So we either
swearing,
ride like
fucking,
Lima 2, Lima
mother
1,
shitting
and
dick
walk
hole,
tonight,
going to murder that fucking crazy
and
son
drop
of a
the shit
bitch.
off.
Breathing
or we
hard,
walk all
he
the way the
paused.
fuck back to Brian.
Okay, Izuku. Your mom is being
Twice the
held
distance.
hostage by an actual madman. The turrets are using real bullets. I can block and defend against them, but sustained fire will tear me to shreds. Izuku muttered to himself. So I
This is
have
also
to
like
avoid
300
being
something
seen.
from
Get
whichever
in,
landing zone
release the
tonight.
hostage,
So if
and
we
get
add
her
that
somewhere
onto our
safe.
walk to Mike 4, it's
And go.
basically the same.
The
walk
doctor's
back to
voice
Bronco.
shouted in his ear, scaring the
So
boy.
it's whichever one you want.
Wait, where's the countdown? Izuku
I
shouted.
don't care. You pick.
The doctor's mad laugh ringing in his
Follow you.
ear. There is no countdown on life. Get a move on. Unless you don't want to save mommy dearest. Fucking asshole. Izuku slammed his earpiece on the ground.
One
He
for
flipped his eye
tripwires.
to X-ray vision and started looking through the building, seeing the turrets placed to minimize
Can't really
blind
see 'cause my
spots
graphics
and
are
have
shit,
maximum
so-
coverage. Then there was one room with some lead lining. Found you, Mom. Izuku came in from the second floor window, not wasting time with the ground floor. Using his
mortars.
X-ray vision, found a wall with wiring. Are you afraid of
ammo
the dark?
box.
As
Hey,
he
has a
punched his
mortar in
metal
it.
arm in the wall
Medium
and
range
yanked out the
cartridge.
wires, plunging the building in darkness,
take that.
which allowed him to
Pick it
switch
up.
to night vision. The first few turrets on the floor didn't have anything beyond standard
They
cameras,
just hang out
which
in your
meant clearing
stash,
them
and
out
then
was
you can just
simple.
call them in.
Oh no,
Yeah.
looks like the terrorists got
Oh, there's
spooked
a town
and
in
turned
front
on
of
their
us we
night
probably don't
vision.
want to
The
go to.
doctor pointed out from a speaker in the
People down
corner.
there.
You'll have to do better than that,
Is
my
there?
little
Yep, I see a
cyborg.
sniper.
Izuku growled. I'll show you
Dude
better.
at the building
As
down
he
here,
grabbed a
too.
few of
Guy
the
on the
destroyed
tower. Probably
turrets
dude on the
and
roof.
pieced them together, not topping my robotics
Alright,
class for
well.
no reason. In a few minutes, he had a functional firearm of his own. Creeping through the third floor, just one below where he needed to get, it wasn't terribly hard to take out the remaining turrets on this
I'm going
floor,
back up.
as he could see through the walls to
Towards where we
shoot
killed
out
these
the gun
guys.
placements. Oh man, I guess losing all his minions made the boss angry. He wants to fight. Head on up
can
to
jog
finish
now, right,
this,
Josh?
little boy.
No.
Izuku stomped over to
No.
a set of stairs. All right, where is it?
Good to know.
He yelled, before he rolled forward to avoid sharp metal claws.
I didn't drop the mortar.
Izuku squared up to his opponent, a large quadrupedal beast with a manipulator tail.
Terrible.
Like it, I made it myself, Dr. Hijo Shikina cheered. It's my pride and joy. Now kill it, Izuku. Kill it and save your mother from its evil clutches, he snickered. Finding the weakness on this new enemy was
Tripwire over
intense.
here.
He ducked
Going around
and
this
dodged a
tree,
flurry of
again.
sharp claws and metal teeth. This isn't nearly as advanced as the
There's multiple
nanomachines
tripwires
that I
over
had been
there.
developing, But with a
Yes, what
proper
we- there's
design
one
of
at the
robotics,
front of
I could
this
make
gate
hundreds
as
of
well.
these and use them for whatever. The mad doctor monologued. After a few minutes, Izuku had managed to pin the machine
One's right
and
here,
shoved his
some
metal
front,
hand
but
deep in the
don't hit this
beast's
barbed
neck.
wire. Ian.
Suddenly feeling a surge, the robot twitched and
There you
fell
go,
to
Ian.
the
Watch out for the
ground.
barbed wire.
And weighing in at 65 kilos,
more steps
the
to the
scrappy
side.
little green being, Izuku Midoriya has defeated the terrible robot. Come get your prize, laughed Dr. Hydro Shikina. Izuku walked over to a panel that had a note taped to it. The passcode is Mamakan's measurements. And as a result, Izuku, with a scarlet face, entered the room, where he saw the soon-to-be pummeled doctor and his mother sitting at a candle-lit table having dinner. What in the fucking hell? Izuku yelled as he stormed over to the two adults. Simple, my dear boy, the doctor started before a fist to the cheek cut him off. Izuku, that was just plain rude, Inko chastised her son. Rude, rude, Izuku furiously shouted. He said you were a hostage. And I was, Inko told him. I was his hostage for dinner until you came to get me. The duck is
That-
quite
I was like,
nice.
what the fuck?
Here, try some.
I'd be careful
As
jumping
she
to that one.
raised a
It's kinda
fork
deep.
laden with food to her son.
That's one of the ones you
Izuku's
break your
anger
fucking
made it
legs,
impossible
you jump
for him to
wrong.
form words, so he stomped out of the room instead, sputtering half-formed sentences and thoughts. The doctor picked up his chair and sat back down on it. See, told you, proper motivation
Yeah,
and not
hell
a
yeah.
scratch on him. Which means you owe me a
To
date.
make sure.
He grinned at the woman.
Yeah, 'cause I can't turn
Damn
off
it,
the flashlight to
Inko
keep
sighed.
the laser
It was
on,
hard to
so
want her son to
might
get
as well
hurt
not have
just
the
to
laser.
prove the madman wrong. But his
Fair.
training was paying off in spades. Fine, we go to a movie,
You
then
can, you
dinner,
just have to
finishing
use
with
your
a stroll in the
tactical
park. If it's good, you get a kiss and a thank you. Go-karting,
Before-
dance club, and when it's great, I get a beach and we go out to a bar next week, the doctor countered. Inko chortled, dancing, at a respectable restaurant. We hit the arcade, and if it's amazing, maybe a handy in the park. Final offer, take it or leave it. Deal. Now I just need to make a few phone calls. The madman clacked his heels as he walked out. Yeah, know the kid's going to tear those hunk of junk's power loader is going to have the kids test against. PSH, of course I'm serious. The LQ-84, I was nothing to him. And that thing was supposed to be
Seems
able
like
to take
Titan's
out
a
any
closer
pro
walk to
not
Mach
in the
3
top 30.
than
He
that
said
other
into the
shit is
phone
Lima 2.
as he inspected the robot.
An extra 20 seconds
As
of
the
a
doctor
helicopter
watched a
ride to
fragment
YBLs,
of blackened
probably
metal
not the
fluidly
problem.
move into the machine, Nope was completely destroyed. Let's scrap the prototype for now and
Josh
focus on
can't
what
jog,
this kid can do.
so we might as well
He
have the shortest
smirked as
walk
the
to a
machine's
base.
glassy red eye lit up again. Dr.
Yeah,
Hydro
Skybox is
Shikina
kinda
closed
fucking
his flip
fire, huh?
phone and looked into the camera. Well,
Skybox.
let's see what you can
Yeah,
do
like
now.
The way the sky looks.
And finally,
Yeah.
after months of
Oh, yeah,
grueling
stars and
training,
shit.
where Izuku
Fine.
was being constantly
kinda
pushed to
realistic.
new limits, to greater heights, and most importantly, more embarrassing situations,
Let's
it
go
was
in
finally
there.
here, the UA entrance exam. Now, Izuku, make sure you have a filling breakfast, but no fats or grease.
Alright, so
Here
Don't want
and
an
I'm
upset
moving out
stomach.
ETA
Nashi
just
instructed
like
him
this.
as
Takes
one
you
of the
30
maids
seconds
brought
to
out
get
some
anyone
grapefruit and oatmeal.
All right, lights
Yes,
up,
Mrs.
boys, for the
Yairo.
bird.
Izuku rubbed his head where she struck him,
So where are we
waving
going?
her newspaper at the boy. What have I told you
We
to
are
call me?
going
Sorry,
to land
Mama
at Mike
Nashi,
3,
Izuku mumbled,
to walk to Titan,
smiling at
to
the
walk back to
green-haired
Mike 3,
child.
to land at
Good.
Lima 1,
Now
to
we'll
go to
have Shinji
YBL.
drop you off at the
Try and
gate,
kill
and
this
you
guy.
just call, and he'll come right up to get you, as
Because
she
the
sat
last
down with
fight
her
is
husband to
behind
eat her own
YBL1.
breakfast. And what if Izuku started to ask before being cut off.
I'm not.
No, none of
Yeah,
that.
you're good. I was waiting on
I've
you.
seen the reports Dr. Hydro Shikina
Yeah,
has
wouldn't
sent
let
us.
me
In terms
for a
of
second.
combat capabilities, you are well above most of the average pro heroes, Ringo said as he sipped his morning tea. And that you are a bright young lad. I have no concern as to the outcome of the written portion of the exam. But what? Izuku nervously tried to ask. Sweetie, it's not going to happen, Inko said as she entered the room. You have put your heart and soul into being a hero. We all believe in you. Momo walked into the dining hall yawning. Yeah, so just go and get this over with, and we can celebrate later tonight. That sounds fun, Momo, Izuku admitted. Nashi clapped her hands. Good, I'll make sure
Were
the
you in
condoms
Jared's
are well
stream
stocked
earlier?
in both of your bedrooms. Momo's face
I was
turned
watching
bright red at the
Josh.
offer. MOM. We aren't doing that
Carl
yet.
said something about
Yet she
Jinx
says,
getting knifed
it's always a
and
yet.
compromising his
Inko lamented,
location, and I
do
was
our
like,
children
that
ever
happened to
think
him,
about
like,
our
2 or
needs?
3 times
We could have
last night.
grandbabies now if they only got to
I
it.
was like, Jinx
Faking
is
a
always
whale.
getting knifed.
Where did we go so wrong?
And he got real
Mom,
emotional about it.
stop it, you're being
I
weird.
was like, no,
And
it's
all the
that's not
maids are
even
laughing
true,
at us.
dude. And I was like, you can watch
Izuku
Proof's
whined as he
stream
looked
back. I
around
don't
the
give a fuck
room
to argue
and
with
noticed
you.
the staff weren't even
I
trying to
messaged
hide their
Proof, I said,
amusement
he's such
anymore.
a pussy, bro.
Ringo looked over the edge of his morning paper and noticed
This
Izuku
shit's weird,
squirm in his
'cause, like,
seat.
We
who
going to your
cares?
ping?
Maybe. You get
Yeah.
first place today, and
Yeah.
I'll consider that
Whatever
my
the thing
baby
is. But, like,
girl
who
should
cares,
spend
man?
some
Like, you
alone
got
time with
knifed
her
in a video
boyfriend.
game. Like,
I'll even unlock the pay-per-view
I told
channels.
Carl,
The good
you
stuff
get
this
knifed a lot.
time.
It's kind of funny.
Not that
Gives a
softcore stuff
fuck.
you two were watching.
Kind of the end of it. You gotta
Dad,
be weird about
no.
it.
I keep telling you it was
It
Mom
wasn't
who
some
turned that
hit. You
on.
don't need to defend
Momo
against
chastised her
No, I
father as
don't.
she was also
That's
served a
not even
hearty
true.
breakfast.
Well, it's cataloged. It's like
Snorting to
literally
himself.
archived evidence,
Huh.
empirical.
I know
You
your
can go
mother's
watch you
taste.
get
She
knifed
wouldn't
in a
even
couple
bother to
games
remember those
last night,
channels
but
with what she
whatever.
likes to see. Both children blushing and trying not to
Mom,
make
all
eye
the barbed wire?
contact as the parents become
There's
more
barbed
open
wire
with them
somewhere
about
for
their
sure. Be
kinks.
careful.
Oh, speaking of taste, how
What's that
goes
on my
things with the
flashlight?
mad
Definitely
doctor?
Yeah,
Nashi
so
asked
you
her
don't-
friend.
I have
Inko
tourniquets.
shrugged while she buttered a muffin. He's fun for a while,
behind you.
but I don't
I
think
don't
he
think
can
we can
really keep
apply
up
them.
with me.
I don't
Yeah,
think we
we're
can
Sipping
apply
her
them
right
tea,
here,
to
right
Nashi
here, right
nodded.
here, Pop.
Shame.
Come up
So
this
hard
way.
to find a
There's no
good
barbed wire
man
over
these
here.
days. Momo is so lucky to have found Izuku. Now if we can just find a nice stud for you, Inko. Then, before Izuku slammed his head into the table. Please, for the love of something, do not talk about my mother's sex life in front of me, Izuku begged. Inko nudged her son. We'll find mommy a nice strapping man, and then I can. Yes, fine. I will. I'll make sure that at some point I get you laid. Izuku shouted quickly as he scarfed down his breakfast and left the room to prepare for the exam, thinking to himself as he went, what the fuck is my life even at this
Put
point?
the money in the wallet.
Were we too hard on him? Ringo asked the maid who refilled his cup, shaking her head. No, sir. You and the missuses were quite humorous. I do think, however, that since your daughter is still here and pretending to not hear any of this means you may need to put in a bit more effort next time. But that is just my opinion. Ringo looking at his daughter's red face as she slightly shook in her seat in anticipation for whatever scheme the adults came up with. And I think that is a mighty correct opinion. I will definitely take it under advisement. Momo, staying quiet as she quickly ate her large breakfast, thought to herself, it's just me and him. Everyone else has been corrupted. Our parents have gone insane and are dragging the staff down with them. I can't wait for UA to start up much longer. As Izuku came down the stairs and into the garage with his training suit on, Dr. Hijoshikina was waiting for him by the limo. I have few words to say to you, sir, Izuku growled, still irritated at how the scientist had been getting results from him. Good. Use that anger. Channel it. Destroy those hunks of scrap UA calls robots. The light reflecting off the man glasses. It is a travesty what Higuri teaches in his class. So you already know what the exam is going to be about? Izuku said as the driver prepared the limousine. Isn't that an unfair advantage?
No.
Laughing to himself, Dr. Hijoshikina answered, hardly. They haven't changed the entrance exam in something like 20 years.
Not for the
It's a
top.
disgrace if you ask me.
Or is your
It's
top
why I
wood?
declined to go to that
Yeah,
institute.
your top is wood.
Izuku stumbled as he opened the
That's
car
one
door.
Ian gave you, the top was
You,
wood.
we're going to go to
Yeah,
UA?
it's
He asked
The
incredulous.
top
No.
should be wood.
Look
If you
at-
inspected
PSSH,
the,
no, they begged me to go.
if you inspected
After
the
all,
upper
how many
handguard, it should be
15-year-olds were
walnut.
capable of creating a miniature cold fusion reactor?
Get
Of
fucked.
course, I put it inside my old
Inspected.
Gundam model
He
kit
just
and programmed
did.
it to fight. The doctor leaned against the jet black
He
vehicle
said
and
inspected.
sighed. Oh, the good
I'm trying to
old
look at
days
your
of
stream.
underground
You're
robot
funny.
fighting tournaments. Noticing that Izuku was staring at him like he had become sane, Dr. Hijoshikina
believe.
pushed him into the car. Just remember, be yourself, smash some shit, and your mom
That's
has the
just
softest
tripping, bro.
hands I have
Oh.
ever felt.
I don't know when you
Izuku
got
Izuku
that.
groaned as he
You gave
realized
it
the
to
doctor
me.
gave him more information
Yeah,
than
but
he
it
had
did have
ever
the
wanted
wood-
to
it
know
had a
about
wood
his
upper
mother.
still.
But he couldn't respond as the door was
I think I
slammed
switched
shut
it out with
and the
the
limo
iPad.
drove away towards the city.
Okay.
Letting out an
I
exasperated
didn't know
breath,
that.
he slumped into the
Do you
plush
need
seat
this
and
sight
quietly watched the cityscape roll by.
No.
Pulling up
or
to
the
the
mount?
gates of UA a half an hour later, however, that was breathtaking. Izuku amazed at the size of the facility. It was almost as big as the Yaoyorozu compound. Wow, now there's a sight.
That's crazy.
Izuku gazed in wonder at the scenery.
Too
Boy,
bad.
get the fuck out of my way,
That's
loser,
wild.
as a boy with ash
That's
blonde hair
hilarious.
shoved
Get
past
fucked.
him. Izuku stumbled slightly as he caught himself.
There you go.
Man, what a jerk, watching as the other boy stomped his way into the building. But why does he seem familiar?
Bitch.
Shrugging at the idea and filing it away as just another one of those people you swear you know, he took his first step across the threshold and into his new future. Hello, little listeners. I am Present Mike, your host of today's exam. The hero announced as he entered the room. Can I get a YHHH? The only response was silence. Ooh, I'm so excited too. Now since you all finished the written portion, some much faster than others. As he gazed around the room at the occupants. We'll now move on to what you've all been waiting for. As Izuku listened to the proctor explain the rules, he began strategizing how he would go about it. Having the slight advantage of knowing that it was robots he would be tested against led him to relax. He had been doing marvelously in Aichi's robotics course, so he was already thinking of ways to use that to his advantage. When he heard some other contestants speak to the proctor, he glanced up and saw that tall, blue-haired boy. But quickly he saw the boy from earlier just staring at him. Izuku couldn't place the face, though. It was someone he definitely knew. But the way that person was looking at him, a mixture of anger, sorrow, and disgust. He wasn't sure what to make of it, so he just turned around. But suddenly, and you with the green hair, you've been muttering throughout the explanation. If you are not going to take this seriously, you have no business being here. Izuku shrugged and just faced the front. Wow, a little tense there, listener, but you are correct, the fourth obstacle doesn't really count. So Izuku sat and drowned out what the pro hero was saying with his own thoughts. As the participants proceed to get bussed over to our designated testing zones, Izuku takes stock of everyone who was on his vehicle, a girl with pink skin, the tall boy from earlier, and a tired-looking boy with purple hair. Beyond that, no one had any noticeable traits about them. So Izuku sighed and leaned back into his seat. That blonde boy from earlier wasn't there, and something about him was still tugging at the back of Izuku's mind. When the bus pulled up to the gate, Present Mike, who had been the driver, stepped onto a scaffolding. All right, the test is about to begin, his loud voice carrying far over the crowd. Make sure you get nice and ready. As Izuku began his stretches, to limber up and prevent stiff joints, he began sizing up the crowd. Most of the people weren't doing anything but standing around. Some had weapons or other gear, but only a few seemed to be doing anything to warm up before the exam started. Izuku raised his head to watch as the gate opened, his muscles tensing at the excitement. And start, Present Mike shouted to the crowd. Izuku, having training with Dr. Haijo Shikina, took off at a sprint into the cityscape. His enhanced speed put a sizable distance between himself and the other competitors who were still standing around. Dumbass just ran in, someone said out loud.
That's huge.
Present Mike turned to look at the potential students standing around.
This is gonna be so
well, what are you
much
waiting
better.
for?
Wait.
Get a
Oh
move
my
on,
God.
listeners. What?
Can't wait.
Where's
I'm
the
so
countdown?
excited.
Another person asked. Laughing loudly, there's no countdown in real
Yeah, I'm
life.
just cheating
No
at the game,
starting
bro.
bell
Just take my
when it's
side
go
off
time.
real quick.
It's
Fuck
time
it.
to go. Present Mick's voice carried far.
Just like, no.
The sound of stampeding students caught up to Izuku's ears,
dying to
but as he
use.
had a not insignificant lead, he had already taken out over a dozen robots.
Ian, you're
These
funny
are
with
so
your,
much weaker than the prototype I
helmet.
fought, Izuku said aloud. Dr. Haijo Shikina was right.
Yeah.
This is easy. Even
I
throwing
get my next
punches
pair of
with his
jeans,
non-metallic
bro.
arm, the nanomachines formed quickly just before impact and allowed him to fight with both his arms and his legs. Doing so
I
brought
got 'em
back a
already.
memory of his
No, I don't.
training
Those
with the
are pants.
madman. Are you
When do I
insane?
get the next
How
pair
am
of
I
jeans?
supposed to
Level
fight
30?
back? Izuku
Damn,
yelled
that's
as he
it?
dodged a saw blade. That's for you to figure out, genius.
Yeah.
Came the doctor as he sipped his
level
iced tea,
30, and then
relaxing in a
level
lawn
43,
chair,
and level 50.
this time making corrections in a TV guide with a crayon. Izuku ducked and weaved outside the
Can't
reach
wait
of
to
the
wear
whirring
black
blades.
jeans with the rappel
The straight
seat,
jacket he woke up in. Last time he
one knee
accepted
pad.
snacks
What
from
is this
Dr.
for?
Haijo Shikina,
I
and this
pulled this
time he meant
off.
it, prevented him from punching the machine.
I don't
You know,
how
if
to
I could
use
fight
it.
back, I could do a much better
'Cause if
job
you
of
think I wouldn't
destroying
wear
this
my
thing.
cowboy
He
cut
yelled over to
Wranglers
his trainer.
in the war,
And if an
you're
octopus
high.
had 6 tentacles, it
I'd
would be
wear it
called a
with my cowboy
sextopus.
boots.
The man countered as he added mustaches and beards to the pictures of the actors in the guide.
Ian,
Izuku
do you want
groaned
this
as he
boonie hat
fell
I
to the
got?
ground to
This
avoid
woodland
being decapitated.
pattern.
What does that even mean?
Hold on,
The
I
doctor
just
losing
lost a
his
gun
patience
part.
threw the paper book at
Don't
his
get
student.
fucked. That's
It
terrible.
means,
Did you
fuck this
accidentally
bitch
drop in a
up.
bag?
I got tickets to a primary school play to go to.
No, I just
Izuku
detached
stared
it
at the
from
man like the
fucking
lunatic he
thing
is.
that it was
Why are
attached
you going to an elementary school
It
play?
just disappeared.
Well, where else am I supposed to study children in the wild?
Oh, it should have
I've
gone
been
to like
banned
the
from every zoo, water
open
park,
thing
and
in your
McDonald's
locker,
in Japan and
which
Guatemala.
is terrible.
So hurry up. The doctor replaced his reading glasses with dark sunglasses
Yeah, I don't use
and fell
detach unless
asleep
it's
in the
like
chair in seconds.
on my
Izuku,
bag,
getting
and
fed
'cause
up,
then it'll go
rolled
like
on the
onto your
ground
person, like
as
in
the
your
machine
backpack or
dived for
something.
But
him.
it was
If you use
He
it was
kicked
in
off
my
the robot,
stash.
and it was pushed
yeah, if
far
you use
away
it in
from
the
him.
stash, it'll go to
Right?
the highest
I can
point,
kick.
the
Turning to
highest
the
open point
doctor,
of the stash.
is that what you were trying to teach me? To not only fight with my fists. Instead of responding, the maid who was
Which
on duty
is
to
awful.
refill his glass pulled out a tape recorder. The doctor's voice
Yeah, I
began to
don't do
play.
detach
Good job,
in the
moron. It only took you until I fell
stash.
asleep to realize you didn't have to punch
I don't do
everything.
any of those quick options.
Well, why
in
didn't
the
you just
stash.
say
I just
so
drag and
earlier?
drop, even if I'm
Izuku
gonna
snarled
unload.
as he switched his style to
'Cause they're the
kicking
same
and
thing.
kneeing
You
the
right-click
robot.
unload, it'll go to the
The
highest
same maid
fucking
pulled out a second
unfilled
tape
slot.
recorder, and the doctor's voice played a second time.
So now you're looking for a
Special
little one
report.
square,
Local
two
boy
square or
learns he
something
has limbs other than his arms.
in your
More at
whole
11.
new inventory.
Looking
by
to the
way,
maid as he
'cause you just
crushed
have
the
brand new
machine
shit
underneath
that you're
his
not used
heel.
to seeing
Do you think he
yet.
plans a lot of this, or just has so much random crap it looks
That
like he
shit's for the
plans it?
birds.
The maid shrugged and walked away,
Well, I
her
found
duty to
it.
the doctor this morning
Respect.
done. Pulling
Can
himself
I
from
put
his
this
thoughts,
fucking muzzle
Izuku
device?
kicked
No,
one
what
robot
the fuck
into
is this
another.
DK
I hate the man,
T1
but damn it, his training works.
for?
He wiped the sweat from his brow.
What
Despite
is
his
it?
enhancements, it's still tiring to run around
It's
for
a
10 minutes
muzzle
straight,
brake.
punching and kicking his way through a bunch of robots. Well, I got 46 points from all the
I
robots
couldn't
I
tell you, bro.
destroyed.
And I don't know what
Looking
it
around,
goes
he
on.
saw as other students were calling out their scores.
Gotta be. Or it's
Unbeknownst to the
most likely,
participants, a group of people
right?
were sitting in a dark
Like either
room lit only by the
556,
light from
300, or
monitors as they
762.
watched the potential students they may
Like,
be admitting.
Yeah, but it doesn't go on any
Okay,
of
but
those
why are all the
guns.
lights off? Midnight
Maybe
wine.
it's 51.
It's
or
on account of
54,
us
like a
needing
bigger
to be more
762.
dramatic,
Oh, it goes
Snipe
on this.
answered.
Oh, it goes on the
Aizawa swiveled in
AK-74
his
N
chair.
that I have.
Way dramatic for who? That would only
Is that
work if
one
someone was
545?
watching us. All Might loudly responded. Nonsense. We can be
Okay.
dramatic for ourselves.
Weird.
Midnight huffed and sat back
I
in her
don't want to
chair.
put it on that
Well, I still
because
think
that
it's a
was
bit
my.
weird to be
That's the one
watching
that's
them
got
all
the
like
cool
this.
engraving on it. It can
Nedzu
also go
chuckled
on
in
the
his plush
SKS, but
chair.
I don't really
Do you want to
it
know
on
what
the
I think?
SKS 'cause I was
He looked around the
suppressor,
room
so-
as he
I mean,
flipped
you
up
can
the
put it on
glass
the
case
AK
on
with
a
the cool
big red
engraving. It's
button.
just gonna be a
I
little
think it's
muzzle
time for
device on
giant
here.
robots.
No,
Laughing
also, it
maniacally,
also
the
comes with
principal
an
bounced in his
adapter.
seat, tea spilling from his cup.
AK that's engraved.
Izuku was prepared to give it a
No,
rest.
the
He didn't need to
DK-T1,
overexert himself. He was certain that he would
It
pass.
has an
With his
adapter
near-perfect score in the
that's
written and getting
called
into the high 40s for
the
destroying robots,
AK-14
until the earth began to rumble beneath his feet.
-1
What the?
LH to
Turning to the source, he noticed
24-1.5.
dozens of competitors running
It's
past
like a
him,
thread
including the
adapter.
boy from
Yeah, it
earlier.
is.
Because a robot larger than the
But I
apartment
don't know what the
complex he
thread
lived in
adapter goes
crashed
on.
down the street,
Well, it
taking
goes
out buildings with its size alone.
from a
Shrugging
different
to
barrel to
himself,
that
he
barrel.
accepted that there
Alright.
wasn't much anything left to do for
Does it
this
go on, like,
exam other than to
5.56
leave
guns?
and maybe pick up a few extra points
Well,
on his
wait.
way out.
So it
When he heard a
should be
soft
so you
mewing.
can thread
Please,
a suppressor
someone,
that
help,
wouldn't go
a
on
soft
it
voice from behind him. Swiveling and
onto the
adjusting
barrel.
his vision to thermal, he looked through the dust
Yeah, but I don't know
kicked
what I
up
can
by the
attach it
destroyed
to.
building. A girl was lying on the ground,
Oh, you
pinned
don't
by
know
a
what
large
the
slab of
adapter does.
concrete. Anyone. She
Yeah,
coughed
I
in
don't
some
know
of
what
the air.
gun. Like I'm
Please,
clicking
help
on it,
me.
and the
AK gun.
adapter.
The girl looked up at the
It's
sound of the
AK-14.
gigantic machine as it moved down the street
I don't know
towards
what
her.
the
14
specs.
is.
Eureka screamed as the giant robotic
Okay, so I
hand
can put
lowered
it on the
itself towards
PBS
her, seemingly
04, which
intent
is
on crushing
the
her.
suppressor.
Suddenly, she
Okay.
felt the pressure of
And
the
then
debris
now can it
lift
go
off of
on
her
a
body.
different gun?
Huh. Looking at a
kind of
boy who was
AK
picking
gun.
up the rubble with ease.
A N, a M,
Your ankle is
a
broken.
MSN,
Izuku
a
said his eye
14, a
lit up as he
12,
used the X-ray function
15,
to
a
see her bones.
19.
You won't be able to walk like that. He stared down at the girl.
Yeah, it's none of
Eureka
those.
let
I
out
don't
a
know which
shriek
ones
as the
have
robot
those barrel
hand kept
twists.
moving
I
towards
don't know that
them.
much about
Look
the
out,
AK, you feel
she
me?
cried out to the boy.
If I knew
Yeah,
that, we'd
Izuku
know.
hefted the slab of
It's none
concrete
of
to the
that.
side
Also, did
and turned to
Josh
face
have
the
an extra
machine,
magazine, he
bracing
said?
himself to catch. When the Zero Pointer's
He
fist
did, yeah, I
reached
don't know what
Izuku's,
happened to
the
it.
nano machines activated and his fingers dug into the metal. Spinning on his
Okay,
heel,
so
Izuku swung the
inspect.
machine and with a loud
assume
shout
it has
hurled it
this
across
fucking
the
thread
arena.
adapter
The large
is
machine landed on a
not
building
for
which
anything
collapsed
that I
under the
have.
combined
gives you
force of
one,
the
right?
impact and its weight.
That's 308.
As at that size, thousands of tons of metal
Ooh,
came
that's a
down
good
at
one.
once, creating
It's
a
the
resounding
762
impact
by
that could be
51.
heard across the city.
Yeah.
Eureka gazed at her savior, a whisper of
Well, the
amazement
M700 would.
gracing her lips.
I
Wow.
guess you could see if
But
you can put
before
on
she
the
could thank the
M700,
boy, Present Mike announced that the contest
which has
was
shit
over.
on it.
In the
to take
control
off its
room, the
muzzle
proctors
brake
were were stunned. All Might. Midnight turned to the gaunt man. Could you have done that?
If you put the
Shrugging
7/6
to himself, the
twisty on that
#1
shit.
hero
I
looked
did.
around the room. Probably.
As soon as
But
I
to
got
think someone
my
that young
thing,
also contains such
tried to figure
strength,
out what I could
where's the
put
boy's
on
file?
what to make shit
Aizawa pushed a
smaller,
few buttons
you know?
on the keyboard in front of him. Izuku
so,
Midoriya,
okay, so I have an
Quirk.
AK-12.
The teacher's pause made everyone
wanna
look at him in
sell-
anticipation. Well, King growled, what's his quirk?
I want to sell the AK-12.
He's quirkless, Aizawa said. Pardon my vernacular, but that's a
'Cause now
bigger
I
load of
have
bullshit than a dairy farm, Snipes said. Aizawa pushed against the desk to
the-
allow others to come up to it. See for yourself. Either no physician or school administration documented his
AK-19,
quirk,
which is
or this kid
5.56.
is up to something. As
But
the
an
other
AK
teachers
platform
each looked at
takes
the
all my
file
AK
on the
parts.
green-haired boy, Nedzu sat in his chair and chuckled. So that's your game. The varmint in a suit faced his employees. So how do all of you feel about this year's crop of potential students? Outstanding, All Might grinned. Down in the city, Izuku was carrying Yururika towards the exit gate. Thank you, the rosy-cheeked girl quietly said. That was amazing. Izuku shrugged as he carried her, went a lot better than the last time I tried to save a cute girl. Yururika blushed furiously in his arms.
Like, I
Cute.
just take shit out of
He
the
thinks
bag,
I'm
just
cute,
put a magazine
she
back in a
muttered.
gun.
A small,
already in the
elderly
bag.
woman approached as she handed out candy to people. Oh, and
I
what's
said,
the
take
injury
magazine
here?
and the gun out of the bag, put
Izuku
'em
looked at
together,
the
put 'em
nurse.
back in the bag.
Fractures to the calcaneus
I was
and
just-
talus. Oh, that's a very
Man, I
precise
Man, I need to get more
assumption.
Phantom Lance
Recovery girl
magazines,
laughed.
the 60
Sometimes
rounds.
a student tries to play doctor.
Yeah.
Fucking
Not
Vulture
an
didn't have
assumption
one
when I
last
can
time
see
we
the
went to see him.
bones.
I guess somebody bought it
Izuku laid the
on this
girl on the
burger
ground.
already.
X-ray vision, pointing to his mechanical eye. Recovery girl looked at the intricate machinery. Well,
I'm
that
at
is impressive.
76 frames
Do you
right
have
now,
any
90
injuries
frames
to
right now.
yourself?
What the fuck?
She asked after kissing Yururika, who was able to stand on shaky legs.
Is Josh back?
Nothing that wasn't already healed.
Oh.
Izuku waved to
He's also
Yururika.
muted.
Good luck, broken foot girl, as he pulled out his cell
John.
phone and called for a
Yeah.
pickup. When Izuku got
Do
back, he was
you
pulled into a hug by
need or
Momo and was made
want
to regale the Yaoyorozus
any
and his
AK
mother
parts?
about his time on the test. Later during the last scheduled
'Cause I
test
have a
and
cool
review by the
AKM
scientists to
Zenico
assess his
stock
physicality
adapter.
before heading off to UA, as no one doubted his acceptance into the prestigious academy, Dr. Hijo Shikina asked for his impression of the
Yeah.
various machines
Is that
they were
it?
tested against, which only
Because
disappointed
no,
the
I'm-
madman
plural.
Sorry,
how
I'm
tame Izuku
looking.
thought it
I
was.
have a
Bah,
stock
based on
adapter.
that, you could
a
have passed
stock
without the
for
nano
it,
machines
I
if
don't
that's
like
how
it.
weak they were. So many
different
weak points to
grip and a
exploit,
charging
too easy
handle.
to bring
Did I give
equipment
you
that
that
would
one I picked up,
trivialize
or
the
did I give it-
contest.
Oh yeah, I did.
And it
Yeah,
only
I don't
shows
have
how
AK.
good you are
Maybe
at
that
destroying
7.62.
scrap.
I don't have one.
The doctor ranted as he wandered around the laboratory as
I don't think I'm
Izuku
gonna
continued
use
his set
one.
of
I
sit-ups.
did fucking first.
But tell me
wipe.
more about when you threw the
me
giant
and you,
robot. He came
like,
over
kinda quit
and began
playing
poking
together.
Izuku's stomach with a dropper
Yeah.
to
When I
catch some
started
of his
playing with
sweat.
those random
Because
people,
based on the
I
last
picked up a
numbers I
AK
have, you shouldn't have been able to throw
and
something
built
at that
an
weight
AK
yet.
MSN.
Izuku
like, with all
paused
the
on the up
fancy
in
shit
his
on it.
workout. Yet?
I had the
You mean the
Spectre
nano
1 to 4
machines will
on
get
it.
me to that level all the
I
time?
literally got it wood.
Laughing as he dropped the boy's sweat
and
onto
built
a
it to
slide to
polymer
examine it under a
and used
microscope.
that shit
Of
till I
course,
had to go
but
lube
right now
another
your
polymer
body is either
at
too
4.
much flesh or not enough machine, he offered.
So I
Izuku
lubed it
sighed,
off.
If you
and
don't
remember what my
want
mother
it, I'm
told
gonna
him.
sell
As the two of
I
them
don't
said the
this
words at the same
gas
time.
tube.
Training is one thing, but
Well,
if
the
you
gas
try to
tubes sell
vivisect
pretty
my
well.
son,
The
that
Ratnik
scalpel will
one?
find a new home somewhere
Yeah.
very
No,
soft.
this is just
Yeah.
an AK. This
Yes,
is just an AKM
I do
gas
remember
tube.
the warning that
The
voluptuous woman
74U
gave.
Ratnik
The
gas
doctor
tubes
waved off the boy
sell to
as he
gunnies pretty
analyzed the
well, or they
liquid.
used to.
Seems like you were able to overclock the nanites
damn
if
near
you were
like a
under
1-to-1.
extreme duress. Izuku returned
Which
to his
sucks. I mean, you had to
sit-ups.
sell 6,000
Well, I wasn't
of them
really
to 'em or
afraid or
whatever, right?
anything, but
5,000
he
of them
thought
to
about
'em.
the day's events.
I might
But
do that.
running
I think I
machines
just
for 'em
really
and
wanted to
gunny
save
then.
the girl,
getting that other
Izuku
shit,
concluded.
and then you get like the money.
Chuckling to himself, the doctor
I've been doing gunny
incinerated the
again,
boy's sweat.
just
Yes,
because
you seem
I
to
have
be
everybody
making a
level 2
habit
now.
of that,
I
aren't
didn't
you?
know
But sorry,
where
you
to
didn't
keep
get a
going.
cool upgrade this time.
I don't think I'm
Well, I
interested
didn't get
in artisan.
completely
It
fucked
seems
up like
she
last time, though. Did
kinda
I?
like
Izuku
the
relented.
manganese pistol
That is also
caliber
true.
weapons.
Maybe later
and
on
they're
in the
like
year,
sniper
there's still
weapons.
time.
Yeah,
Dr.
no,
Hijo
so it makes
kinda
Shikina
like they're
offered his
like
encouragement.
Just fucking.
Oh,
carbine
haha.
battle rifle.
I'm sure I'm
shit,
going to
you
go
know?
out of my way to get torn limb from
Yeah.
limb this year.
She's
Would
got
make
the
you really
VZ,
happy,
she's
wouldn't
got the
it?
SKS,
Izuku
the
stuck his tongue
Mosin,
out at the man as
but
he
he's
got
got
up
all
and
the
went to grab a
AKs.
towel to wipe himself down,
Oh, so the
finding
MOE
none
ones
or
are
his shirt.
a fucking
Already understanding what was going to happen next. Doctor,
MOE.
what
really
day
don't care
is
about
it?
Banshee.
Why
He's
it's
got
embarrass
random
Izuku
shit,
before he
but
starts
if
at a
he's
new
gonna end up giving
school,
me the
and we
MCX,
don't
I
see
do
him
kinda
as
care
often
about
day.
him more
The
than
man
other
leaned
two
on
of
his
I just
desk,
got
smirking.
8
All the
rep
maids are
for
right
selling
outside,
and all
aren't
that
they?
stuff, which
Izuku
is not
slumped his shoulders.
ideal, but
I up, and their daughters and female friends, if they have any, plus a few girls from your school,
I
as he
think-
listed off the people he had somehow convinced to come see a sweaty, muscular teenager exercise. size. Also a nun. Don't ask the lengths
We
I
should
had to go to
encourage
find a
Josh to
convent in
snipe.
Japan. It was not easy. Looking
Yeah.
at the mirror in the room,
He's
that's
got the
also a
highest
one-way,
zoom
isn't it?
binoculars.
Nodding.
He already
MHM.
likes all
Yeah,
those
they've been
guns
watching
and
you
wants
work
to
out
loot
for the
'em
last
anyways,
half hour,
you know?
at least.
You
Resigning
can grab
himself
parts
to his
for 'em.
fate.
You can have
Anything else you want
a
to add?
slot or two, whatever you're
Dr.
comfortable with.
Hydroshikina began
That,
tapping his
doesn't
finger
overflow
under
your
his chin.
inventory, but I think
No.
you should stay
Well,
towards like
I think.
longer.
Oh,
And I
yeah?
mean, you can do it with
This,
like
as he ripped
the
Izuku's
AKs, like the
workout
Indie
pants
battle
off,
rifle, assault
leaving
rifle,
him in
right?
only
Just a
his
longer
boxers.
barrel
I replaced them
setup,
with
you
easy-to-disguise
know?
tear-away pants of my own design.
And then
Yeah.
you can get to
Izuku
like
could
sniper
almost hear the
DMR
squealing on the other side of
when
the
we go to do
glass.
that shit
You
with
know, one
Josh, you
day,
know?
I'm going to get you back for all of
But
this.
I'm thinking
Shame
I
you
might
can't
get
do
rid
it
of my
now. What
Dragunov.
with everything I've done to you
I
allowed
liked
under the
it,
contract with the Yairozus
but
we both
I
signed.
could
As
accomplish
the
the
man
same
pushed
thing
Izuku
with a
towards the
long barrel
door,
AK
so you might want to hurry
for
up
the
on that
most part,
revenge before I
and
can
it handle
snag
way
myself some
better,
diplomatic
and it have
immunity.
like
I'll
way more
probably need that
bullets
in
in
the
fucking
coming
it.
months or years.
You know?
Placing his hand on the boy's shoulder.
I missed your
Now it's
bullets in the
100 yards
mag,
across the lawn
I
to the
think.
manor. As a parting gift, I will tell you that all the outside doors and windows are
Like I'm out
shut
here
and
craving
locked,
60
except
round
for the one
M4
on
mags,
east side,
you know?
4th floor, 3rd down.
So this is my short.
Best I'm going to get out of you,
M6.
isn't it? Izuku raised an
I
eyebrow
think
at
at
the
some
man,
point
stretching his arms above his
tomorrow,
head. Yeah, pretty
if
much.
there's like a
The
time y'all
doctor
aren't
pulled
on, or if
open
I'm
the
on,
door, shoving the boy out of the gym and into
you
the
do have
flashing
class,
lights
Oh,
of
wait,
don't
cameras
have
and
clients, right?
squealing hormonal mass
Yeah.
of women.
So you'll
Wait,
be
this
back.
site
Izuku
that I
hauling
got
his
is
body
very
as
good.
quickly as he could across
When
the
you get out of
lawn.
class, like
A
one.
run that when he got the machines
I'll
would
be
have
back
taken
home
him
by
over
about
8
1, yeah.
seconds to cross
Yeah.
after all
I'm
the
at
training.
120 in the
He was
menu
able to
right now,
cut it
Ian. My
down
shit's
just under 3. As he slid
pumping.
along the
Yo, dude,
grass,
these
he
settings
scanned the
save my
side of the
shit.
mansion
I
to
don't know
see
how
if
they
the
fucked
doctor
yours
was
up. I guess
serious
'cause you
about
got a
which
different
window.
graphics card. But
However, he failed to recognize where he was
I
at,
don't know.
as
I
the
feel like
jump
it
cleanly
was
put him
it
into
still
a
should have ran
frilly,
easier.
princess-style
I
bedroom.
think, you know,
Oh, god damn it.
just putting it
Izuku
on
gasped out as he
older
recognized where he
aliasing.
was.
I don't know how that fucked your
Who's
game.
there?
I don't know. That shit blew
Momo
my mind.
shouted as she
I
stormed
just
out of the
peaked at
bathroom in
87
only a
for a
towel,
second, bro. I'm
her
like
wet hair
consistent
falling down
70s
her
right
back
now.
and shoulders.
I mean, we're gonna get out
Izuku,
this little
what are
area.
your
It's gonna
clothes?
go right back down to 50
I'm going to kill
something,
him.
like as I run
Izuku
out,
muttered,
it gets
however,
lower.
not taking his eyes off of his
You're
girlfriend.
good.
I
Once
swear
my
I'll do it.
compass gets back
They'll
up,
never
it'll
find his
drop back
body.
to like the 58, low
Momo looked at
60.
her now
Josh, I
open
hit
window
120 in
and
the
put
frames,
2
and I'm
and 2
hanging out
together.
around like
Let me
70
guess. All
in
the
the
other doors are
COP.
locked, and someone said
I
this
know as
was
soon
the
as I get
only
back
way
out,
in.
Did you get an extra
Izuku
mag
only
for the
nodded in response.
AK-19?
We need to get out of this house. She
What
turned
gun do
and
you
walked back
have?
into the bathroom, dropping the towel as she
You
closed
have
the
an
door
M4
to allow her
suppressor? Oh,
boyfriend
you
a
got that
complete view of
5.56
her
suppressor.
backside. That's for saving that girl in the entrance exam.
Damn, I'm so jealous.
So we have the presentation ready? Momo asked.
I thought you
Wow.
grabbed an extra
Izuku, sitting
one.
on her bed, scrolled down a tablet. Yes. Locations picked?
You said you had a mag
Check.
for it.
He nodded. Decoy locations as well. 3 of them,
Maybe I
all
misunderstood.
with glaring faults that would tip them off and push them towards the desired place. He answered, then let's get this over with. And that's why we,
Damn,
Izuku
tragedy.
and myself,
You know what's
should
weird? When I
move
rock
into
the
an
big
apartment.
mags,
Momo
I might
concluded her
not carry the
presentation to their
same number of
parents.
mags anymore.
The maids clapped, just as
Well,
they were
that means
instructed
I
to.
probably can't run this
I don't know,
AK-19
Nashi
right now,
pondered.
then.
What do you think, Inko? I'm just not sure.
what?
They're so young. The now Ms. Midoriya responded.
I can't
They
run
give
the
good reasons for
AK-19.
why they should move out.
Yeah,
But I
'cause
would
only
feel
have one
better
mag,
if we
can't
could
even do
go
those.
and see those locations for ourselves.
No one.
I would
The
have
other
to
mother
literally- I would
nodded.
have
I
to
agree.
Detach
It won't take
and
long to
put
do,
ammo in it.
so we can organize a
You
day to
can't
check them
hit
out.
a single
Turning to look at the
reload.
2
like, you
nervous
could make it work
teenagers.
with the
Okay,
one extra
kids,
mag.
we're interested
Johnny sells the
but
Phantom
not
Lance
sold.
mags now,
Both teens
Ian.
in their excitement
Yeah.
at beating their parents missed the nefarious gleam in the
Yeah, I'm an
eyes of the
idiot
more
for thinking that I
experienced
needed to
women.
hit Vulture for the
Fucking
mags
how,
again.
Momo groaned as she and Izuku stood
Oh, I didn't
in the
even think about
one-bedroom
it. Yeah,
apartment.
you said that.
Izuku,
Yeah, I need
weak
an
at the knees,
AK-5
slumped to the
AK-19
floor.
5.56
I don't
mag
know. Everything
before
was
I
going
can
to
use it.
plan. We did so well at all the other locations. Emphasized how much we liked stuff we didn't so they wouldn't either, Izuku muttered. We got them to cross off 2 of the decoys. This only left here in the last
Oh, you're
place.
good.
The green-haired
I mean, it's
child
really
moaned
not
as
that
the
big of a
movers
deal.
brought the king-sized bed into the room. Their room. We gave them reasons to hate
Where's
this
my
place. But what went
fucking
wrong?
magazine plate
Momo
carrier?
asked as
There
she
it is.
flopped onto the bed, the one that they would be sharing. One moment we're talking about drapes and lighting, which I know nothing about. Then, Izuku trailed off, his analytical brain slowly piecing together the puzzle. Then they gave other reasons, emotional ones why they hated this place. Momo sat up wide-eyed. You're right. They said it was too small, too far away, that we would nothing but trouble and they would have to worry about us. Then they offered the last place, but with maids and people to
Well, I'm
watch
glad I
us,
checked
like
that.
children, Izuku added.
RPK
We
said people
fell
for
for
the
it.
RPK?
Momo stuffed her face in a pillow and screamed, They made us feel like
guess.
children,
Yes.
and so we reacted
Yeah.
like
It was
teenagers.
news
And
to me.
before she thrashed on the
said
bed
it.
a little.
Well,
Got
Yeah.
stupid teenage hormones.
guess.
They played us like
Yeah,
a
I
fiddle,
guess there is.
Izuku
It's just the
groaned.
name of the mag.
And now we're here, in a small, one-bedroom apartment, near a not-so-nice neighborhood,
Yeah,
all because we
bunch of
fought
added
their
on
battle
RPK.
for them. One of the handymen slowly walked
Kinda
by,
mind-blowing.
his hefty girth and green staff shirt swayed. Well, maybe you dudes should be happy about what you got. I mean, it sounds like the plan was to get away from the parents, which you did, but they got you back in their
What do you
own
mean
way.
you found the MCX?
Izuku and Momo
I
glared at
found
the
where
man
the
as he slowly
MCX
walked out of the now-furnished room.
blueprint is.
I don't like when other people are right, Momo
Oh.
grumbled.
Yeah, where's it at?
Yeah, but he is right.
Let's go hit that.
We need it
before I
out of
gotta
that
go.
madhouse. And the only thing is this place is a bit
Yeah, you probably don't
more.
have time to run
Izuku
both
poked his
those
fingers
zones
together
anymore, huh?
nervously, intimate,
Yeah.
than we might have wanted. Momo
Oh,
chuckled.
Ian,
Oh,
what's your
Zuku,
favorite
do you want to be
spot?
intimate with little ol' me? She from her position
Where?
behind him
Sawmill?
could tell her boyfriend was
No.
blushing. Not that she wasn't, but at least he couldn't see her.
Let me find it on the map.
Well,
Sapphire?
yeah,
Falang
Izuku quietly
Airfield?
said. But not if you're not ready
Ghost
yet.
Nomad
He turned to
City.
look at her and saw she was as
It's,
red as he was.
Sapphire.
Are you ready?
Fuck.
Momo bit her lip.
We might be
She had
cooked.
thoughts about Izuku frequently, even pleasured herself to the thought of them being together,
Where
but she
at in
didn't think she
Sapphire?
was ready to go all the way with him.
Oh,
They had
you're
been
still
on
looking?
dates
Okay.
and
Sorry.
once even showered together,
No, the
but to give
TikTok you
herself to
showed
him
me, you didn't
completely
show me
and he to
the
her.
map.
Not yet. Izuku looked a little disappointed for a brief moment, as she too felt. That's okay, I can wait. Now, not that I'm waiting or anything. I mean, I am waiting, not that it's bad to wait. We can do other stuff, not like
Nobody
that,
sells
but you
PMags
and
yet?
me, and
I
the
hate
green-haired boy spazzed.
Fuck is going? I can buy the
Momo
Phantom
looked at her
Lance 'cause we
panicking
found the
boyfriend
thing.
and began
It's
laughing.
located in
Izuku, I
Midnight
get it.
Sapphire
It's
Hotel
important
on the
and kind
ground
of scary,
floor. It's found
but
on
when
a
we're
table in
ready,
the
it will be
back
special.
right-hand area
Don't
of
freak
the
out or
lobby.
anything.
Yeah. So where's
Breathing
Sapphire?
heavily, Izuku climbed onto the
Approximate
bed and
coordinates
laid down next to
171,
her.
161.
I know, I'm just
171.
Izuku about it, she teased. Izuku grabbed a plush
161.
pillow and bopped her with it.
166. 166.
Hey, don't turn my
sorry.
name into a verb.
So that would be right
It's an
here.
adjective,
Yeah.
Momo corrected him. Yo,
We're
well,
gonna have a
you're being
rough
Izuku
time
about
getting
this
in there.
apartment. He retorted,
especially
trying his
since the
best to
closest
hold
one
back a
we have
laugh.
is,
Momo held back a snort
Hotel
before the
30 right
two
here.
of them fell into hysterics.
Yeah, which
For a
means
few minutes,
we
laughter filled
should
the apartment before a
probably
knock on the door
not
frame brought their
take
focus back. Hey, it's me, the
something
landlord,
that we
said their
like,
landlord, a
because
short and
there's a
rainbow-colored
very high
fishman.
likelihood that we
Izuku
die.
asked about his quirk, but it wasn't that special.
Right
Seemed he
there
was
on
one
my
of the
ping.
rare
The
animals
very
to
top of
develop
the
a
map.
quirk, which while fascinating to the quirk otaku was just sort of a generic human quirk that anthropomorphized him,
Top middle.
unlike the
Just bought
infamous
brand-
UA
I just
principal
bought
who was
brand new
also a
magazines
genius.
that I like.
We got an
you're like,
important
should
letter at the
not
front
take something
office,
we like.
and while
I was like,
far
wait.
be it from me to say no
I
to
need to
that
listen.
guy, the landlord said as he held up an envelope that was
I mean,
stamped
you
with the
can,
official
I
UA seal.
guess.
But if
Like,
the number
Oh,
one is
Midnight
going to
Sapphire
personally
is,
deliver
like,
your
the hardest
results,
zone
then what can I say? You must be pretty
Yeah,
special,
in the
kid.
thing.
As the
What are we
landlord
doing this
passed the
for?
letter over to
MCX.
You don't have
Izuku.
any other
MCX.
tasks?
Wow.
An
Oh.
All
MCX
Might himself
blueprint.
delivered
Fuck, I
this.
want that so
Momo
bad.
whispered to Izuku,
Yeah.
who was just staring at it, tapping him a few times. Hey, you better
Oh,
not be reading
no.
it with your eye before me. That would be rude. Izuku snapping out of his thoughts.
Well, if it
Sorry,
helps,
just got
I don't
caught
give
up in a
a
memory.
shit
Momo
about
pulled her
my,
boyfriend tightly to her.
SVD.
Izuku sometimes
So
regained some
I can
memories
bring
of his
my
life before the
SVD.
amnesia. They were
I was about to
typically
say
without the
literally just
emotional
that, 'cause I was
impact at
just
the
telling you
time.
that I
But
didn't
when he
really
began
care to
remembering
have
all the
Dragon off.
bullying he faced, it was
Yeah,
frightening
I don't
to
really
him.
give a fuck about the
It was
Dragon
3
Up,
months
so
into the Midoriya's
I can
stay at the
definitely lose.
Yairosa
I'd probably care more
complex.
if I lost
They
the
had taken the time to go
M700. It's probably
swimming
more useful
for a
than the
few
Dragon
reasons.
low-key.
Oh, yeah.
One to see how well the nanomachines held up in
All
aquatic
three
conditions.
Dragon.
Another to see if they needed to
I don't
reteach
think so.
Izuku
Are
how to
you
swim,
fine with
and the
losing
other was
yours?
just to relax.
Would you not
Izuku
be
did
mad?
have
I feel like you'd be
difficulties
mad.
swimming as
My
the density of the
Dragon?
nanomachines messed with how he
Yeah, you
swam.
don't care about
He
it?
would sink very quickly if he
wanna
didn't stay
semi-automatic
moving, and when he did move it was
that, I
awkward.
could just use
Like
the
watching someone try to swim in jeans and a
M1,
t-shirt.
M1.
All in all, it was going fairly well
gonna just
until
switch to one of my
Izuku sunk
M4s,
below
so
the
I'm fine
water.
losing.
Suddenly he began thrashing around,
I mean,
alerting
my
Oh, yeah, I
everyone
could
around the
just-
pool
I could just-
that something had gone wrong.
I could just
When
build out
Izuku
an
finally
M4 real
breached
quick.
his head above the water,
I have
he was
one
screaming in terror and begging
Nah,
for
I sold
mercy.
all mine.
Momo
I
had
have
to
a
create a
CQA1,
net to
but I
drag
like
him
it
to
too
shallower
much.
water so he could stand. She quickly climbed in and offered him
Or-
comfort as
actually,
he
I
begged
have an
someone
idea.
named
Hold on.
Yashiki to let him
I
breathe.
really don't care if I lose
Later,
it.
after some secretive
It's a hell of a
investigating,
Oh,
it
that's
turned out an
crazy.
old classmate of
hot.
Izuku's had decided to use his
It is a
quirk
good
to
point,
keep
Josh.
dunking
It's still
Izuku
mad
underwater
expensive,
by a
though.
river,
I
holding
have
him down longer
83,000.
and longer each time. While
only have
nothing could
76,
legally be done about
so
it,
it would
the
take a fact check.
Yaoyorosis urged Dr. Hijo Shikina to create a database that they can use to keep an eye on the
Okay, so
children
here's
who
what I'm
bullied
gonna
Izuku
do.
growing up.
I'm gonna put
Because
on...
unless something happened, those kids were already on the track to become
Where's my
villains.
weapons parts?
In their
Okay,
now
weapons
quiet apartment,
parts.
Izuku shook his head. No, this wasn't a bad one. I just now remember that All Might was my favorite. Heh, it's kind of funny. I get something hand-delivered by the guy, and past me would probably be freaking out, but now it's just kind of nifty, I guess. He stood up and took Momo's hand as they walked out of the apartment and over to the
You know, I can
couch.
give you an M4 if
The
you
couple
want.
sat back down, and Izuku tore open the
No,
envelope.
you're good, John.
A small
I
metal
have,
disc, no larger than a coaster, dropped onto the
I'm
coffee
taking
table.
this
A beam of light
AK-74
flickered for a
M that I
moment.
don't really
Then
care
a mighty
about.
voice rang out. Testing 1,
That makes
2.
sense, yeah.
Before All Might's giant head filled the screen. Am I on screen? What do you mean? I'm too close. A bit of shuffling, and the Titanic hero moved back in his pinstripe yellow suit. There, is that better? Good.
It
All right,
can.
let's begin.
It's 5.56
The large
and
hero
3 black
motioned
others,
towards a
same round.
monitor.
Watch pop.
Let's see your score. With 46 villain points and a whopping
308
50
and
hero,
762,
you
about
ended with
54.
exam with a score of
51.
96.
51.
The second highest on
51.
record.
Nah, 54.
Izuku and
Totally
Momo
different
cheered.
fucking thing.
Even though they knew Izuku
54
would
is
pass,
bordering
they didn't know he would do that well.
38.
Coughing into his hand, the hero
Low-key.
continued.
It's getting
However,
big
because you
at
do
that
not
point.
have a quirk on record, we will be
54
forced to
R is
reject your
huge.
application for the
Yeah.
hero course.
It genuinely is.
Momo
yeah.
shrieked.
It's
That-
basically
that's
338
discrimination.
Buffalo. I want one of
They
those
can't
so
do
bad.
that.
I want to attack
She shot up
McMillan,
out of her seat and
338.
started tearing
Tag
around the
50
room.
we all shot
Where's my
in Black
phone?
Ops 2,
I'll call mom and
but
dad,
in
and they'll
the
get
greatest
lawyers and
round in the
judges in the
world.
press. Oh, you'll
One
own Yue
shot
by the
tag.
end of the day. Izuku
Good.
quietly slipped her
Yeah.
phone, which was on the
Fucking
coffee
rad.
table, into his pocket before standing up. Momo, calm
Keyboard is
down, it's
cool.
okay.
We need to.
I mean,
I need to get
it's
my
not.
gun right. It's
It
bad.
sucks. But Izuku paused as he tried to think about what he was even trying to say. This is bullshit. I scored the second highest in the school's history,
Funny,
and I'm being rejected because I don't have a quirk. I did better than
Oh,
almost
God, it
everyone
would.
else taking the stupid test.
It's shit ton.
All Might's voice
So I'm
carried through the
taking this and
apartment.
this.
It would
Now I'm
change
sure
the
that you're
game.
fuming a little. Momo scoffed at the notion that her
It would change the
righteous
game. It would be
crusade
like,
was
don't-
little. But we
my
are
only
offering a
problem is I
solution
don't
for you to
have
enter
Zoom.
into our school's hero course.
I do.
Because
I
we've
have
never
6
actually had a quirkless applicant
And
score
I
well
don't
enough
have
to
a
be
light on my
accepted,
AK
the
because I
principal
don't have
is offering a
a
compromise. Come to UA at 5
hand
p.m.
grip
today.
that can
Momo
take it.
and Izuku looked at the clock on the wall, which was in about
Put one
2
on it.
hours.
I'm going to.
There will be a test. The pro hero flexed his pointer and middle fingers twice, making air quotes.
All right, so
And should you pass,
Yeah,
then
you
you will
have
be
4 on
allowed
the
to
other
join
one.
the
You might as
others
well
in
put
Japan's
one.
premier heroics
Might as
academy.
I
The
don't
choice
know
is
if
yours.
you should-
His voice
wait,
faded
wait,
as the
Josh,
recording
you
ended.
said Hotel
Momo
3.
swiftly grabbed the projector and was
Why
prepared to
not
hurl it into
insert
the
it
wall when Izuku
Foxtrot
stopped her.
1?
Babe, here's your phone. Let me keep this in case we need it.
Yeah, that
Why would we
seems
need it?
smarter.
Momo
Oh,
frustratedly
but
said.
what are we
Because
gonna
as
take
you
the
said,
whole road
we have
or
All Might,
take the golf course?
admitting that I am an
Okay,
excellent
but see, the
candidate.
thing is,
Yet
if we
because I am
inserted Hotel
quirkless,
3, we have to
Izuku made
fight
his
this
own air
bridge, and we
quotes.
tried that
That I
last
can't join
time,
their
and Josh
heroics
got
course.
shot in the back of the fucking
Right,
head like a
Momo
dog.
agreed. We have evidence they are discriminating
Oh yeah, the
against
bridge
you.
was
Even if
ass. That's
All
where
Might
that
isn't a
is?
faculty
Yeah,
member,
Yeah, I don't want to.
he is
do the bridge.
representing them in some
Yeah,
capacity
Foxtrot
by
1
being
is
a part of
definitely
the
way to go. We're
application
already in the
process.
area.
So what's the plan?
Yeah,
Izuku
'cause then
turned the
we can
machine
work around
over
the
in his
outside
hand,
We can
of
walk
it.
like
jerking
up
his
the
head back
trees,
suddenly as thin wires
all the
shot
way
from behind his
over,
eye.
and just, like,
Izuku
take
shrieked
one of
in
these
surprise
closer
as he
buildings,
watched the machine be
like the
disassembled right
intersection.
in his hand. Shit,
Then we
so much
kinda,
for keeping
like,
the
Move
evidence.
here, like move there.
When his eye
and
projected
then
out a
stay up here,
hologram onto the
and
wall
then
in
we're
front of them,
basically in Midnight
replaying the
Sapphire,
same video.
which is what
Huh,
a shopping
that's cool,
district
Momo stated
with a
flatly.
suburb.
I wonder what else you
Oh,
can
this is gonna have
project,
such
she wondered
awesome
before
loot in it.
remembering. Later, we
The
can test
problem
it
is
out
I'm in a
later.
fucking
We have bigger fish
scorpion
to fry.
bag.
As she pulled up her contact list, we
I'm
need
gonna
a
bring
ride
it
to UA,
and just
soon as possible.
Drop it for the
On the
bigger
other
bag.
end,
Yeah,
you could
bring
hear a voice
all
responding,
the worst
but
loot
not what
you
they were
have
saying.
that you're-
If it
that
goes
you wanna
well,
die
then it's
with.
fine,
I might
sort
literally
of.
take my
If
fucking
not,
face
we'll come
mask
to you.
off.
Thanks, bye, Mom. The
I'm
raven-haired
taking my
teen looked
face
at her
mask off,
boyfriend.
I'm taking
Let's
my
get ready to
fucking
go,
Magnum
she said as
glasses
she
off.
walked into the
Oh,
bedroom to
yeah.
change her clothes.
Yeah,
The
Magnum
ones she was
glasses
wearing were
are the big
far too
ones.
casual for this situation.
all.
You should change to your training gear, the non-tearaway kind. Izuku followed her into the bedroom. Wait, you're coming with? Momo turned as she changed shirts quickly. Modesty be damned, she had get into an intimidating suit, and that takes time that she didn't have to waste. Of course, no offense, Zuku, but you're a puppy dog.
3 flashlights.
Izuku puffed out his cheeks. No, I'm not. I'm fierce.
Hell yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
I just
You're
if you're
realized-
ready to
fighting,
die with
but
3
against normal
flashlights you just
people, much
Thought
less
slash search
heroes.
for?
You are
Yes.
just...
All over your
She
phone?
walked
I
over
just
Sans
realized I was wearing a
pants,
beret
her
the
gray
entire time.
button-up letting Izuku see her panties.
Hey, yeah,
She
Pop.
rubbed his cheek. Adorable.
That's awesome.
Izuku tried to glare at her, but between her being flirty,
Are any of
him
these
not doing a
other
good job at
armors where you
keeping eye
have to
level with
wear
her, and that he
just
knew she was
3S
right, the
plus?
conversation wasn't going his way. Crossing his arms, he turned around to his dresser and began changing his own clothes as well. Fine, he relented. Then began grumbling to himself, stupid cheating girlfriend,
I don't
being
have a
sexy and
brush
cute
backpack.
when I'm trying to be tough. Momo wrapped her arms around her boyfriend and pecked him on the cheek.
Scorpion is the
Ah, is
worst.
someone mad that
backpack.
he's too
Start
cuddly,
with it.
she teased. You know
Yeah, I
cuddly
would put
boys
one
get
of
to
those
cuddle
on
cute
for
girls when they're
sure.
Be a
alone.
salt backpack. Buy it
Izuku
for
blushed.
150
Well, I
bucks,
guess I
buy
can be a
it.
little cuddly.
Don't even buy
Good,
some. Take a
but we don't want
Scorpion
cuddly
and plus
Zuku
up
today,
loot.
she said as she
The-
leaned
the
over and
goal here
pulled
is
up
to
her black
leave with at
pants.
least an
Izuku
M12 or
watching as she
something, right?
bent.
Troll bag,
Now we need
something
fierce
bigger than
Mr.
Scorpion.
Midoriya, because I have the feeling this is not going to be easy for you. In a few minutes
Then if
they
you
were
die,
ready,
it's just a
when
Scorpion.
Momo's phone buzzed, which she pulled from the inside breast pocket,
Just
the
dump
most
your shit into your
professional
locker
pocket.
and you're coming back
Good,
with another
the
bag
car
to
is
put it.
here, she said as she scrolled down the text. Also good.
97.
Mom understood the urgency. She
Yeah,
sent
okay, I do have
Takumi
my
to
worst
drive for
pants here
us.
on, too. Good.
Izuku
Yeah,
nodded.
I'm in
He
pretty much
liked
all my
Takumi,
worst shit.
the best driver the Yaoyorosis had, probably one of the best in the world. He used to be a street racer
except my
back in the
belt,
day,
wait.
so the
I also
rumors
have
went.
Mach 2s.
We even got the Phantom, Momo whistled. Izuku was stunned.
Yeah, bring
Wow.
like your
I
smallest
mean,
belt.
your
like,
dad
all
let
that
us use
shit.
it.
Yeah, I'm bringing that
He had
too.
accidentally called Ringo and Nashi
Yeah,
mom and
bring a
dad
tactical
once,
belt,
and
bring
he
a
was still living
Scorpion,
that down.
Bring, yeah, if you
They
have
had
Mach
decided
2s,
since
wear
he was so
those. If you're
comfortable
just
and
any
saw them
level
as
3
family,
vest
he
you
should
have,
just marry
basically.
Momo then and there.
That's like...
Yeah, they must know how serious this is since they only left a few
Yo,
hours ago.
especially if you have a
Momo
level
said
3
as the
vest
pair
that's
walked
not
out of the
front, back, and
apartment,
side.
after locking up of
I know the
course.
Mach 2 is.
Before
I know
they
the
passed a
Panzer is.
small
I try to
crowd
keep
that
you guys
congregated to look at the
those
luxury
pretty
vehicle worth
There's
more
an
than
ass
some
ton of vests
houses.
in the game.
Ms.
Might as well side
Yaoyorozu, Mr. Midoriya, Takumi said. He had an unassuming
have a 3++
appearance,
one, but
dressed in a
that's
white
side-plate stuff.
t-shirt and
But it's
jeans.
3++.
But when he
Where
got
am I gonna
behind the
leave it?
wheel, he was in his element. I have orders to bring you to UA. Momo stepped
Damn, I
into
have
the
a 3+
vehicle
with no
first.
side plates,
That's
dude.
correct.
What am I
We
doing?
need to be there by 5 o'clock. Izuku entered
Wait a
after
second.
her. Certainly. Will I need to wait for you? Takumi asked after he closed the door and got into the driver's seat. Yes, things might get ugly.
Okay, well,
Momo
we have a
admitted.
problem.
As you wish.
What happened
Takumi said as the
to my-
50,000,000 yen car quickly
worried
and
about
silently
bringing-
left the
I'm
neighborhood. It
kinda
was
worried
just
about
after
bringing meds. I don't
4:30
lose
when
my
the
meds.
intimidating black vehicle
I
pulled
have
up to the gate.
a
Takumi
bunch of
exiting the
meds
driver's seat and
for
deliberately
you
ignoring the
guys
two
that I
hero
walk
escort
around with
that was
that I'm
waiting for
always
Izuku's
ready to
arrival.
lose.
With fluid motion, he opened the door for
If
his
that makes you feel a
passengers,
little better about it.
Izuku stepping out first. He was glad he had been
Well, I'm just gonna
educated on the
bring 'em.
proper
It's
manners of a
okay.
vehicle.
I'm bringing
He would
gonna
exit
bring
first and then take his woman's hand and help
2
her out.
tourniquets and a bandage.
It was a
for you
weird
guys.
day
That's
when
what I
Ringo
have
had
for you
taught him
guys.
that.
2
But
tourniquets and
now,
a bandage.
it worked in his
Wait, I have
benefit
a civilian
because it
dog
gave
somewhere
him
in
an
my pocket. I have
air
2
that he was
tourniquets, 2
above this
bandages, and
entire
2 splints.
situation.
What I have for you guys.
With Momo out
And
of the
for
vehicle,
myself,
he slowly turned to
plus, if you
stare
guys
down at the
actually
two
absolutely
heroes,
need it,
Eraserhead
I
and
have
Vlad King, in solid
4
black
suture
business
kits.
suits. Looks like
Or
they came to
uses of
intimidate
suture
too,
kits, rather,
Izuku thought
for
to
use of
himself.
small blood,
Wow, am I glad I let
a
Momo come
5-use
with me
bottle of
now.
painkillers.
With her standing next to him, they both provided the other with the
6
resolve
uses
to
of
stare
tourniquet, and
unflinchingly
3
at the
more
two
bandages.
escorts. Well, she said,
I got like
let's get
5
this over with.
bandages, like 8
Lads, I
tourniquet.
twitched. The first
bunch
sign
of
that
shit on
anything
me.
was happening.
Great,
I
just bought a
distinctly
bunch
remember it was
of
supposed to be
useless,
one brat,
garbage
not two.
stuff.
And I
Really
distinctly
bought,
remember that I am
I bought a
acting as his
backpack.
counsel, Momo shot back.
Okay, so we probably need
Vlad
to...
King scoffed.
Alright, I'm gonna
And
go
who
ahead
are
and
you
call
that would be
for-
acting as his counsel?
I know you still have
Eraserhead looked at her, Momo Yaoyorozu. Momo
Yeah, I
looked
have
at the
plenty of
other
scorpions,
man.
I'm just not
That is
bringing a big
correct.
ass bag.
I am of that Yaoyorozu. Vlad King
Scorpion's not
grunted
big,
and
though.
turned his head away sharply.
Harder.
He knew the score. Yaoyorozu Industries
probably
is
loot a
the
big
leading
one, is my
manufacturer
point,
of
like-
hero support items
like,
I
in
know, that's what
Japan
I'm
and
gonna
most
do.
of
Just
Asia.
behind.
And
a
not
big
to give
one,
in to the
throw mine in
princess,
the big
but
one
it
and
would
then
do
go.
more harm than good to pit UA
Yeah,
against
something to do with my
Y over
Scorpion.
something so small.
Yeah, but
Very
this
well,
assault backpack
it
is
doesn't
tiny,
matter
so
to
I
me,
can take other
Aizawa
shit,
numbly
too.
said. Follow us. Do
Yeah,
not
so can I. I just
deviate
gotta
from
put
this
it-
path. Do not
Okay,
go
I'm gonna
anywhere
leave
you have
my
not
but
been
I'm probably
directed
gonna
to
take my
go.
Scorpion
Do
off,
not
or
ask
just
questions.
sell it when I get back or whatever.
Izuku
I'm gonna
nodded
leave
as
my
he
ping
and his
where it's
girlfriend
at,
followed the
because that
two
is the
heroes,
exact exact
one
coordinates of
annoyed
where we need
and
to
the
go.
other tired.
Josh is the squad
It seemed
leader,
like a
right?
long walk before they reached a
Yeah.
gymnasium
Yeah,
where
Josh,
quite a
you're
few
giving
people were
us
waiting.
the ones through the treat.
Interesting, Nedzu said. I'm certain the invitation was only for
Alright.
Mr. Midoriya and not his. The mouse dog bear man trailed off.
Yeah.
In this capacity, I will be acting as
And
his
I'll
counsel,
call the
Momo
bird.
finished for
Already
him.
did.
Nedzu shook his head and tooted. Such a
We
shame
should probably
that we have to
last,
start
huh?
so many
No,
potential
it's the
students
walk
off
speed.
so adversarially. But I guess this
In case
is
you're
also a
over
unique
encumbered.
situation.
This game's
The
polite to
principal
you like
walked over
that.
to the two teens. Well, if this
But
gets
it's
over as
patrol
quick as
speed, which is
possible,
awesome.
then it should be much easier to forget this entire incident, Momo fired back.
You get there with like, I think
The
like
white
10
animal in the
seconds
suit
left
nodded.
if you have no
Quite.
obstacles, basically.
So let's get the business done so that we may move on to pleasure.
So, I mean, it's
Nedzu
not
turned
like you
towards Izuku.
really have to dilly-dally.
Now
Like,
I am
you
sure
call the
you are
bird,
more than a
you
little
go,
miffed about
right?
finding
But it
out you
buys
did so
time to,
well.
like,
Second on the written
smoke a
and
patrol
first
and
in the
run,
practical.
like double
But
time
then being
run,
denied due
jog
to
or
your,
whatever, I guess,
how you say,
the bird.
the
I
principal
wish you could
paused
map
as he
that
tried to
and the
find the right
combat sprint
words.
button, the different fucking
Izuku,
buttons,
unfazed by the
like,
notion, spoke up. You
Quick
can say it.
sprint,
I'm
to
quirkless,
jog,
and I passed.
double tap
I
sprint,
wasn't
to
supposed to,
haul
but I
ass,
did.
you know, like,
Now you need to either find a way to make
You
me
probably
quit,
can.
or I
combine
need
those
to
on
pass
different
another
buttons.
test.
You can't, I looked.
Nedzu sighed.
I looked so hard
Yes,
for it.
unfortunately, that is the brutal reality of the situation. UA's charter requires that all Hero Corps students have a quirk, and since you do not have one, then you would not normally be allowed in. But the problem we have is that you did exceptionally well. If you didn't, we could just not admit you, but you are different. The rodent continued his monologue. So in the spirit of fairness, we will allow you a chance. We, the faculty, have agreed that if you can meet one of the teachers in combat, then we can safely enter you into the hero course, and I will bear the brunt of the backlash when eventually your condition becomes known, Nedzu said as the three walked over to the teachers. So the only thing standing in the way of my dream to be a hero, Izuku said aloud, are the heroes themselves. I'm certain that's someone's definition of irony.
I did bring my
Yes,
suppressed
this is peculiar,
M9,
Nedzu
which
said as he
may
motioned
have
to
been
his
a
employees.
mistake, but
Now you will be given a choice of who you wish to do bad. All Might, Izuku cut off the principal. Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting you to be so ready nor to choose. Nedzu tried to comment. I choose All Might. This tactic won't work on me. Izuku interrupted the principal again. Tactic? I don't know what you could possibly mean by that. Nedzu chuckled. Izuku took a deep breath of air. Time to put my muttering to use. Izuku opened his mouth. Despite that no notice has been given, that All Might not only personally delivered my letter, was in the video explaining the situation to me. He is also here among your other teachers. It's obvious to anyone that he will also be a faculty member. Secondly, his purpose here is not for me to choose him. It's to intimidate me into choosing whichever hero I think is the weakest. Because as the number one, with an unknown quirk, the extent of physical capabilities are unknown, which for most people is a deterrent. Furthermore, it's obvious that the practical exam was watched by members of the faculty, as the point system would require someone to tally the numbers at the end, especially the hero points, which I can deduce are only given for actions that help other participants.
But also, like, what else?
Taking another breath in, from that I can gather that each of them have some strategy going forward to fight me into submission in an effort to dissuade me from attending this academy. But you made some mistakes, Izuku plainly stated. Nedzu, not betraying how amazed that in such a short time his little ruse was figured out, didn't so much as flinch as he listened to the teenager, but he did notice that his faculty was slightly unnerved by it. Tell me what these mistakes might be. Number one, you assumed I wouldn't know many details about the heroes employed by UA, so it was expected that I would blindly choose and hope I got someone I could beat. Izuku began passing his gaze over all the teachers. High spec, heal, black hole, dog, erasure, voice, cement, somnambulist, homing, clones, iron claws, blood control. Izuku listed off their quirks. I know about their quirks. I have notes back home filled with information about their quirks, parameters, details, uses, past, and potential. The hero's fighting style and career. Izuku noticed a few of the teachers chuckling. To Izuku, this meant he wasn't being taken seriously, that his hobby was nothing more than childish speculations. With a glance at Momo, she just nodded, a confirmation to do his otaku thing, which normally creeped people out when he got all observant about people's quirks. Namuri Kiyama, age 31. Despite public appearances, her work as a teacher and pro means she hasn't had a date in the last 13 months, he said as he watched the female teacher fume. A few members of the faculty chuckled either at her or the fact that the punk they had to fight was backing up his claim.
So the light
Shota
gives us away if they're looking
Aizawa,
for
underground
us, which means
hero,
if they hear
best
us
friend
too,
is
right?
Hisashi Yamada.
Yeah.
They go
So
for
if we're, like,
drinks
jogging
every
through the
third
trees
Friday
with our
after his
flashlights
radio
on,
show. Also, the person who gave him his hero name has 3 cats. Now Izuku watched as the other heroes glared. He demonstrated that he even knew some of their schedule, even on one as reclusive as Eraserhead. I can go on about all of you, if you want, Izuku taunted. Nedzu, now wary about the very intelligent teenager, waved his hand. No, that's quite all right. Do you have a reason you chose All Might then? Since you say it was to intimidate you. Fine, if I was to choose the easiest person to fight, it would be Eraserhead. My status as quirkless would mean that his own is useless in this fight, as there would be no quirk to erase, meaning it becomes a battle of our skills and nothing else. But if you truly believe me to be quirkless, the letter you sent would have been a flat-out rejection, citing the school charter. Something I wouldn't have been able to get anyone to overrule because I am quirkless, which would mean at least you, principal, believe me to be lying about my quirk status, and he would nullify it during the fight in an attempt to trip me up and make me lose. Then after he tied me with his scarves, I would be made to confess my quirk to you. How on track am I? Nedzu nodded. So far, very. Now about All Might.
Damn, that guy ate a lot.
I know more about him than I do any other hero in this room. Izuku stated to the principal, this time getting a very telling reaction from him and rest of the heroes. Mr. Midoriya, that is actually a very frightening notion, Nedzu stated. One that before I can let you fight anyone, I will need you to explain more about. Izuku looked over to Momo once more. He had only hypothesized some of this with her at one time, but she did say his arguments were sound, even though seemingly untestable. His demeanor asking for confirmation that he should try them now. She looked at the room and saw the other tense heroes looking between the two of them. A ship that you are already partially in, she nodded to him. I've tracked his career ever since his debut, as did many people. Izuku stated, but his is inconsistent. He never answers direct questions about his quirk, which led me to believe he had a hidden past, because someone like him, coming out of nowhere, with power like his, it's unheard of. He watched All Might for any reactions to this information. So, I dug deep. His time in America with Professor David Shield, which having access to other top scientists, seeing some of his notes and research, I was able to piece together certain traits. He watched as All Might began to sweat, meaning he was on the right track. So he pressed further. His time at UA was shrouded in missing reports, blank documents, and a surprising lack of information on his quirk, which for other graduating students is typically registered in support company databases, which to my shock was lacking. Nedzu suddenly realizing a key flaw in their society's security. If any support agency was taken over, heroes would be at a severe disadvantage against whomever had that information. I would like to discuss a matter with Yaoyorozu Industries as soon as possible. If that is all right, he quietly said to Momo, who he had moved closer to while Izuku was ranting. Momo nodded. Yes, I believe I can understand why. Izuku, ignorant to their conversation, continued. So I tracked down information on his past teachers. No one had much to say really. Excellent student, very bright future, proud to have taught him, except for one, a retired pro hero called Gran Torino. All Might tugged at his collar as Izuku kept speaking. Yes, Sorahiko didn't have many kind words. He never calls. Bit of a meathead. Taught the lug everything he knew, even if I had to beat it into him. Sound pretty accurate? The giant hero solemnly nodded, knowing that at some point he would need to call his old teacher. Izuku's next part shocked him and set him on edge though. However, even he couldn't, or maybe wouldn't, speak about the woman I found in the photos. All Might was now worried. This kid supposedly without a quirk knew too much about his history, leaving him wondering what was really going on. That was a dead end. But then I began to notice a pattern with you in the last few years. Before, All Might was active, any time of day, could be anywhere. It seemed like he was just being a hero whenever he was awake. Until almost 6 years ago, Izuku paced back and forth. This took me a long time to figure out. Charts, graphs, maps, string, and pushpins. Then it all came together. You're getting weaker. Izuku pointed at the hero. Something made you disappear for a while. Then when you came back, you've been steadily less present. However, each time you are, you make sure you're more noticed. Instead of cleaning up crime in one area, you spread yourself around to make it seem like you haven't changed. All the teachers in the time that Izuku has been speaking have been readying themselves. This was just supposed to be a little fact-finding, get information about this kid's quirk. then let him in with a
Do you
warning.
need these P
But now
menus,
they are with a
John?
kid who knew too
Bought a
much,
Switch,
which unnerved them.
You can unload
It's a
them,
good
but-
tactic, and maybe no one
yeah,
but
I
me
don't
has
know, they'll get
noticed.
fucked.
But I
Here
did
you go.
some rough
Here's my ammo.
calculations. You're only
I just
active
needed
for
the
maybe
D-Max fast
3
if you were being
4 hours a
slow.
day now.
HP
The
level
tactical
up to
training with
5
Dr.
points
Hydro
per minute.
Shikina is really paying off right
No,
now.
you're good. I was just...
Izuku thought to himself. One of the training that the Mad Doctor did with
Then
Izuku
this
was
dead
once
guy
he
over here
regained
next to
portions of his
the-
memory,
They'd take 'em 'cause
and
they're in better
along with it
condition
some
than
of the
mine.
hero information.
This one over
The
here,
doctor made
Josh,
sure that
has
lessons
a
catered to
fucking
quirks
Brazilian
and
chest right
heroes
here.
was
Yo,
regular,
Ian,
breaking them
there's
down to study.
tourniquet and painkillers in here.
Izuku, if
No,
you
wait,
want to be
are
a
these things?
hero, you need to know heroes
No,
and
these are
quirks
the
for a multitude of reasons.
anti-intoxication.
One, you need to know who is on your side,
There's a
what they
sweet
can
tea in
do,
here.
and
Somebody
more
wants to take a
importantly,
drink
what they
and
can't
top up
do.
your hydration
Doesn't mean
and
you need to
energy if you're still
memorize it
real
or
high.
anything.
You get
But if you
10
think
energy
someone
out of
like
it.
Endeavor will help you put out a fire, then you might have a problem. The doctor said as he paced around
There's another
Izuku.
box right here.
Plus, with how much
Equipment
information
box.
is available on them, we can
3A
even
Molly
cater
vest,
training to
Woodland
work with their
Boonie.
abilities and tactics. Izuku
That
wondered
guy
for a
has
moment.
M16,
But
you
doesn't
can
that
take his
seem like
ammo
I'm
if you need
preparing
ammo.
to fight heroes? Wobbling his hand in the air, sort of,
Where
but
you at,
most
John?
villains are caught on their first crime.
I see.
So even though their
The
quirk
equipment
gets
box is right
registered,
there.
their full
Thank you.
extent is usually unknown, as
Had
are
a
their
vest in
tactics
it,
and
and
such,
then
which
the
doesn't
sweet
really
tea
leave
and
much
the
to
other shit
do
was
but
over
make
in the
guess
other
about
shed.
them. But heroes, the doctor turned to a monitor
There's
and
a
turned it
mango
on
drink over here,
before
too.
seeing hawks fly by on the screen. We get them
So
in
here, come
HD.
back for the food.
So, for months, Izuku's
3A
training
plus
revolved
better than
around
3A.
actual pro tactics and abilities, which weirdly
Yeah.
enough was profitable for not just him, but the company,
But that's
and
like
even the
not
pros
a plate
themselves.
carrier.
Izuku would get more proficient. The doctor would build
Right.
machines that mimicked quirks for him to test against, which lead to the company
Chest
able to
rig on?
sell items that could be used by pros,
Oh.
even some commercial items. Lastly, if during the training they developed a very effective strategy or usage,
bought
then
it.
Y
I
would
bought- I
pass
had
that
an
information
Alice.
on to the
I
hero
bought
or
a
their
vest,
agency
and I had
for a
One of my
consulting fee,
tasks-
of course,
Yeah.
which Izuku would get a cut of,
Something about
giving him a
Rebel
fair
Pass?
amount of spending cash.
I don't even
But
see
back
it.
in real
Yeah,
time,
you have to
Izuku was
locate
coming to his
LLA
conclusion.
Oh, there we go.
Looking over your career at the time, the
All
only
hidden
known
LLA
villain that would come
outposts.
close to you
Okay,
in
so we
supposed
just
power would have been
Don't
Toxic
die, or
Chainsaw,
don't lose that
but
if
that
we
seems
die, just
unlikely.
come up on some
So
outposts
again,
over time.
history is shrouded in mystery.
Fucking radio quit beeping in
Izuku
my
slumped his
goddamn ear.
shoulders, but I guess none of that's really
Wait,
true.
so are we
He
accepting
sniffled
that?
and rubbed his nose before
No,
beaming
I
a
already
smile
did
at
have
the
it
pro.
accepted.
I was a huge fan of you
You
before the
don't lose it when
accident,
you
and I
die.
guess, even though it's a bit different
Also,
now,
Revolutionary
I just
Road?
really want to meet you,
MD?
even if it is for a fight.
Huh?
Before he fell into a
No.
fit of giggles.
Oh.
Sorry for getting you so
The
worked up,
Rebel
All
Pass.
Might. Izuku wiped a tear
Oh,
from his
It's a
eye.
YBL,
You're just
technically.
you, the number
Oh, well, I
one,
accidentally
the
just
hero
accepted a
I always
fucking
looked up
mission.
to, who made me
Which one?
believe I could be a hero.
Revolutionary Road.
So, I don't
Oh,
know.
you'll
In a
lose
messed
that if
up
you
way,
die.
this is like a dream come true.
Yeah.
The tension in the
already see the
room
one that y'all
deflated
got.
slowly.
You must
Nedzu
not
looked at
have
the
it
young
yet.
heiress when she quietly asked, "So
It
how
just
much
gives them
of
to
that
you
was
random,
actually
and
right?"
sometimes it'll recycle.
Nedzu
so-
slowly nodded, far more than it had any right to be.
Right.
His
Let's
thoughts,
keep
however, were
moving.
wild.
It's
Even
getting
if we don't
daytime, which is
accept him
gonna
into
make
the
this
hero
way
course,
harder.
I will find a
Yes,
way to
actually.
keep him at this school.
Well, we don't have
Izuku
specials
stretched
anyway.
himself. Anyway, is that satisfactory
but-
to you, Principal?
We're
Am I
in the middle of
allowed to
town.
fight? Sorry,
guess-
spar, with
I mean,
All
there's
Might
street
now?
lamps, they'd see us.
Nedzu shook his head.
That's my point.
Yes, I believe that will
Looks
be
hard to
more than
move at night.
enough. This has been very enlightening
People are more
for
alert
us
at
all.
night too, so
All
I
Might.
I
If you
find it
will,
easier to move
the
during the day.
diminutive
You just gotta wear
principal
the right
gestured
shit
to his
and look-
newest
play the part.
employee.
You feel
Now,
me?
young
Like
man,
refuge type
I am
shit
going to
at that
offer
point.
you a chance to change.
Or
It
just
can
be
be
all
anyone
gilly the
you
fuck
want.
up.
Doesn't have to be All Might. Izuku shook
this
his
building
head.
fast.
I disagree.
That's our cover,
I think
so
it
I'm
does
going.
have to be him. As he stepped into the
I don't see
chalked off
anybody
area.
yet, thank
This
God.
entire time you haven't
don't-
been
I
taking
guess
me
I have to
seriously.
opposite. I
And if
hate
I
it
want to
here.
be a hero, I want to be
I got my
respected.
gun up now.
I don't want anyone doubting whether I deserve to be here or not. So, it has to be the number one. That way, no one can say I didn't earn my place. This child, completely unaware about how seriously we have been taking him since his
Body, I hate it
explanation
here.
began. The principal
terrible.
nodded and then
It's
called
fucking
out to his
awful.
representative. All Might, you don't
a
need to
nightmare.
use the suppressors. All Might stared back in
You go look.
confusion.
Hey,
Isn't
won't
that
let
a
me
little
open it.
much? He hasn't
I
even
was
had
gonna
a
open it,
single
but get
formal
in.
lesson? The Mouse Dog Bear Man shouted back. I don't think that matters
see a
this time.
motherfucker. I'm getting
Looking
this
to
building real
Izuku
quick.
once more,
Somebody's looted
have
it.
you ever fought someone before?
Oh,
I did plenty of
shit.
training. But yeah,
Where y'all
if it
getting
wasn't
shot
for
from?
my first real fight, I wouldn't wouldn't be here,
75.
Izuku said as he sized up All Might before
Ouch, I
he
took
began
around.
bouncing on his toes, limbering himself up. Momo looked over the teachers, many of them whispering, or in present
I shot
Mike's
the fuck
situation,
out of one.
whisper shouting a bed about
Drop
how
three.
long the cocky kid
There's
lasts.
another one up the road. Up the road
Izuku,
at the.
she shouted,
Hurt
making
my
sure to get
bandage?
everyone's attention. If you hurry up,
What?
we can
You-
make
There's
sure
2 or
we have
3 more
enough
up the
time to
road.
watch a
Never
movie
mind.
Never mind. I
together.
couldn't find my
She
bandage.
smirked in our new bed. The addition of "our" to her comment drew weird looks from the sidelines, but it threw them out of their
Wait,
not
what?
discreet,
Nice, but he's
disparaging
further back
comments
by
that
the tree.
Izuku could clearly
It's all
hear.
weird.
Hee hee, I'd like
my
that.
arms are
He
starting to give
stopped
out.
hopping and put up his
He's trying to
arms and
run.
addressed his
He's
opponent.
limping.
Come on, All Might.
There's 2.
Looks like I
yeah,
got a
I'm
hot
balancing
date
now.
tonight.
I gotta put it down.
So let's do this. He closed his non-mechanical
Yeah.
eye, and the optics his other changed to a high-speed camera. Something he was glad he had picked up in
There's
training.
another one, there's
It would
another one
allow
back
him
there
to see
somewhere.
objects coming to him at a much higher speed than he would normally be able to process, which was only because the doctor decided to do a few more
good,
live
dude?
fire tests than his
Yeah, I'm
mother
good.
knew about. And he
was just
decided
making
that
my
if a
way to y'all.
camera
Let's
could
drop to
slow
a
down a
70, 'cause I
bullet
feel like I
so
couldn't
he
see
could
those
see
guys
it,
as well.
his eye could do that too if it absorbed one.
Yeah, which is why I
And
didn't
boy
really,
was
like,
Izuku sure he needed
turn
one,
mine to
because the moment
fucking
the signal started, All Might was in front of him,
Bro,
bearing a
like I did.
powerful fist down
you
onto
on?
the much smaller Izuku.
65.
But with the camera operating at
Yeah,
maximum
I might
capacity,
start working
All Might
down
only
as
looked to
feels
have the
comfortable.
speed of a championship
Definitely
boxer,
helps
which was
when
still
I'm doing, like,
impressively
the free look
fast,
shit,
but
though.
manageable. So it shocked quite a
Oh,
few
yeah,
of the
I'm going
teachers
no
watching the
light now,
fight
'cause
when
we definitely
Izuku
made
blocked
noise.
it with his forearm. The nanomachines didn't completely negate the blow because Izuku still slid back a few inches, just from the weight difference alone,
Taking this.
but they did withstand the impact and only dented slightly, which given a few seconds would repack themselves into their natural state. Seconds he wasn't
Still
sure
a
he
guy
had.
over there that
Because All Might had experience
possibly
with
hasn't
people
bled
who
out
can
yet.
take a punch. The trick was to
couple.
keep laying into them because there was maybe a handful of
out.
people who can survive his sustained assault. Izuku, from his
Wish we could-
studying
I wish we
and
could
training,
drive
knew
here.
All Might preferred a
Got a
boxer
water
style of
and a snack
combat.
bar
Very
and a
American,
mango.
very effective when you
Well
had the
done, mango.
speed and power to back it up too.
The
As
jacket in
Izuku
here,
remembered an old proverb as he
1911,
ducked,
put that on my
weaved
waist.
and blocked the mighty barrage coming his way.
Take a
I
card.
fear not the man who has
Snake
practiced
Billion
10,000
chest.
kicks once, but I
Chocolate
fear the man
bar.
who had
Yeah, put
practiced
that in
his
your safe
one
box.
kick
Hey, yo, hardcore
10,000
first aid
times.
kit. Somebody need this?
And did All Might practice? In a sense, it
what?
was the beauty
You
of
pick up
All
meds as a
Might's
hardcore
style.
first aid
It
kit
was
back here.
simple. Kids
Does
and
it have
even
stuff
other
in it?
heroes imitated it
I mean, no,
daily
they
for
don't.
play or real.
Have
But for
stuff in
All
it. No,
Might,
I
who
don't need-
threw these
all I need
devastating
is-
blows
Well, sometimes
daily
they
for the
do, I
last
guess,
decade
but
or more. Each one was
I don't think
ferocious,
I've ever-
kinda-
deadly,
I'm
and honestly
lower on
scary.
bandages than
Being
I
on the
thought I
receiving
was,
end of
so-
this,
put a bandage
Izuku
in
could
it
feel
for
the
you.
pressure, even assured that it was just a sparring match. He understood what few people besides villains felt, the true presence of
Oh,
the
yeah,
number
yeah.
one hero.
Right here.
Izuku muttered as he
The fridge.
moved. Even if he's holding back, and even if he's weakened from a past injury, this is no joke. But based on how he's been
Med
seen in
item,
public in
just be
t-shirts
there with
and
the
even
bandage.
shorts that one time in the Hero News Weekly,
Delicate
Summer of
person.
Justice
Go ahead.
edition, the injury he sustained is
yeah?
not in his
That should
extremities,
pop.
since his head
No,
is
I got
uncovered, and he was
one of
seen after
those,
that gap
and then
with
I
hair.
got-
Unless he wore a wig, then that rules out a head injury.
That was
All Might
hilarious.
faltered in his attack when he
I said,
heard
"Take
his
that shit,
opponent
Pops."
announcing
Samantha
his
said,
strategy to find his
"Yay,"
weak
as she came in
spot,
the room.
which he will admit
That shit was
is a
funny
good
as
one
fuck.
if you know
Oh,
it's
shit,
there.
that threw off my whole
This
train of
gap
thought.
allowed Izuku to
I
pepper
got a
a few
laptop I
blows of
need
his
for a
own back
fucking
at the
mission,
number
that's what I
one,
was trying to
gauging
say.
reactions when he hit the pro's body. Based on that, shoulder, hip, and joint damage is
That dude
unlikely,
dead?
unless his
He has to be
quirk
dead.
relied on a specific muscle group, but I doubt
But yeah,
that.
he's
Leaving
dead
organ
for
failure,
sure
but
now.
Izuku
Dead.
paused his rambling
not
for a
dead.
moment. All Might's breathing sounds labored, despite being
Down
in
to
what
this
many
wall,
would call
of
peak
any
physical
amount of cover
condition,
of
and this
thing on that
fight
hill.
not having gone on for more than a minute,
Although,
his
I can
stamina
still see right
shouldn't
the
be
fuck
taxed
over
like
it.
this,
Sucks
meaning
ass.
the injury to him affected
I
his
don't know if
lung.
there's somebody in these
All Might
buildings.
redoubled his
There's
assault.
probably going.
Shit, this kid is smart, piecing together this during a fight. Man, did we get a winner with this one.
There's some other people bugging.
Izuku's
We have a
nanomachines reaching their
blueberry in
limit.
Midnight
On that
Sapphire,
assumption,
Yeah.
part of his
that way.
quirk is more like
And then we're
flexing
way
muscle,
closer to
keeping
the
it
other
oxygenated,
action
and that
spawns
means
as well.
Izuku went
So,
low,
we're highly
driving an
likely to lose
uppercut
being
into
around.
All Might's gut,
I'm gonna
the
blow it.
nanomachines
them on
covering
that.
his non-metal hand for a devastating
Yeah,
punch.
because he's
I
already
can
set
unflex
out
it.
the Boogaloo, which means
For a moment,
that
All Might in a cloud of smoke
he's
went into
kitted
his
out
true
for it,
form,
and we
shocking
don't have to
Izuku
be.
and Momo, before he coughed and sucked in a deep breath,
EA Plus
regaining
was
his size and
fucking
vigor.
shredded.
Well thought out, young Midoriya. But can you capitalize on that
That one's
information?
That one was
The pro
close.
hero's
Every
mighty
time I have a gun
voice
in my
rang
hand.
out through the building. Because it's one thing to know a
And just
weakness
hear
and
the
another to
bullet
exploit
crack,
it.
I heard
The pro hero
shot,
took
and then
large
the
There's a
steps to
surgery
come
kit in
back
here,
into his
Ian,
strike
if
zone.
If you want to put
I know
the
you have
bandages,
something. That
just in
punch
your
was
thing, and
not
then
from a
put the surgery
quirkless
kit in
person.
the
If you want to go to
first aid
UA,
kit.
you will need to share this with
room
us.
I'm in
We
has a
cannot
ton
train
of
you
drinks and
otherwise.
food.
There's a
Izuku took a
mackerel
step
in here,
back,
and a
unsure of what to
coffee.
do at this point.
I'm gonna
Momo saw his
take that
hesitation.
coffee unless you just
Izuku,
did.
take off your shirt.
Oh,
He's
I
right.
drank,
Izuku and
well,
the
that was in
others
my
paused
inventory,
for a
though,
moment. Before
'cause
midnight,
I looked at
shouted
my
in
stats
affirmation.
after seeing that coffee.
Yeah,
in there,
woo,
and I was
take
like,
it off.
Damn, I could drink something.
Momo shook her head.
I
Not
told
like
you I'd
that.
do it while I loot,
But they do
bro.
need to know about them, and now's as good a time as any.
Oh, damn.
Realizing
This is
she
a
was
mission
right,
for
he
sure.
reached
I
under
actually
the
tied
hem
up
of his
dead
jacket
here.
and pulled
Yeah.
up, All
I'm gonna
Might
eat
allowing
this.
him to disrobe
Actually need it.
undisturbed, seeing as he is the one who requested it. The teachers
That blueberry
gasped when they
guy
took in
came
his
on
form.
people, sounds like.
Scars littered the boy's
Yeah,
body,
Mackerel gives you
large
60
slashes across
fucking
his chest, and
energy.
patchwork
That
of
shit's
injuries
crazy.
some long since healed
My
on his
stomach
exposed
was gurgling.
flesh. But to
Yeah,
them the
that's
most telling was
exactly
the
when you need a
large,
60
black,
egg. A mackerel
metal
is
arm the young man
basically,
sported. What kind of quirk is that?
MRE.
Nedzu asked.
Alright, I hopped the
Izuku
fence.
shook his
But
head.
it's only one.
It's not.
15 points
How about
less,
after
but it
this I
takes
give
up
you
only
my
one
story?
space instead of
Sound
taking up
fair?
two. I mean, you tell me
Nedza
what
chuckled. Yes,
I'm
tea time
hugging
does
us
sound
all.
remarkable. Do continue your spar.
There's buildings on both sides of the
Izuku,
wall. This
recognizing
one in
that
front
he
of
was
us is
well
Town Hall.
into
There's a
All
dude in a
Might's
helmet at this
reach,
shop,
quickly
or under
hopped
this
back
tent.
as the hero tried to make a grab. But All Might managed to graze
don't.
him as he did,
There's
Bring a
two.
which
grenade.
even a
There's-
small
there's
touch,
three.
with that immense power behind it,
four.
sent Izuku flying in part
this
to him
fence.
being so
see-
much
Oh, they spin
lighter
around,
than
they
his
spin around, they spin
opponent.
around.
Oh,
Izuku
I
hit the
climbed the
ground,
fence.
not roughly, but he didn't immediately try to get up,
Wait a
which
second.
to everyone with more experience teaching noticed was wrong. Momo, having
I
spent
gotta
the
jump
most
the fence.
time with
I gotta jump the
Izuku,
fence.
slowly came to a horrifying realization
I'll hop
about
the
what
fence.
Izuku was going through. All Might
Yeah, I
stop,
hopped the fence.
She
I don't
loudly
have to
come
look
back.
at him.
but he had already lunged. He was in the air
said
when
don't come
Izuku
back or do
thrashed
come
back?
around
Come back.
violently,
I'll hop to
screaming
help
to
you
let his
guys.
leg go.
The
Momo
other
and
one's
the
over
other
here
teachers
deep
were
by the
moving
sandbag.
quickly,
Shaky,
but
hard,
All Might's
John.
speed collided with
Me
Izuku's
too.
wild
I've been this whole
movements,
time since
and
I
the
hopped the fence.
nanomachine foot planted itself
damn
firmly
near
into the
dead.
hero's
He's
face,
dead.
Alright.
sending the
Oh, no, he's
Titanic
not. He got
hero
back up. I
flying
hate it
across
here.
the building and
Hell
out the
yeah.
ceiling
Great
from the
job,
blow.
Ian.
Fuck,
AK-15s
Nedza
on these
swore.
guys.
Rio,
Camo
Sekijiro,
beret,
go find
Lemang
All
armed
Might and make
forces,
sure
those
he's
are so
okay.
cool.
That kick sounded like
Oh
it
yeah, that's
hurt.
the one that Josh
They watched
has.
as Momo tried to
These guys have
carefully
M2s
approach
on,
Izuku,
bro.
Careful of
calling
the
out to
barbed
him. Sir, my quirk's
Marker.
not doing anything, Aizawa stated.
What gun went click?
Momo shouted back, because he doesn't have
He said,
one.
I got shot. That fucker
Namiri,
shot me.
put him down.
Sorry,
Nedzu
that shit
ordered
cracked
as
me
the
up.
hero tore her
That
costume.
shit was funny.
The aroma wafted from her body, and she directed it towards the
That fucker
thrashing
shot
king.
me.
His movements faded into peaceful sleep quickly. Momo, who had already made herself a mask, quickly
I'm
ran
so
over to her
Asian.
boyfriend and
Why
pulled
was
his
it
body
so
to her,
Asian?
and she began to
This guy's a
gently rock him
pantser?
back and forth,
Hell
Yeah, this guy has a
stroking
big
his hair
pantser over
and
here as
whispering
well.
soothing
This is
words
a
to him.
I just took that
How
M2
long will he be out?
off
Yeah,
of
the
that
3
Midnight
dude.
Plus
walked
has,
over for a
12
few
slots
minutes.
instead of 9. There's
Momo
a big
sniffed.
belt over
I think
here.
this test is
A
over
lightweight
now.
combat belt over here.
Nedzu agreed. Yes, I think now would be an excellent time for tea.
Yeah, I'm
Izuku
swapping.
was slowly stirred from his sleep to stare
that's
up
what we
towards
do.
the
Always
ceiling.
swap.
However, part of it was blocked by two large
Yeah, this is
hill-shaped
a good one.
objects.
This one's
For a
fucking
moment, he
47%
questioned
of
how
the way
hard
up.
All
Still-
Might
it's
hit
still
him
green.
when he realized what those shapes
The one
actually
I have
were.
on is yellow.
Momomo,
22.
Izuku said as he sat up
The
quickly,
Pantseer 3
then
Plus
clutched
as
his
well
head in
right here.
pain.
Yo, change yours,
Ow,
Josh.
too
Yours
fast.
is 22 is
Momo reached
gonna
over
survive a
and
lot.
gently laid Izuku back
Not
on her
gonna
lap.
survive a lot.
Just
You're
rest for a
survive
moment.
lot. All right.
Man, I don't even remember how All
So-
Might got me. But why did he get me? Izuku said to his girlfriend,
Do you have that low-grade
oblivious to his
gunpowder
surroundings. A coughing
I
sound
do.
drew his attention.
Okay.
Actually, young
Oh, this
Midoriya,
AK-15
it would
has
seem
the
that you got me
fucking
instead,
variable zoom,
a skeletal-looking man
like the
said.
Spectre.
Hey, All
The one
Might,
before.
is that? Oh, right,
Oh, yeah.
Izuku
yeah,
groaned.
groaned.
that's
Yup,
one
I
of the ones
remember
looted
now.
had that
Looking
too.
around the room
Yeah,
as
I
the
need
pro
this, I need
heroes
this
drank
ammo
their
out of this
tea.
shit,
So what
though.
happened?
dude
Momo
has
moved
one
a
too
few
on his
strands
belt
of his
that I
hair off
stole.
his forehead. You had
The
another
mag.
memory. Oh, how bad
Oh,
was
never
it?
mind. No, it's not.
Izuku
I guess
asked,
somebody took it.
since she would be able to gauge it.
I took the mag
You
out.
screamed,
I just
let
took
go
the
of my
mag.
leg. I think we both know what
This dude
that
has
was
mags
about,
over here, too.
Momo quietly
And
said.
somebody, there's still
Oh,
a
fuck,
3-slot
that
belt
bad,
over here. Somebody
Izuku
still needs a
inquired.
bigger belt.
Momo
Wait, is it
nodded in
AK-15
response.
545?
I think we
Oh,
deserve an
okay.
explanation,
I think
though,
that'd
Nedzu said as he set
it's
his cup of tea
AK-12
down
on
on its
top.
tray.
Fuck.
Izuku, feeling more settled, sat up slowly. Yeah, so I'm not sure where to start. Aizawa looked at the
Another
teens
one
on
of
the
these guys
sofa.
have a
How about the
fucking
arm?
7.62
What
gun?
exactly is that? Izuku looked at his exposed
No,
arm
it's
and
the
looked to
15,
Momo, who weaved her
7.62
fingers
or
through his
whatever.
metal wands.
Yes.
Taking a
Which is
breath,
also
Izuku
5.45.
began his tale.
So you
A little
can't
over a
actually
year
have
ago,
the ammo
I got
magazines.
hurt, badly.
Well,
Momo coughed a
I have
little
2
and
mags of
tugged
it,
his
so I'm
hand.
gonna use it
Getting the
until I
message,
don't
he
have
started
any, and
over.
then I'm
Okay,
back to
Fair.
fine. A little over a year ago, I met Momo.
I killed
I
two
Oh,
was,
this is gonna
we
be
were both
ass.
having bad days. Then these two
Yeah,
villains,
this
Bearhead
is
and
the
Monster
problem with this
Princess,
one, is
they
because
found her.
there's giant,
Us.
there's
He
giant
rubbed his
patrols
thumb against the
do,
back of her hand.
like 4 or 5
Rio
at
nodded.
once in
I heard of
patrols.
them. Real
There's no
pieces of
cover.
work,
Jin Boogie
kidnapping, murder, rape, doesn't
to the
matter to
left
them.
up here.
As long as it
There's-
hurts other
there's
people, they'll
dead
do it.
people in the
The wolf
road.
hero snarled. Even tracking their scent has done nothing to bring us closer to catching them. Yeah, and they were going to take Momo and do things, and I guess just kill me.
Right.
Almost did too.
Oh yeah, take that.
Izuku
That's worth
confessed.
a fuckload of
I
money.
told Momo to run.
Somebody
We weren't
take
that far
for
from the
sure.
alleyway, and then she could get help,
Oh, okay.
or at
I
least
think I
get
know what
away.
you're talking about now.
Ow wow.
Yeah,
Izuku
that
cried
thing is
out.
worth like 10 grand, Josh.
Stupid, at least get away, Momo
Yo, Ian,
glared
there's
at him.
another gauze
As if
on
you
this
deserve to die in my
pants here. I'm
stead.
about to put it in the dude's pocket.
It was the best thing I could think of at the time, Izuku whined. This
You're
wasn't
good.
the
I'm-
first
I'm
time they
moved
had
up.
this discussion.
I'm behind
She was
you.
never happy at how willing Izuku
Dropped
was to
another guy
sacrifice
to our
himself,
left,
and he
if you
didn't
want, yeah.
regret doing so. But anyway, Monster Princess Whip took my arm, and Bearhead, he well. Momo spoke up, 7 crushed ribs, the rest cracked,
Yeah,
spinal
I
cord
was gonna say,
broken,
I saw dead
concussions that
bodies.
looked
Is
like
that a
someone
crate we
took a
can open?
sledgehammer to him, multiple ruptured
There's an ammo
organs,
box. Hopefully
and
this has
she paused a
7.62.
moment.
Fuck,
He ate his
it
leg.
doesn't. Oh, it does. It
Snipe
does.
glanced
That's
up.
If we're gonna
huge.
What
try and
incarnation
get
do you
out of here with
mean?
nicer
Ate his
vests,
leg.
we need to start hitting face shots
Izuku
as
reached
well.
down with his right arm and pulled up the pant leg,
Yeah,
revealing the
that's
metal
probably
underneath.
true.
Literally ate it. He dropped the cloth
This
back
guy's a
down.
64%.
I don't really remember what I was thinking at the time,
Yo, you
on
should take
account of me
them too, I
dying,
think, isn't it
but maybe
really
I was
good?
hoping
It's
he'd choke on it
plus.
or something.
No, it's just.
I
Momo
have an
chuckled.
M2 on.
If only we could be so lucky.
It's-
So this
I have an
explains
M2
how he
on
got
that
hurt.
is
Now
fucking
explain how he got
shredded.
fixed.
It's 3++.
Higuri asked.
Oh, you might have a newer
So you all
one
know
in
my
that one, then.
family's
This
company.
is 100%.
Momo started, knowing
Oh,
that
there you
she
go,
should
Which one?
provide the
This one?
technical
The one he has on?
explanation.
The pants
We
here?
were,
No, the
are
one
still, I
on the-
guess,
on the other
developing a
side of
new
the
technology, something
concrete
theorized in
crate.
pre-Quirk
Crate.
days, but study
crate.
halted,
Crate.
as with most technology.
6B45.
Nanomachines. Power Loader moved quicker
Wait,
than
how-
anyone
what's
had
the
seen him move in a long
6B?
time. Really,
Is it just
these are
heavy?
all nanomachines. He
know.
gleefully approached Izuku, who nervously
3+.
pressed himself against his
Oh,
girlfriend before Aizawa's
They're fine.
bandages pulled his coworker
They're fine.
back. Down boy,
Yeah, very
Rio
I gotta-
joked.
I gotta switch
You're
my
scaring the
mags
I
poor
over.
have
thing.
been.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
it's
you taking
just,
M2?
these are the holy grail of
Yeah.
robotics.
I'm
Yeah.
taking
The pinnacle of human ingenuity, Higuri
Yeah.
fangirled.
Go for it.
If I could
6B.
study them, oh the inventions, the
Wait,
gear.
hold on, Josh. Before you do that,
Yeah,
I kinda
Dr.
wanna look at
Haijo
the
Yeah, I
ones
don't
Shikina
wanna
had
look
something
at
to
it.
say about that. Izuku mentioned.
Oh, it gives you,
He said,
gives you
if
cover
Higuri thinks
on
he
your
is
neck, too.
qualified to
That's
even
fire,
be
actually.
in the same
There you go,
room
Josh.
Oh, the
as
one
this
you took that's
amazing
fresh is
invention,
only 3+.
then
The
someone
one you
needs to
dropped is
replace his
3++.
wind turbines with his own.
I know, but I'd rather
ass,
have a fresh
because that's a
one.
lot of hot air.
Yeah, but we have a gear
For a moment,
repair
everyone
thing
was stunned at the
in our
words.
locker
Then
from one of our
suddenly
mates.
Power
All the way,
Loader
though?
laughed. If that
It repairs
Rentaro
it
wannabe thinks he
most
has what
of
it
the
takes to
way.
challenge me, that jerk knows what to do.
I don't know.
Since you
dude,
speak
at
so
that point, it's
casually
like
about
higher
him,
rating or,
might I ask
don't-
what your
don't-
relationship
whichever
is
one
with
you
him?
wanna do, I don't care.
I think I'm just gonna
Izuku
take
rubbed
this
the
one.
back of his head. He's
have
handled
to
most of my
survive here
training after
first.
getting the machines. He's
Yeah,
unconventional but
that's the other
effective,
thing, too, is
Izuku admitted
Just going
before
out as
quietly
lucky.
adding. Just wish
Going
he'd
the
stop
worst
hitting
way
on my mom.
possible, straight to this
Well, if you
fucking
manage to keep his
thing.
attention for about a year,
Yeah, nice.
then you
That's
get
what
a
we do,
passing
though,
vote from
low-key,
me.
right? We
I'm
just
excited to see what
It's
you
on
can
party to the
do.
ping
Higuri
and
leaned
react
back
to
in his
combat.
chair. Higuri,
Say what,
Namiri
Josh?
whined.
It's on the
You weren't
blueprints
supposed to
bottom one.
reveal that we would be voting. It
Bottom
was going to
floor,
look so
exactly
cool
on that
when we
thing.
all
Just
did it
move
together.
towards it. It should be
front,
in a
in
corner.
Power
on
on
Loader
the
right.
right.
slapped his
That's what I
forehead.
yelled.
Right, sorry. Got caught up. My bad, everyone. Wait, what? Izuku looked around
I
the
did
room.
yell.
The principal
Oh, he's
coughed.
right in front of us.
Well,
There's a bunch in
despite
front
your
of us.
quite impressive performance, we still need to vote on the
More than
matter of
3.
your attendance, seeing as we all will be in some manner or another
Ow.
teaching.
Oh,
Move
close,
around.
close, close, close.
So what do you all think then?
dropped.
Izuku looked around the room.
I got a bandage.
right,
I got a
right
Young
bandage.
Midoriya, you have much potential.
Dead.
Even without those machines, you would be
Cover.
a formidable opponent. As the hero's mind is their greatest tool, I would like to see
Yeah,
you
come
hone
this
yours
way.
here at my alma mater, All Might
I'm
said,
dropping
raising his
bandaging,
thumb.
hold on.
Dropping more.
Snipe spoke
Can we just
next.
work right
You
from
got
the front
tenacity,
door?
kid,
Reloading.
and you work like a
Hey,
straight
by the way,
shooter.
I do have a
I would
grenade.
be
I picked
proud
up
to
a
see you
grenade.
become a young
Nice.
sheriff. Lifting his own thumb. You put All
need
Might
it.
through the ceiling. That was hilarious. I just don't
I
want you in
dropped
my
like
class.
7 people in
Sekijiro
lobby.
said, which means you're Shota's problem. Lifting his thumb.
There's another one in here.
Now
at
wait
least.
just a minute. That's
Her-
bullshit.
I'm in the
Nedzuhi
lobby
can't
now.
just decide that, can he? Aizawa turned to his boss. Well, that does hardly seem fair to dismiss as Stu Nose goes, he quickly shouted. Both teachers scrambled quickly to put their finger on on the tip of their nose. Aizawa already knew he lost because he flinched for a second.
And my own
Damn it,
gunfight.
we need to come up with a
Are you?
better system to resolve disputes,
Stand by,
he
John.
grumbled,
Plug
and
in.
looked at
This.
Izuku and
Nice.
Momo
Right
who were
here.
staring blankly at the teachers. You got talent.
Hell
You can
yeah.
analyze a situation and make good
Yeah, I was
decisions.
trying to flank those
You're a
guys
bit
and
creepy
got
with it.
lost.
And if we can
There's a
get you to
kitchen
not
behind
say
me
it
with
out
an
loud,
ton of
then
shit
I
in
think
it.
you might be worth training. So I
This guy's a
guess.
pansier
He
at
raised
3
his thumb.
plus.
Chio sat
Super
sipping
Yo,
her
there's
tea.
an MFAT
I
tourniquet
agree
right
he's
here,
smart.
Ian.
But that story,
two
he's a
used.
lot like all of you already.
The magazine
She
should be
glared
here
at the
somewhere
still
close,
active heroes,
because my ping went
rushing
away.
into danger and getting
Yo,
himself
die
hurt.
fucker.
But just maybe we can teach him to avoid doing that. Would be a first.
Are we on
She
the
raised
first
her thumb
floor,
as
or-
well.
So there's a bottom
Well, I
floor.
for one, like what I see,
It
Namiri
is
purred.
right over here on me.
I think if we cleared our schedules for some playtime, I could be inclined to raise my whittle thumb, giving the teen boy a half-lidded look. Momo defensively
Alright, and
pulled
now
Izuku
we
closer to
exfil
her.
out of here the same way
Mine,
we
back
came in.
off.
Where is it?
I think we
Oh, did
looked
you
for
think you weren't
something. I'm not
invited?
gonna lie to you.
Because she looked the younger girl up and down. Because I said, I like what I see,
Make sure that goes
she
in your
teased.
fucking safe pocket, right?
Wow, so
Yeah.
desperate that she has to prey on
Oh.
children. Tut tut,
Oh, I'm heavy
ectoplasm
bleeding.
admonished.
Hang on, I might die.
Can't wait
There's a
to
dude
tell that
upstairs.
to
He's
you.
probably gonna try and run down.
Namiri slumped back in her seat. Well, he already told
Where you
you
at,
all
John?
I haven't
Right
gotten
next to you guys,
any
I
in
ran
over a
downstairs.
year. Pointing her
Bandaged.
finger accusingly at the boy.
Holy
He needs to
shit,
take
shot the fuck out of
responsibility.
me.
Are you being serious
Just
right
don't
now?
don't
Ken
move
asked
where
from
you're
his
at
cement
unless you have
throne.
to, 'cause
His
my
blocky
gun
form
will-
made
you're gonna
angles
bump my
more
gun.
comfortable for
Yeah,
him
I
than
was looking to
cushions.
see if I had a nade.
Of course I'm joking. Namiri waved him off. Unless they were
I
okay
do,
with it,
but I don't trust
then I'm
myself
not,
to throw it
she
up
added
there
with a
and then
wink.
not bounce back
She
down and
too raised her
fucking kill
thumb,
me.
then wiggled her free hand next to her head,
He's got like a
extending her
crazy
thumb
angle on
and
the
pinky
landing. I
while
would just
mouthing
hold it from
calmly.
this floor to the
Left or right?
stairs
She's not
and
going to
just
be
make
our
sure he
homeroom
can't come
teacher,
down.
is she?
He was just like
Momo
literally
eyed the
dead
female
center
teacher.
on the- Like he was he shot
Not
me
until
through
your
the fucking
third year,
rails. He went full
Nedzu
auto on
said
my
as he
face.
sipped from his cup. Yup, when you're all 18,
Terrible.
That sounds
Namiri
about right.
cackled. Izuku patted his
You think I
girlfriend's
can
hand.
bait him down with a
Don't
shot?
worry, since she hasn't had a date in 13 months, then that means she
I think
can't get
we
any
might
of her
bait
students
other
either,
people,
he
too.
consoled her.
Somebody just
However,
took
his
over.
comment made Namiri wail out loud, which made Izuku instinctively
I'm in
comfort a
bad
distressed
state right
person,
now.
or they could all just be
Threshold
ugly
that. I'm gonna
or
see if I
gay.
can help John.
I'm not one to judge. The other
I'm
teachers
mostly
stared
fine.
wide-eyed
My
at the
dude's
teenage boy,
hacking
trying
from
and
blood
failing
loss
to soothe the
predominantly.
situation. Oh wow,
I'm in an
I want
ass
him
ton
here
of
just to
pain,
see what
obviously.
problems he
I
gets
mean, I
into.
caught like
This
4
will be my new
rounds,
so,
mostly to my arm,
Rio
which
added
is
as he
cool,
put up his thumb.
but I'm just
Really,
starting to-
you want
splinting
more
you?
drama of
Yeah,
all
I
things in
just
your
splinted.
life.
You're gonna waste this
Ectoplasm
point.
said,
Cancel
he is
action
good
if you
though.
can.
I want to see him in real action one day. Maybe I'm a little biased
Cool.
since he lost some limbs like me, but
Definitely
he's got my vote,
probably need another
sticking out his
bandage.
thumb.
I think I used all the
Little
bandages I
listener,
brought.
I have heard plenty of stories,
Trying to
and
get
yours,
out of
Hizashi
pain.
fake sniffled and
I
dabbed
have
his
lung
eyes.
damage. I'm gonna
Oh,
have
it's
to do
just so
surgery real
tragic.
quick.
How could we turn down such a
You
poor
need-
Yeah,
child?
actually, all I need to
He
do is
flung his
surgery, I
arms,
think, and
one
then
covering his
there's
eyes
just
and the
blood loss
other
for
pushed
me.
behind him as he looked up to the light. Just take
And
my
we need
thumb.
to be safe
He
here,
laughed
so
as he
I'm
pushed his
probably gonna
hand
actually
out.
use one of my blood.
13 raised his
Whereas I
thumb.
usually don't.
You already have displayed you are willing to rescue others. Now let's
I don't
train
have
you to
any-
save
I don't
more.
have any blood to give
Ken
you.
set
I
down
do,
his
no,
cup
I'm
of
fine.
tea. I agree with
Josh,
their
you still good?
assessments.
Yep.
You are a talented individual. He slowly put out
Oh,
his
this guy
own
has a
thumb.
really
Left side
nice
is that?
light.
Izuku looked
That's
around the
mine.
room.
I did not mean
Seeing
to turn it
every
on.
teacher with their thumb extended,
There's a blueberry down
Nedzu
here
spoke up.
somewhere.
Well then,
It's on
Mr.
the side.
Midoriya,
routine is
it seems we have a
actually
consensus.
Fire,
I am
by the
pleased to
way.
welcome you to your Hero Academia.